In the end, Tide had to step in and chill everyone out, saying, "Chill out, guys." But let's be real, his words didn't help much. Everyone was still super frustrated. A blonde-haired trainee strutted up calling out, "Tide, don't stick up for him just cause you're in the same class." Like, seriously, dude has zero respect for our vibe. Chania wasn't having it and shot back, "This whole vibe is totally off if this keeps up before the exam." But she didn't even finish her sentence. Out of nowhere, a black-haired student with a center-parted cut mocked, "Chania, you're like amazing at night discipline, so do you really need to worry about summoning?" That was Senlu, also from the east like Chania. Hearing him made Chania hesitate, and before she could say more, the big dude Warren Den stepped up complaining, "Quit the noise, will ya? If you're just gonna bicker about who's better at recoveries, take it somewhere else." Senlu flipped out like he just saw a spider, his face all red as he shouted, "What did you just say, Warren?" Warren didn't hold back, showing clear shade. "I said it's super annoying hearing you brag about simply being better at riding summon beasts." Then Senlu remembered something, pointing an accusatory finger at Warren Den. "Huh, are you guilty now? You barely ever show up to the summoning practice." Warren shot back all casual like, "That's because I don't think it's worth my time. I'm not dumb like you. You couldn't even tame a griffin," he sneered. By now, Senlu was about to explode with rage. He balled his fist and swung it at Warren Den, totally forgetting that Warren was the top dog from the South region, and like Senlu was only hitting his chest. Lucky for him, before he could throw down, Leo grabbed his arm tight, warning, "If you start swinging before the exam, it's not just a warning, you'll lose your shot at the test." Leo's words hit Senlu like a bucket of ice water. Still, he just snorted, too annoyed to thank Leo. Tide wandered over to the main dude and whispered, "Honestly, the vibe in our summoning course this year is straight up rough." Leo was surprised, asking, "Why's that?" Tide's face dropped a bit as he explained, "Summoning is where the skill gap between the pros and the rookies is hella wide. But you and that buddy Tide are at the top of your game, and the second years are super salty about it. Plus, you two hardly show up for practice." Leo got what Tide was saying. He understood why everyone was harsh towards him, and it didn't shock him. Of course, people might think he wasn't serious, but he was far from letting his guard down, Leo thought to himself. Meanwhile, in another corner of the stands, some mystery figure in a black cloak was watching Senlu closely, whispering, "It's about to go down." With that, he opened a dark portal next to him and vanished. Senlu, for some reason, felt a storm of anger building up inside him. "Just wait, you cocky brat. I'm gonna crush you," he thought, his eyes fiery and kinda wild. Time flew by, and the moment of the exam was almost here. Host Rumba fired up once again. "Before we kick things off, I'll break down the rules. Freshmen in our summoning crew can only use summoning magic during the test. Even dual majors can't use their aura or any other magic. When it starts, tame the griffin right in front of you and cross the summoning island. Then head back via the Silent Lake. Who's going to be the star of the summoning department's midterm practical? We'll find out real soon." As he spoke, all the first-year summoning students lined up, faces tight with anxiety, staring straight ahead. Not wanting them to freak out more, Professor Yura raised her voice. "Yo, newbies, don't sweat it. Just stick to what you practiced. Anyone who can't hack the pressure can hang back after class." But her words only made the students tenser. They told themselves to chill, but their bodies were still shaking. Ignoring their nerves, Yura called out, "All right, the contest is on." Right then, everyone in the class, like they were totally in sync, turned to each other, nodding with understanding. Next up, some students bolted for the griffins. The hunting hounds on Senlu's side immediately started casting spells, targeting Leo and Warren Den, which made Rumba gasp and shout, "Whoa, what's going on? It's like they planned this." They're gunning for class president Leo Plav and the southern top student Warren Den. Meanwhile, Tide, riding on a griffin, saw Leo getting targeted and was low-key worried for him. Freshmen in the summoning department are only allowed to use summoning magic during the test. Even dual major students are forbidden from using an aura or any other magic. When the event starts, tame the griffin right in front of you and cross the summoning island, then return by way of the Silent Lake. Who will be the star of the summoning department's midterm practical exam? We'll find out soon. As Rumba's voice rang out, all the first-year summoning students stood at the starting line, faces tight with anxiety, staring straight ahead. Not wanting to build up their nerves even more, Professor Yura raised her voice again. "Rookies, don't be nervous. Just do what you practiced. Anyone feeling the pressure can stay after class." Her words only ramped up the tension in class. They kept telling themselves not to freak out, but their bodies were still visibly shaking. Ignoring it all, Yura announced, "The contest has begun." Immediately afterward, those in the class, as if they were all brainwaved, turned to each other and nodded in unity. Then some other students from the class dashed toward the griffins. The hunting hounds on Senlu's side instantly cast spells, aiming right for Leo and Warren Den, which made Rumba gasp and shout, "What's happening?" It's like they coordinated this. They're all gunning for class president Leo Plav and top student Warren Den from the south. Meanwhile, Tide, riding high on the griffin's back, spotted Leo in trouble and felt the worry creep in. Wanted to dash over to help, but Leo was like, "Chill, don't stress about me. Just keep going. It's just an exam." Tide could only apologize and quickly steered the griffin to take off. Up in the stands, the crowd was losing it watching Senlu's hounds play dirty. They were ready to toss rotten eggs if they had any. So gross. Those peeps from the summoning department are a mess. Just play fair, guys. Leo was kinda annoyed about the sabotage. I get they hate me, but I didn't think they'd join forces against me like this. Meanwhile, Runa the host had to stick up for his fellow students since he's from the summoning department, even though Class 5 was making a ton of noise. This is their game plan. Just then, Warren Dan totally canceled out the attack spell, aimed at him. Turning to Warren Den, who was checking out the griffin below him, he asked Leo, "You good need me to step in?" Leo just waved him off. "Nah, I got this." Seeing that, Warren Den wasted no time and directed his griffin to shoot up like a rocket. Meanwhile, Leo was still caught up in this magic mess, leaving Chelsea in the stands, super anxious. In another corner of the arena, Professor Yura couldn't hide her worry either. The divide among the first years is way deeper than I thought. Are they straight up teaming up on Leo's main jam? Isn't spirit magic, it's summoning. This exam's gonna be tough for him. That's what the professor from the summoning department was thinking. But right as she was, all those thoughts flipped when she saw what was happening. At that moment, our dude Leo was murmuring some kind of spell. "Oh, spirits, let me loose and clear the path ahead. Grant me the great mercy of nature. Oh, spirits, let me loose and clear the path ahead." The moment that chant dropped, 2 beams of light popped up in front of Leo. 2 tiny spirits burst out, one red and one green. They looked like they were all about fire and wind. For Professor Yura, hearing Leo's words had her momentarily shook because she knew what those words meant. Spirit tongue. And he's speaking it like a pro. But how, she thought to herself. Meanwhile, Leo shot her a cheeky look. Seeing that all of Yura's worries faded away, she sighed and thought, looks like I need to relearn how to summon. Time flew by, shifting to the other students. They were flying on griffins over a huge meadow. As they soared, some idiot in Sunlu's crew was cackling loudly. Haha, serves him right. He's all about being the freshman rep and the top dog from the south. But he can't even get going. He's totally gonna come in last. Next to him, Senlu nodded like, "How's it feel, Eliza?" Pretty satisfying, right? In response, the white-haired Eliza hit the gas on her griffin, zoomed past him, and shot him a look of disdain. This is so lame. Oh, I could easily take down Leo Plav, Warren Den, or anyone else without breaking a sweat. Her words caught Senlu off guard, then trying to make him see the light. Eliza shot back, "What will people think of the summoning class after we pull this stunt?" At that, Senlu felt zero guilt or worry. He even laughed out loud. "Who cares, haha? Those people are the ones who are gonna look dumb." Seeing that Eliza got it, this guy was a hopeless case. So she warned him, "Next time, think before you jump." With that, she yanked the reins and made her griffin surge ahead. Senlu was left fuming behind her. He silently cursed her in his mind. That sassy brat thinks she's all that because her family backs her. But whatever, I'm gonna snag second place. Besides Eliza, I'm the best at commanding flying beasts. This time I'll grab the top spot, he thought to himself. But before that delusion could last long, a girl's voice called from behind. "Senlu, look behind you." Hearing the shout, Senlu turned and saw Chinsa chilling on her griffin. She was riding like she was surfing or something, having a blast, not acting like someone taking a test. "What's up with that pose?" someone asked awkwardly. Senlu's previous confidence vanished like smoke when he peeped this. She doesn't even need spirit power to boost the beast. "There's no way she's this fast," he shouted, going back to his dirty tricks. "You everyone, let's take her down together." In response, an orange-haired girl was all pumped. "All right, check this out." As she spoke, she summoned a wind spirit to gear up for an attack, but Shania was onto their shady moves. So she was ready. The moment the wind spirit popped up, she directed her griffin in a quick arc back toward the others. The orange-haired girl was left speechless and confused. "What?" she gasped. Then Shana leaped off her griffin and threw a kick aimed right at her. The girl with the orange hair was totally shook like, "What?" she yelled. Then Shana just leaped off that griffin and threw a kick like a boss. Straight at the girl rocking those braided pigtails. A clean, savage hit. Before the little girl could even scream, she got launched off her ride. That's totally unfair. She yelled in a panic. Meanwhile, Chania quickly grabbed the griffin's reins, shrugged it off, and said, "Honestly, I don't even have to flex my aura anymore." Then she whipped the griffin into gear. Soaring next to Sunlu, she smiled and said, "Yo, Sunlu." But this dude's annoyed vibe totally killed her vibe. He shot back, "You seriously messed up by turning us into enemies." Chen Xian nodded, acknowledging him, but dropped the truth bomb. "Gotta say, I'm not a pro when it comes to fighting in the sky, but I ain't your only foe. There are some peeps who are super mad about your lame tricks." Before Sunlu could even catch the drift of Chinia's words, a massive explosion blasted behind them, snagging everyone's attention. But oh, it didn't stop there. A whole bunch of big explosions went off next to the mounts, causing pure chaos. Chinia wasn't really surprised. Seems like Warren Den is the type to get back at you for every little thing. Then she checked out the big dude as he hit full throttle and zoomed up to the front of the competitor pack when he caught a glimpse of Senlu. Warren's face was all rage. "You garbage. Take this as my payback," he said. Then he unleashed his magic again, tossing a ton of fireballs ahead. The blasts made Senlu's crew struggle just to keep their mounts steady. Meanwhile, in the arena, Leo had finally shaken off the annoying spells. And the host, Rumba, blared out, "First-year rep Leo Plav, known all over Lumen for wanting to roll with the Academy's top dogs, looks like he's here to steal the show today. But could his summoning be his Achilles heel?" All the fans snapped their heads to watch the main character, hyped to see what Leo would dish out next. Since, let's be real, he started way later than everyone else. Turning to see Leo's view, he immediately spotted a thorn stuck in the griffin's wing. Using magic to block Leo's way wasn't the only prank going down. This ticked Leo off, as a hero contender getting caught up in lame pranks was like really embarrassing. With that, he reached out to grab the bridle around the griffin's neck, but the mount went nuts, screeching like it was about to blow up while Leo tried to calm it down. Honestly, you shouldn't try to ride a griffin when it's all hyped up. His buddy Runa chimed in cheerfully. Meanwhile, up in the stands, the swordswoman Celia was all worried like, "Oh no, why does Leo have to push himself like that? He must have some solid reasons," Brother Ree added. Back to Leo, the griffin's struggle was definitely making things tricky for him, but super quickly. He started pouring all his strength into his hands and yanked hard on the reins to tame it down. "I get how you feel, but right now you gotta chill and listen to me." "Kneel," Leo said with a death stare. The griffin shivered. It totally got the vibe that if it kept acting up, it was going to be in major trouble. So it quickly settled down. As soon as Leo saw the mount had calmed, he hopped onto its back and officially took off. Oh man, Leo's griffin just joined the party. What a rough start, with challenges piling up. It looks like finishing last is totally unavoidable. Ignoring those comments, Leo checked out the wound on the griffin's wing and reassured it. "This is gonna sting. But you've handled it like a champ. You've been so brave. In the name of the Packmaker, I summon you." With that, a burst of flame shot up next to Leo. Then the Phoenix chick, Fiora, showed up. Right after it wrapped the griffin in its fiery blaze, making the griffin cry out like it was losing its mind. Meanwhile, the swordswoman Celia stared in shock and asked, "What the heck is that flame?" Without answering, Guildmaster Ree was also glued to the screen thinking, "Is that Zeringer's fire? No way. That's not right. It's not Aura's flame, so like, what even is it?" Back with the crew known as Sunlu, a girl behind him spoke up. "Their injuries are pretty bad. At this rate, we won't hit top speed." One of the group members replied, "Chill. But hey, at least we won't come in last, so just relax a little." Just when those words left his lips, they caught sight of a figure zooming past them like a rocket. And the dude was none other than Leo, boosted by the Phoenix flames. His griffin was now soaring like a missile. "All right, let's see. Time to crank it up a notch." Leo smirked as he noticed the shadows of the opposing crew. But at that precise moment, a massive roar erupted from up ahead, echoing everywhere. From a dragon. Spotting its form, Leo instantly recognized it and blurted out, "That's Fafnir." "Gotta pick up the pace." Leo smirked, spotting the other crew's shadows. But then out of nowhere, a roar blasted from the front, making the whole place rattle. It was a dragon, and the second Leo laid eyes on it, he just knew. "No way it's Fafnir," he shouted. To explain how this dragon popped up, we gotta rewind a few minutes. After seeing his bulky buddy Warren Den rushing in, Eliza pushed her mount into the attack. "This one's for you, Warren Den. I'm not giving up first place." Warren Den didn't say a word. Instead, he just flicked his fingers and a tiny spark popped out. Suddenly, it popped up next to Eliza. And out of nowhere, it blew up like, whoa, good thing Eliza was a pro with her mount so she didn't get tossed off. But that surprise attack really put her on high alert, blasting flames and wind spirits everywhere. This wasn't just some basic spirit control move. I've never seen this dude Warren Den take a magic class like that, but for real, no matter how gnarly the attack is, if it misses, it's useless, she said, weaving her mount in and out like a champ, dodging all the blasts Warren Den was throwing at her. Seeing this, her beefy friend figured his explosions weren't cutting it, so he switched up his attack style. "All right, let's see if you can dodge this one." With that, he whipped out ice magic, summoning crazy sharp ice spikes in the air. Then he mixed that with wind magic and sent those ice bolts raining down on Eliza. A mega attack that left the white-haired girl with zero time to react. Out of nowhere, her griffin opened its mouth, blasting a massive stream of fire that obliterated the incoming ice bolts midair. This totally hyped up Runa the host, who chimed in, "What a wild battle." Warren Den went all out with 3 spirit forms to attack, while Eliza amped up her summoned beast. That's when Chen Xia saw her chance and zoomed ahead. "Well, thanks," the black-haired girl said with a grin. But no way Eliza was going to let her get ahead that easy. "Not going to happen, Chena." As she said that, Eliza shot out 2 whips that wrapped around Chenia's neck and yanked her back. At the same time, a little spark popped up in front of her, seeing that Chenia was quick to figure out what was coming. So she jumped off her mount right away, and sure enough, a huge explosion went off where that spark was. After that, she quickly tore the energy whip apart and landed lightly on the griffin's back. The combo hit from Warren Den, and Eliza just made her break out in a cold sweat. These top dogs from the summoning department, they ain't your average Joes. Just as that thought crossed her mind, a piercing scream shot through the air, grabbing all the contestants' attention. As they turned to see what was up, somehow the total goof Senlu had summoned a black dragon and was staring everyone down like a maniac. "I'm gonna take you all down, you jerks." Seeing this, Chena sprinted over and called out to him. Senlu summoning anything other than a griffin is totally against the rules. But Senlu was too far gone to care. "Shut up. I don't care about rules. You all just rely on talent. I'll destroy you." He commanded the massive black dragon to block the path, stopping them from moving further. Warren then asked. After a quick look, Eliza shook her head and said, "That's not a black dragon. It looks more like some kind of freak." Around the same time, Leo's griffin zoomed in. His appearance threw Senlu off a bit. "Leo, what the heck are you doing here?" "Doesn't matter. I'm taking you down." Before the idiot could finish, the main character shot him a cold glare and asked, "Hey, where'd you snatch that lizard from?" Down below, Senlu didn't catch the vibe from Leo's words, so he started boasting. "Haha, jealous. This is my magic power. I sealed the deal with my summoning trick." "You're totally jelly of my summoned beast, right?" Hearing that, Leo got that this guy was a lost cause and replied, thinking that thing is a summoned beast? No way. That's a mutated beast. A beast controlled by the mages of Tartarus. It was one of the heavy hitters we defeated back in the day during the Great Cataclysm. How did he even get that creature? But before he could think of an answer, Senlu started yelling for his monster to attack. "Go, Black Dragon." Wait, where did he snag that beast? But before he could even think it through, Senlu was already yelling at his monster, "Go, Black Dragon." At his shout, the dragon opened its mouth and shot out a beam of destruction straight at the crew. Seeing that, Leo and the others quickly swerved their mounts to avoid it. But Shania chillin' at the back couldn't dodge fast enough when the attack came at full speed. Realizing it was too late to get away, she quickly threw up a magic shield for defense. Still, that shield was way too weak against the dragon's blast. It barely held for a second. Before shattering, Chena and the griffin got knocked down hard. Luckily, Leo reacted fast, dashed over, and gently caught Chena. After a quick check on her injuries, Leo jumped into action. She's out cold from the fall. First things first, we gotta make sure Chena is safe. Thinking that, Leo turned and shouted to the other two, "Everyone get down to the ground like now!" Both nodded back. With that, the squad quickly searched for a spot to land. Meanwhile, the clueless Senlu, totally unaware of the mess he was causing, was still grinning like a moron, saying, "Up here, this is what it's like to look down from above." Not too shabby, right? Then dude guided his black dragon down like he was going to chase Leo's crew. Totally, the whole scene was broadcast throughout the arena. Oh snap, the players just dipped out of the coverage zone. So much is going down right now. Sunlu called in the black dragon and threw hands at the other leader's commentator. Runa was freaking out. But before she could spill more tea, Professor Yura bolted over, kicked that fool, and yelled, "Hey, you knucklehead! Can you even commentate right now?" Then she grabbed the mic and announced to the crowd, "Yo, summoning department assistant, get a flying beast summon over there, ASAP. The match is on pause." At the same time, Professor Sajin and Len felt something was off, so they rushed into the commentary room and asked, "What's the situation?" Professor Yura replied. Oh, the female professor had a serious look. "Looks like Sunlu made a pact with a high-level demonic beast instead of a regular summon. She might not handle its vibes for much longer." Her words made Professor Sajun raise an eyebrow. "Is Sunlu really steering that high-level demon beast by herself?" he asked again for clarity. Meanwhile, the chill Professor Sajin showed up at the door. "Could it be someone else pulling the strings?" he said. "I don't know, but it's definitely a possibility." Shun nodded, and seeing that the lazy head professor quickly took charge. "All right, Yura, you and the summoning squad go stop Sunlu. If you got to take him down and take that beast out, the rest of you instructors spread out and keep the kids safe. And you, Shun, you're rolling with me." Hearing that, Seijin nodded too, like he already knew where they were headed next. Back at Leo's spot, the crew had just landed safely. But Sunlu was right on their tail. "He's coming in hot, big guy," Warren Den warned. Literally right after that, the giant black dragon swooped down in front of everyone. On its back, Senlu said coldly, "If you thought you could run away, maybe you should have hidden better, huh? Now, you all gather here again." Leo just shook his head cool as ever. "I wasn't running, and FYI, the beast you're riding isn't a summon, nor is it a black dragon." Leo's confident words had the fool cracking up. I'm from the summoning department. If I say it's a black dragon, it's a black dragon. Why are you acting like you know better?" Before he could finish, Leo hit everyone with his next bombshell. "It's a monster, and I'm here to take that disgusting monster out," Leo said while stepping forward. For a second, it felt like he was back in the battlefield from years ago. As for Sunlu, whether it was from too many substances or what, he cackled like he'd lost it when Leo called his mount a demon beast. Even Eliza in the back shook her head and said, "Oh my god, he's totally flipped." Like Eliza said, Sunlu's eyes were wild and his insane expression was obvious. "What did you say? Do I look like I gotta listen to you, die?" At his command, the black dragon understood and unleashed a fire column with crazy heat zooming towards them. But his buddy Warren Den was quick on the draw. He slammed both hands on the ground, summoned a huge stone golem to block the fire, then said, "He's totally lost it. Let's get rid of that disgusting creature. I'm with you, Leo." Across from them, realizing his attack had zero impact on Warren's golem magic, Senlu gritted his teeth, sweat glistening on his brow. Meanwhile, Eliza, with the white hair, stepped up ready to join the fight. You guys think you can shine all on your own. Count me in too. First, we gotta get that idiot out of the way. The golem's about to crumble, so be ready. Seriously, Warren Den, can you do anything right? Eliza complained. Leo, hearing their banter, smiled faintly. It reminded him of his old teammates bickering like that. Back in the battle, as time ticked on, just like Warren Den said, the hands of the giant stone golem started cracking under the Black Dragon's heavy firepower. Watching this, all of Senlu's confidence came rushing back, and he grinned like he won the lottery. Just like I thought my summon is unbeatable. Where you at, you hiding rats? No sooner had he said that than the golem blew into a million pieces. The clueless Senlu scanned for his next target, but before he could find her, Eliza made her move. In her hand was an energy whip slashing straight for Senlu. The hit was so powerful it cut through the air. Sadly for her, Senlu was still riding the luck of his ancestors and barely dodged it. But her attack sent him into a rage. "How dare you come at me, you little __." With that, he ordered the Black Dragon to gather mad firepower and prepare for a blow. But Warren Den wasn't about to let that slide. Before the Black Dragon could finish charging up, he snapped his fingers, summoned flames above the dragon's head, and made it explode in an instant. The strike was so powerful it cut through the air like a rocket. Unlucky for her, Senlu was still blessed by his ancestors and dodged it by the tiniest bit. But her attack had him seething. "How dare you come at me, you little __." He commanded the Black Dragon to amp up its firepower and get ready for another hit. But Warren Den had no plans of letting it happen. Before the Black Dragon could finish gathering its fire, he snapped his fingers, summoned a blast above the dragon's head, and made it explode right away. So he just mumbled. Leo saw his chance, powered up those legs, and shot straight towards Senlu like a rocket. The three of them totally synchronized their attack, leaving the idiot with zero time to react before the main dude was right up in his grill. Then Leo didn't hold back and gave him a swift kick to the face. But after that, Senlu's body started shaking like crazy and twisting around looking all possessed. Then Senlu locked eyes with Leo, looking all wild and intense. His voice was kinda creepy too. "Nice try snatching this kid away from the bad guys, but you guys are out of luck." Something was definitely controlling Senlu. Out below, Eliza watched the Black Dragon take off carrying Leo and Senlu, and she was like, "Hold up, why is he going solo, Leo?" Her voice was dripping with worry. Cut to the Black Dragon flying, where Senlu was smirking and said, "Already scared, Yum would make a real hero." Across from him, Leo didn't even flex. He was chill while the dude was bragging. Instead, he took the chance to dig for intel. "You're the Beast Mage Tardis. Where's your main body? Can't be too far." Leo shot back. Tardis's eyes flashed with surprise, but he quickly masked it. "You figured out my secret identity. That's interesting. Staying so chill in this situation. You've definitely got what it takes to be a hero." "If that's the case, then you're done for," he said coldly. At the same time, the dude swung his hand, sending a massive blast of energy straight at Leo, catching him totally off guard, sending him flying off the back of the Black Dragon while they were still way up in the air. If they were regular people, they'd be toast after a fall like that. Too bad for the enemy. This is our main guy. No matter the situation, he always finds a way. "Fiora, time to step up." Leo grinned at the little phoenix, who was still flapping like crazy to stay in the air. "I'm a generalist, but I've never hit the top in any one area. Aura, Aaron, and Duino are way more skilled. And when it comes to magic, there's Luna. So what I went with was mixing up abilities, aura, and magic." In that moment, from Leo's palm, he started blasting out tons of golden energy right at the little phoenix to amp up its power. Inside those flames, Fiora's body slowly grew larger until she transformed into a giant phoenix. Because of this, Leo said, "Now you look more like a phoenix, huh?" He was smiling. Not too far away, the Black Dragon felt that phoenix vibe and let out a furious roar. It was reacting to the phoenix's energy, which was totally the opposite of the beasts above. Mage Tardis picked up on it too. Seeing the phoenix pop up, Leo replied gently, "If you tell me where you caught that Fafnir, I'll let you in on my secret." But that just made Tardis even more murdery. "You even know about the beast from the Age of Chaos. I can't let you live." He yanked hard on the reins in his hands. "Fiora, it's go time. Zinger's secret sword technique, Phoenix Breath, a secret manual, a highlight." In that instant, both of them fired off their moves at each other. Zinger's secret sword technique, Phoenix Breath, a secret manual, a highlight. In the same moment, they both launched their moves at each other. The two insane energies collided, making the air explode with this deafening boom. This was a battle of endurance, but Leo seemed like he was on the back foot, his face pouring sweat from using too much energy. Seeing this, the mage Tardis was grinning. It's game over. But then suddenly, he freaked out and shouted, "Someone!" Because of that, the Black Dragon's attack got cut off. Leo guessed to himself, is his main body getting attacked? His spirit powers crashing. Gotta take advantage of this. With that thought, Leo yelled and unleashed all his energy straight ahead, forming a giant column of fire that shot right into the black dragon's body. Then its body burst out with tons of golden light and finally blew up like a bomb in the sky. No clue how Senlu on its back was holding up. Awesome job, Fiora. Now come back, Leo said with a grin. But things never go as planned. Suddenly, Fiora's body reverted to her baby form, leaving Leo totally shocked, so both master and servant started plummeting. Meanwhile, the sorcerer Tardis, who had been laser-focused on controlling Senlu, suddenly had a beam of light crash down from the sky, slamming his body with immense pressure. Ahem. Who are you? The newcomer asked, and it was Professor Sajin who had just rolled in. This one's for you, monster sorcerer Tardis, the lazy teacher, Harid chimed in. Out of nowhere, Fiora's body transformed back to some kind of fresh state, leaving Leo looking like he'd seen a ghost. With that, they both plummeted down. Meanwhile, that sorcerer Tardis, who was all about keeping tabs on Senlu's body, suddenly found himself crushed under this huge beam of light coming down from the sky. Oof! Who the heck are you? That was Professor Sajin just rolling up. This one's for you, monster sorcerer Tardis lazy teacher, Harid threw in, cold as ice. The sorcerer shot a glance at both of them and said, so you two are the main peeps of Lumen. Before he could spill the tea, Professor Harid tightened his grip, making the heavy vibes above crush down even harder. Every bone in the sorcerer's body felt like it was screaming at him to tap out early. Then out of nowhere, a wicked dark portal popped up right above the ground. At the same time, a creepy smoke oozed out from behind the sorcerer packed with fangs and eyes. Sucks to be him. But looks like we'll have to hit pause on this. The fang monster chomped down on the body it was controlling, smashing it to bits before slipping into the dark portal to bail. Seeing that, Professor Shin stopped his magic too, shaking his head like, man, he got away. Looks like things are ramping up again. Harid chimed in. Shin nodded. Yup, Lumen ain't safe anymore. Back where Leo was, he was still dropping through the sky, bracing for impact. At that speed, even Leo was like, am I going to survive this? So he called on his little buddy Fiora to bounce back to the summoned beast realm. Hearing this, Fiora spread her tiny wings, trying to stick to Leo. But before they could get all emotional, Leo's fall suddenly stopped midair because his cloak got snagged by a huge mouth. Then Professor Yura's voice broke in. Yo, you good, Leo. Thank goodness we got here just in time. Time skipped ahead, shifting to some sketchy cave. At that point, the mage Tartius was sucking up the red energy from the monster's wounds like it was a snack. In front of him stood a cloaked figure who said, wow, this ain't easy at all. Didn't expect to be slowed down by some hero wannabe. His voice dripped with sarcasm, making Tartarus hurry to clarify that he's not just any hero hopeful. He's inked a deal with the Phoenix. Plus, he's figured out Fafnir's true colors. The cloaked mage's eyes widened in shock. Then he licked his lips, looking kinda hyped. Oh snap, this just got way more interesting than expected. Time zoomed forward. Back with Leo, he was cruising down a quiet hallway. While strolling, Leo was replaying everything that went down. In the end, the summoning department's midterm practical exam got canned, and Senlu had kicked the bucket. This whole mess woke up the new students to the real dangers of the dungeon. Everyone was dying to know the truth about Fafnir, the being Senlu had made a pact with. But the four of us under Professor Yura's command kept it hush-hush after realizing it was a subspecies of the Black Dragon. Fast forward to the magic department. Today was the day of their practical exam. The door flew open, making Chelsea and Carl turn around. There, Chloe walked in looking tired as heck. They felt a wave of worry. Chloe, your hair. Did you pull an all-nighter? You look totally out of it. Ignoring them, Chloe just made her way to her seat. Seeing that, Leo, chilling off to the side, went silent. Professor Len, once all his students were on deck, said in a serious tone, great, you all made it. Everyone listen up. I know you've all been crafting original spells that show who you are. It'd be a bummer if I was the only one who saw your sick magic, so I'm bringing in 3 guests to check you out. All 3 were alumni from the Lumen School of Magic, having graduated 3 years back. They're your seniors, and today they'll be judging your skills. After Len's intro, 3 figures stepped in. First, a black-haired girl with glasses named Rilda Fedney. Then a green-haired dude with a serious face, Fidman Slack. Finally, a cute girl named Shiny Hughes with pale blonde hair. Nice to meet you, juniors, the 3 chimed together. On the flip side, Carl leaned into Leo and whispered, got a feeling they'll go easy on us. That vibe I'm getting. Leo murmured back a little skeptical, let's see if they really keep it chill. Their short convo ended when Professor Len scanned the list in his hand and shouted, Eliana Layden, come on up. When Eliana heard her name, she dashed to the podium where she started with a ton of enthusiasm. Seniors, I'm Eliana Layden from Class 5. Seriously honored to meet you all. Her hype self-introduction made Carl's eyes go wide. But not even noticing that, Eliana kicked off her performance. A beam of light shot up from her palm into the air, exploding like crazy fireworks. Then she said out loud, my main element is light. If I mix a spell with fire into my light magic, I can whip up some seriously powerful thermal magic. As she talked, a little flame danced in Eliana's palm. Then it merged with her light magic, creating a blazing flame that twirled around her. The power it radiated was anything but weak. However, a little flame popped up in Leliana's palm and merged with her light magic, creating this dope flame that swirled around her. The vibe it gave off was no joke. But Shin, sitting right across from her, was totally shook when she saw the spell and was like, "Whoa, isn't this kind of like the laser magic we already have?" Leliana's face went stiff at that. Meanwhile, the seniors who had graduated were quick to give their opinions. They scribbled some notes on paper, then passed it back to Professor Len. The results were honestly looking kinda rough. She got 2 C- and a C. Professor Len looked at the scores with zero surprise and coldly said, "Next up." In the back, other students were low-key freaked out. Are they really grading this harsh? We might as well drop out now. And time flew by. Everyone got C- or Cs. It wasn't until Carl took his turn that things looked a bit better. Carl Thomas got a B+, Chelsea Llewellyn nabbed an A. Seeing that, they cheered together. But little did they know, the upperclassmen were still kinda underwhelmed. Not bad, but still a bit lacking. Professor Len had mentioned that this year's scholarship students were supposed to be top tier, but so far, nothing crazy had gone down. Let's check out the rest over here. Fidman glanced through the remaining names and let out a sigh. Aha, this group seems pretty average. Next, Professor Len's voice boomed out. Right after that, the Majad stepped forward. All the girls in class were losing their minds over his good looks. Oh my god, he's so cool. Just looking at him makes me think he's a straight A+ kind of guy. Totally ignoring the hype, Abad started writing some magic formula on the board and said, "The advanced spell I'm going to show off is called Tempest. It's like super dangerous." Time zipped by, and Abad went outside to keep it safe for the other students while he did his spell. A few mages even set up barriers to make sure Abad's magic wouldn't mess with anything around. Then with everyone watching, he started using his magic, making his body float in the air. Then he shouted loud. Suddenly a wild green whirlwind came crashing down. It slammed into the barrier, making a huge explosion. Not too far off, a curious deer ran over and got pulled right into the vortex. Seeing that, Abad freaked out. He quickly withdrew. His magic rushed over, gently caught the deer, and asked, "You good?" After that, he introduced a spell that kicks up the power of the wind. It looked super simple, but honestly, it was a tough one to pull off. For his presentation, those 3 seniors all hooked him up with an A+. Watching from afar, his sister Chelsea was bursting with pride. "That's my bro." Then Professor Len, with his face all lit up, called out, "All right, next up, Leo Plav." Hearing his name, Leo hustled up front to start his presentation. "The signature magic I'm showing off is an attributeless magic formula system." The seniors couldn't help but be like, "What's that? Never heard of it. Break it down for us." Leo didn't give a straight answer. Instead, he hit them with a question. "Y'all know basic spells have to have an attribute, right?" Senior Shin replied, "Duh, that's like a must for any magic." Hearing that, Leo couldn't help but grin and said, "My advanced magic system is going to streamline the whole casting process." Over on the other side, even a fool could see what Leo was getting at, but hearing that made it hard to believe, and whispers started spreading. The green-haired guy figured Leo had to be crazy to say that. "Is this kid for real? Beside him?" Shin asked, "Just checking, you mean you're going to create a whole new system of incantations?" "Absolutely." Leo nodded, clueless that Professor Len was watching him all hyped up. He was thinking, "Okay, this kid has to become a mage." As for Fidman, he straight up said he didn't buy what Leo was saying and shook his head in mockery. How lame. "Leo, we didn't come here for your fairy tales." Not even letting him finish, Professor Len jumped in excitedly. "I want to see it. Write that spell down." Hearing that, the sharp-tongued Fidman added, "Yeah, let's see it." Back to Leo, wanting to blow everyone's minds, he snatched the chalk and wrote something on the board. While he was writing, Senior Rilda said, "Kid, there's only ever been one mage in history who used a totally different incantation system to work their advanced arts." In response, Leo paused for a moment and said, "That's right, it's the poet of the stars, Luna." In the back, Rilda noticed Leo knew this and still called it out, which kinda annoyed her. While Shin looked on, sizing him up, he said, "You really think you can stand toe-to-toe with her? Do you honestly believe you can match the poet of the stars?" It had her feeling kinda annoyed. Shin tossed a look her way. "You seriously think you can go toe-to-toe with her? You really think you're on the same level as the star poet?" "No way, man. I can't even hold a candle to Luna," Leo said softly, while Shin shot back about Archmage Luna. Kids these days, I swear, have no chill. Her words hit Leo like a ton of bricks, reminding him of where his friend stood right now. So he replied, "Look, I get it, Archmage Luna is like the goat of mages, but you don't gotta be a genius to whip up a sigil system." With that, Leo wrapped up his notes and turned to check out the crew. The seniors were staring at the board like they'd seen a ghost, totally wide-eyed. They realized fast that this formula was no joke. The kid wasn't just talking big. He could actually make this happen. They were like, "Whoa, he can use any spell he wants without all the limits." Chelsea the sorceress was just as shocked, saying, "This is insane. I can't even wrap my head around how it works." From the back, Carla the merchant chuckled. "I threw in the towel a long time ago." In a corner, Chloe's face shifted when she checked out Leo's formula too. The seniors had totally ditched their sassy looks, now super serious. Fidman chimed in, "Yo, Leo Plav, what made you whip up this magic system?" Leo shot back, "I just want to flex and use any kind of magic that's out there." This got Fidman hella curious. He thought, "This kid's wild. Now I get why this year's squad is something else." So he asked, "What do you even call it?" Leo started channeling his mana into his palm. He formed this sphere of white light and muttered, "Bible." Those words had shit in jumping, and he recalled something Bible. Only one person in history had that name. It was the magical system created by the fictional dude Kyle. Leo might just prove that Kyle was a real legend. Thinking that, she quickly wrote down Leo's score and handed the papers back to Professor Len. No shocker, Leo snagged an A+. After wrapping up his presentation, Leo strolled back down, thinking, "I couldn't finish this system back when I was Kyle." But this time, it's a whole new vibe. He noticed Chloe ahead, the last student who still needed to go. Seeing her look all lifeless, Leo got a bit concerned and asked, "You good?" But Chloe was in her own world, not even hearing him. She casually walked up when Professor Len called her name. The finals had arrived, Chloe Muller. The seniors were buzzing, waiting to see what she'd bring to the table. Senior Rilda asked, "Heard you're the top of the class. What's your magic going to be today?" Chloe shot back her eyes, all fiery with determination. "I'm dropping the undying flame." As she said this, a blazing red fire ignited in her hand. Chelsea up top felt a little uneasy. Undying flame. But Chloe usually rocks a different element. Why did she pick the opposing element for her big spell? The seniors, after peeping the flame Chloe conjured, were frowning, feeling let down since nothing seemed special about it. "I thought it would be as lit as the last two," they said, kinda bummed. Meanwhile, Fidman was ready to start scoring. "If that's all there is, I mean, what's the point? Let's wrap this up." But Chloe cut him off, saying, "Watch and learn, everyone. I'm about to show you what this magic can really do." She began casting a spell, forming this massive sphere of water hovering over her head. It then came crashing down on her. But the insane part, the flame in her hand didn't even wink out. Chelsea and Leo were both taken aback. It didn't go out. Could it be she made it stick? Someone shouted out, and Chloe confirmed, "Yep, for real. Unless I choose to put it out, this flame is here to stay." She clenched her palm and snuffed out the little flame. Back in Fidman's head, Chloe's spell seemed even weirder than Leo's test. Usually all spells follow a rule: magic fades if you're not channeling mana. But Chloe had just broken that rule. But how was that even possible? The more he mulled over it, the more confused he got. Meanwhile, Chloe kept it up. "My advanced magic is the eternal flame." All three seniors gave her an A+ without a second thought. From Leo's view, Chloe's spell made him feel uneasy. No way. Creating an undying flame was like something even Luna couldn't pull off. Throughout history, only one person ever used fire like that, Aribos. Time rolled on, and Leo suddenly remembered a past moment. He had tried to find Chloe to chat about something and had called out to her. Celia, the swordswoman in front, just shook her head. "She's probably knocked out," she said. "She couldn't close her eyes while cramming, so she's gone to bed early tonight." Hearing that, Leo turned and left right away. "Man, what a bummer. I'll head out." All three seniors gave her an A+ without hesitation. From Leo's angle, seeing Chloe pull off that spell had him feeling all kinds of uneasy. No way. An undying flame. That's something even Luna couldn't pull off. History showed that only one person had ever whipped up fire, like that Aribos. Time flew by. Time. And Leo started to remember a piece of the past. When he went looking for Chloe to ask her something, he called out to Chloe, but the swordswoman Celia just shook her head. "She's probably out like a light," she said. "She didn't catch any Z's while studying, so she'll probably crash early today." Hearing that, Leo just turned to leave. "That's a real bummer. I'm gonna head out." Behind them, Celia totally felt something was off and said, "Yo, there's been some sketchy stuff going down with Chloe lately, right? She's been super sensitive." "Like she's had beef with a couple of peeps in class," she continued, "and I heard she's hanging out with that weird group from the magic department, but Chloe's not that type." Just then, a little flame popped up next to Leo, and out flew a small phoenix Fiora. Leo reached out, played around with it a bit, then asked, "What's up?" A familiar voice shot back, "You called me Leo Plav." That voice belonged to Fiora's mom, who had entrusted the little one to Leo. Fina then asked Leo, "So what's the deal? Why'd you call me through Fiora?" Leo gently set little Fiora down and said, "I want to know why you're still chilling at Lumen." After that, he thought, beasts like the Phoenix and Demon Beasts are basically rivals. There's got to be a reason she's sticking around. From Fina's side, when she heard Leo's question, her face turned icy like she was deep in thought. She spoke up quietly. 5 years ago, Lumen got hit hard. 2 students and 3 staff didn't make it, and they never found the mastermind. In the end, Principal Kylie and Ben asked me to dig into Lumen. Since then, I've been on their trail. Leo then asked, "So do you know about the million demon beast summonings during the exam for the summoning department?" Lumen nodded slowly. "I heard a student died." Leo pressed on. "Do you think Tartarus is behind this?" Fina went quiet. "Right now, I'm just suspicious of it, so I can't spill too much." Seeing her vibe, Leo didn't push. Instead, he asked her for a solid, "Can you let Principal Calon know Senlu might not be the only student Tartarus is after?" This info hit Farina like a ton of bricks. Time zipped by, and today was the big practical exam day for hero research and combat research. Meanwhile, our laid-back Professor Harid was just chilling in his chair. He then called out for Class 5 to gather around. Now that everyone was there, the class rep was going to break down the exam. Leo jumped in. The interdepartmental exam for hero research and combat research is going to need teams to work together to tackle a hero world. This time, we're diving into the Chedmothers event. The whole class freaked out. Only Ileliana was sitting there clueless, not getting the hype at all. Seeing the reaction, she asked, "What's the Chedmothers event?" Nella next to her looked at her like she was from another planet. "Oh my god, Ileliana, you seriously don't know. This is even part of the exam." But before they could go on, Professor Harid yelled, "Silence, pay attention class, rep, keep going." Meanwhile, Leo whipped out a paper and kept reading. 30 years ago, 5 first-year students from Lumen Academy went on a mission to the Chedmothers forest. They got ambushed by Tartarus. At that time, Professor Albie, who's like the king of chill, was still a second year. He was on the rescue team, and they nearly got wiped out. The goal of this mission was to rescue the injured and take out the demon beasts. You'll be backing up Professor Albie, who was a second year then. Just as Leo dropped that info, the lazy teacher Harid got all serious, warning them, "This exam ain't your regular midterm. It's to boost your combat skills, so keep your head in the game. Anyone who's judged as lacking potential is getting booted immediately." Hearing that, the whole crew felt the pressure and their faces went pale. Seeing this, Harid chuckled, lightening the mood. "Just believe in yourselves, you kids are old enough." The students hearing their teacher's pep talk were almost moved to tears. Ileliana was even going to ask the teacher for his autograph, but before she could say a word, he waved her off. "Now, zip it." Then Professor Arshan's voice cut in. "All right, I'm going to drop the team list from biggest to smallest, starting with Class 1. The students instantly fell silent, shocked. Chelsea suddenly blurted, "Wait, aren't we supposed to form teams within our class?" Next to her, their merchant buddy Carl snapped, "No way. Ugh, we got to take this exam with total strangers." Brushing that off, other students lined up one by one, reaching into a giant jar to draw lots. Leo pulled a ball marked with the number 11. This meant he was in Group 11, which was the last group. After everyone got sorted into groups, Professor Albie stepped forward and said, "Grouping is done. Group 1 step up to the summoning matrix." Upon hearing that, the students went silent again. Chelsea shouted, "Wait, aren't we supposed to form teams within our class?" Next to her, Carl said, "No way. Ugh, so we got to take the exam with total strangers." Ignoring this, the other students stepped up one by one to draw from the jar, and Leo got the ball marked with the number 11. This meant he was in Group 11, which was also the last group. Then, once everyone was in their groups, Professor Albie stepped forward and announced, "Grouping is complete. Group 1 step onto the summoning matrix." As soon as Chelsea heard that, she and Celia rushed in. Having Celia on her team made Chelsea feel way better. It's a total win to be teamed up with the Zeringer fam's princess. Celia turned around and flashed a smile. "Let's show him what the Rodrian Empire is made of." Then Professor Albie powered up, making the magic circle on the ground light up like crazy. A notification popped up on the screen showing the Hero Chronicle. "Welcome to Albie Chapter Genesis featuring the Chedmothers event." And just like that, the two girls got teleported into Albie's Hero Chronicle. The professors outside could totally watch their every move on a floating screen. Professor Sedin was all hyped, saying, "Whoa, they moved in like lightning as soon as they arrived, just like we thought. Kids from those heroic families are something else. With Celia on board, they're definitely top tier." "Ha," Professor Hartid chimed in, sighing. "Nah, Chelsea Llewellyn is totally crushing it out there." His buddy shot him a look, clearly annoyed. But then someone jumped in and caught their attention, making them both jump. That first group finished their mission super fast. These kids are impressive for first years. It was Headmaster Callan. When the guys saw him, Sajun and Hared blurted out "Headmaster" and quickly shuffled to make room for him in the middle seat. Then Jin asked, "What's up?" Headmaster Callan grinned and said, "I just wanted to see how much the first-year students have leveled up." He paused for a sec, then turned to Professor Albie and said, "Sorry for bringing up some bad memories again." Albie turned too, looking icy. "I swore never to forget that mess, so I'll always remember it like a favor." Everyone then focused back on watching the students' test. On screen, Celia and Chelsea had just taken down an orc. As it fell, they got a notification. Team 1 has completed the mission. Everyone outside cheered, and Headmaster Kalian nodded, saying, "Just as we figured, it's still the two families, Zeringer and Chelsea. Super skilled, even if they bicker. In the end, they're all part of the same empire." Then Group 3 finished their mission with ease, thanks to their top players Abad and Duran. Seeing this, the headmaster's cheeks actually turned a bit red. They threw their strongest players up front, while the rest held it down from behind. A risky move, but I'm all about it. Next, Group 4 nailed it too, with Nella and Chinsa teaming up. They breezed through the challenge without a scratch. Headmaster Kalian said, "Nella Cavan's healing skills are straight up amazing, and Chinia's moves were like totally impressive too." Then came Group 7 sporting Warren Den Eliza and Ileliana. By this point, Headmaster Callion was super hyped on how the kiddos were doing. There were a ton of awesome students, but the one he was most stoked about was Leo Plav. Seeing that kid brought back feels almost like a trip down memory lane. Huh, he mused, stealing a glance to the side. At this moment, Professor Albie called out a group's name. Group 11, step up. Hearing this, Leo and Chloe stepped forward. Y'all ready? Albie asked again. The main dude and Chloe both nodded with determination, seeing that Professor Albie jumped right in and prepped to teleport them into his heroic chronicle. But just as the magic was cranking up a wisp of black smoke with a demonic vibe, suddenly puffed out of it. Right away, Leo sensed something was off and felt a little nervous. Hang on, something's not right. Not just him, but the other students felt that something was up as they noticed the magic pulses getting wilder. What's happening? Someone yelled, but after Leo and Chloe got yanked away, the magic circle went back to normal, like nothing happened. The other students were left stunned looking at each other. Huh, everything's chill again. Where did Leo and Chloe go? Professor Sedan jumped up and asked, What's wrong? Nearby Principal Callion joined in. Professor Albie, what gives? Albie turned around, looking tense, and opened his book for everyone to see, saying seriously, Principal, we need to stop the exam right now. In his book was a creepy image of a skull with a tree growing out of it. Seeing that Kalon's face turned dark, he asked slowly, Don't tell me. Before he could finish, Albie nodded and replied, Yep, this is a hero transforming dungeon. Back to Leo's spot with Chloe. After stepping into this dungeon, they saw a glaring red notification pop up on the screen, but it didn't say anything specific they had to do. This? He asked, all uneasy. You can't be serious. Before he could finish, Albie nodded and said, Yep, this is a hero-changing dungeon. Back to Leo's spot with that girl, Chloe. Once they stepped into the dungeon, they saw this glaring red alert pop up on the screen, but it didn't lay out any tasks to finish. This totally made the main character even more sus. Like usually an alert would kick off a mission, he whispered something, and meanwhile the sorceress Chloe was like, Hold up, is this the hero dungeon? No way, this isn't some lost page. I've never heard of any page in the Heroic Chronicle going haywire around here. Leo was straight up texting the teachers outside trying to reach them. Yo, Professor, I can't find the rest of the squad. What do we do? He sent the message but got crickets back. After a sec, Leo shook his head a bit. No one's hitting him back. Chloe freaked out when she heard that. She started biting her nails and said, No way, they've got to finish the test and get us out of here soon. But her optimism was kind of naive. Leo shook his head and schooled her a bit. If they could, they would have paused the test already. The deal is a hero-level dungeon popped up. Guess it's just us two who got to tackle this. Upon hearing that, Chloe freaked out and yelled back, Are you for real? Clearing this dungeon is hard. AF even with all 10 of the crew. Remember how many peeps bought it here 30 years ago? Leo replied, If we want to get out of this dungeon, we got to go for it, Chloe. Chloe definitely got that, but just thinking about the baddies ahead made her feel totally hopeless. TARDIS already messed stuff up before wiping out hero cadets like us before we even stood a chance. This whole forest is rigged. And the more she mulled it over, the more bummed out she got. She dropped to her knees and covered her face with her hands, sweating like crazy. Then Leo plopped down in front of her, raising his voice to pump her up. Chloe, you're like the strongest first year, right? We can totally crush this challenge if we team up. As he said that, he reached out his hand, looking all confident and stuff. This had Chloe thinking. She chewed on her lips a bit and thought, How's he so chill? I thought I might finally catch up to him. This made the sorceress feel kinda challenged. She didn't want to seem weak in front of Leo, so she got up and asked, So you got a plan? Leo laid it out there, no cap. To get through the Shedmer incident, we gotta check off 2 boxes. First, we save the first-year students, and second, we keep them safe. To hit those 2 goals, we gotta find some backup first. While saying this, Leo started doodling in the dirt with his finger. Chloe saw this, shrugged, and said, But how do we pull that off? Outsiders can't even get into this dungeon right. In response, Leo grinned, pointed to a circle he made, and said casually, Don't forget, we're not the only Lumen peeps chilling in this forest. Chloe got what he meant right away and nodded. The ones that kicked the bucket earlier, right? They've got to still be alive. Then she paused, watched Leo turn his back to her, and asked, What's the game plan, Leo? He shot back, Hop on my back. Chloe's face turned as red as a ripe fruit. She stammered, Why? Hearing this, Leo looked back and said, We can't let that girl confront Tartarus before we do. You're a sorceress, so you're slow. Get on quick. At Leo's reasoning, Chloe's expression twisted with doubt, but reluctantly she climbed onto his back. Meanwhile, in another scene, a demon with 2 horns on his head was checking out the Lumen students through some screens. This demon Tartarus named Chubar muttered, Time to roll. He was slightly thrown off as he watched the screen with Leo, carrying Chloe running like the wind. He instantly figured they were the rescue crew, but since it was just the 2 of them, Chubar didn't think much of it. A rescue team, whatever. We're after those hero cadets who'll be a problem in the future. The others, not a chance. That's what he thought. But a second later, his face changed. When he saw Leo drop the monsters blocking their path, a wicked killing intent surged up in Chubar. Remembering something, he growled, All classes, Kyle. Back at Leo's spot, totally unaware Chubar was watching him. He glanced around and thought, the closer we get to the center, the dimmer it feels. Should I borrow Aaron's skill, I'll channel my aura to max out my senses. Super sensory perception. With that in mind, Leo started concentrating his aura and channeling it into his eyes to see everything clearer than ever. Then he spotted something and warned Chloe, "Get ready, Goblin Squad up ahead." Leo's words surprised the sorceress Chloe since she hadn't noticed a thing. But she quickly nodded. Huh, okay, next. Just as Leo said, after running for a few dozen seconds, they hit a pack of orcs ahead. Seeing this, Leo called out to signal. Hearing him, Chloe sprang into action. She started channeling mana into her staff and swung it hard forward, creating razor-sharp ice shards flying at monster speed, piercing through them like quills. As a result, when the orcs spotted the two of them, they sadly trudged off to meet their doom. But one of the monsters still clung to life. Near death, it struggled to blow a horn for help. This made Chloe lose it. No way if it blows that horn. Made Chloe spring into action. She focused her mana into her staff and swung it hard, sending sharp ice shards flying toward the monsters at breakneck speed, piercing them like darts. So when the orcs caught sight of them, they sadly led each other off to meet their doom. But there was still one monster standing. Near its end, it fought to lift a horn to call for help. Chloe freaked out. No way if it blows that horn. All the orcs are totally rolling up here. She wasn't the only one vibing with that thought. Leo was feeling it too. To stop the wave, Leo swung his sword like a lightning bolt and chopped that green-skinned dude in half. The horn, in its grip, shattered too. Leo's super quick move left Chloe just standing there, totally mind-blown. She was thinking, how is he so much stronger than me? Am I ever going to be able to take him down? But pushing that aside, the two of them quickly dashed towards the crew of Lumen students. They were swarmed by a bunch of demons at that point. A weird demonic vibe was coming off them, leaving Chloe all confused. Are they even demons? She whispered, but Leo didn't have time to chat. He bolted ahead. Back me up, Chloe. Hearing that, Chloe snapped back into action and cast a magic circle under Leo's feet. Leo used it like a trampoline. He pushed off hard with both feet and jumped forward. At the same time, a girl in the student squad warned everyone, "Get ready, fam, they're coming!" No sooner had she finished than a demon jumped in to attack the four of them. "You're all gonna die!" The creature yelled loud and proud. Unfortunately for him, before he could even reach the students, Leo suddenly showed up in front of him and swung his sword, splitting that demon right in half, shocking everyone around. The demon's bod turned into a cloud of black smoke after getting sliced. The quick action freaked out the brown-haired girl, who then asked, "You came to save us?" Leo turned, nodded, and said, "You bet." Up ahead, another demon saw his buddy get wrecked and was all teeth grinding in anger. He summoned his magic to make a spooky black magic circle, all fancy and complicated. "You're dead, Death Leech!" As he shouted that, massive leeches with razor-sharp teeth shot out from within the magic circle like bullets. But this still wasn't enough to faze Leo. He immediately wrapped his sword in flames and slashed forward with serious power, releasing a flaming wave that took out everything in its path. "Wow, that's sick!" a dude from the group said in shock. Meanwhile, the brown-haired girl took her chance. "Now's the time, go!" Saying that, she started mumbling some cryptic spells to cast a spell called Radiant Beam and sent multiple beams of light flying at the demons. Once they hit, the demons went out. Like flaming coals drenched with water, they barely managed a weak cry before turning to dust. Watching all this, Chloe was in awe and thought, "Is that stellar magic? Who is this girl?" After regaining her chill, the brown-haired girl turned to Leo and said, "Thanks tons for having our backs. We were freaking out when the demons showed up, but now I'm super relieved." Just then, the rescue team showed up to help. Chloe cut her off before she could keep going. "Sorry, but I need to talk to my teammate for a sec." With that, she pulled Leo aside real quick and whispered, "Yo, Leo, that girl is Aliyah Zarin. She's Professor Alb's sister. 30 years ago, Chuban took her out right here in this forest. I'm sure you noticed too. But we can't save Aliyah Zarin's crew in the Shedmer incident. Of all the groups, we just so happened to bump into Aliyah's squad. Chuban. He's a knight-level necromancer from Tartius. Their squad is infamous for being the first he hit. Tartius started the Chedmother's mess just to eliminate the prodigy mage Ali Zarin, who's a top hero candidate. That's why their names are etched in the heroic chronicles. With our current strength, there's no way we can save them. To meet what we need, we gotta find another team fast." Chloe stroked her chin deep in thought while Leo frowned and asked, "Wait, are you saying we should just bail on them?" Chloe snapped back. "It's not that I don't want to save them, but Leo, this is the hero world. The truth is, they kicked the bucket 30 years ago. Hearing that, Chloe's voice wavered and her face showed clear sadness. Then Leo chimed in with his thoughts. "Yeah, they did die, but we can't just leave them hanging." Hearing that, Chloe couldn't hold her anger anymore. She gritted her teeth and shouted, "Get it together, you're incredible." "No doubt, but this isn't the time for some reckless hero stuff. Quit playing the hero." After saying that, feeling a bit bad for being harsh, Chloe went quiet. Tears started to form in her eyes. Sensing this, Leo quietly stepped forward, ruffled her small head with his hand, and whispered, "Come on, Chloe. You shouldn't throw around hero stuff so lightly because you're a hero candidate. We're not just pretending to be heroes. This is part of the journey to become one." Hearing that, Chloe snapped back to attention. She looked up at Leo with tearful eyes like she was waiting for his reply. Leo took a look around and said, "History's already been flipped." "What do you mean?" Chloe asked, totally shocked. In response, the protagonist gave his take. "Check it out, Chloe. When we ran into Aaliyah's crew, the forest was totally dark. Normally, they should have been wiped out by Chuban ages ago." Hearing that, Chloe was shaken and quickly realized there was something off about this hero dungeon. Hearing that, Chloe jolted back to attention. She lifted her tear-rimmed eyes to Leo like she was waiting for his answer. Leo took a look around and said, "History's already been flipped?" "What do you mean?" Chloe asked, totally shocked. In response, the protagonist gave his take. "Check it out, Chloe. When we ran into Aaliyah's crew, the forest was totally dark. Normally, they should have been wiped out by Chuborn ages ago." Hearing that, Chloe was shook and quickly realized there was something off about this hero dungeon. The forest was swallowed by darkness. Another day they should have been wiped out by Chuborn ages ago. Hearing that, Chloe was stunned and quickly realized something was off about this hero dungeon. "This is totally whack," she whispered to herself, then added, "I'm leaving it up to you." Leo just nodded and suggested, "Cool, let's bounce with Aaliyah's crew." Chloe watched Leo's chill back and thought, "You're heading up there solo again, huh? I'm still in the game. Can't you see it?" In her daze, the dark grimoire Chloe had stashed in her bag was glowing with creepy vibes she didn't even notice. Meanwhile, Aaliyah's squad was chillin'. Ted, a newbie who's all about magic, quietly asked the others, "Hey, doesn't this feel kinda weird?" Only 2 peeps from the rescue team showed up. Dina, a first-year knight, nodded. "For sure. They seem our age. Could this be a trap set by Tartarus?" Belok threw out his theory, but Aaliyah shut that down. "What are you on about? If they were bad news, they wouldn't be fighting demons with us." "And hey, he looks pretty dope," Aaliyah admitted, her cheeks turning slightly pink. The other 3 were wide-eyed in shock. Dina yelled, "Are you for real, Aaliyah? Out of everyone here, you're saying that?" Aaliyah shot back, "What's wrong with my vibe?" "Oh, snap. I just thought Senior Albie was your type." Dana scratched her head and said, then before the convo could drag on, Leo jumped in. "Yo, listen up. We gotta bail from this forest, like ASAP." At Leo's words, Tad stood up asking, "Is that really necessary? With backup here, we can chill and clear out monsters on the way?" Before he could keep chatting, Leo dropped the truth. "We can't do that. A Knight-class demon is on your tail." The group's faces turned ghostly pale, knowing a Knight-class demon packs a punch like an entire army. Someone whispered nervously, and Leo nodded, confirming, "Exactly. That's why we're dodging a showdown with it. Our main goal is to get back safe." "Ready, squad. All right, let's roll." As they hustled, Aaliyah glanced back at Chloe, seeing a mix of emotions on her face, which made Aaliyah a bit suspicious. Time zipped by as the scene flipped to Lumen Academy's library, which was in total chaos from the hero dungeon incident. Staffers were sprinting around hunting for all kinds of documents, while Professor Sedan was all frantic. "Find every case of a dungeon turning into a hero dungeon. We're short on time. Move it." Elsewhere, Principal Callan turned to Professor Albie, asking, "Should we take our inability to enter as a good thing?" The handsome prof nodded seriously. "Yeah, you can't enter a hero dungeon with people still inside. That means those 2 are still alive, but it's been 3 hours since those 2 students dipped into the hero world." Hearing this, the old principal pressed on. "Albie, when did you take down Chubarn 30 years ago?" "I'd say around midnight," Albie answered. That made Principal Callie let out a frustrated sigh. Sigh. "Are we just supposed to rely on our past selves?" No sooner had he said that than a staff girl dashed into the library shouting, "Principal, we tracked down the person who sold the summoning catalyst to student Lilu." As for ties to Tartarus, her voice trailed off, unable to finish. At that moment, Professor Albie's face turned serious, an aura radiating from him that even made Principal Callan flinch a little and place a hand on his shoulder, saying, "Chill, Albie." The principal's stern tone snapped the blonde professor back to reality. Still, Albie looked like he needed a minute to gather himself, so he turned and left. "I need to step outside to clear my head." With that, he bounced. Once he was out of sight, the staff girl finally exhaled in relief. Then she turned to the old principal. "Just like I thought, someone fueled by hate for demons powered up to hero status." Callian replied sadly, "Yeah, totally. In the incident 30 years ago, even his sister's relic was never found, let alone her body." "All right, so who's the dealer for the summoning catalyst to Sunlu?" The staff girl explained it was a black market dude chilling in the alleys of Lumen City. This year, he's become pretty infamous among the freshman crowd. As she spoke, she handed Callian a notebook. As Callian flipped it open to check it out, he asked, "Are you saying a Tartarus spy slipped into Lumen City?" The staff lady shook her head. "Nah, they don't roll with Tartarus. Clearly Tartarus hooked them up with some gear." Hearing that, Callian rubbed his chin, pondering, what's their end game? Then after flipping the page and checking out what was listed, Callian suddenly spotted a line. Chloe Muller, Dark Grimoire. Seeing that, the principal quickly slammed the book shut and turned to the staffer. "Elena, go fetch Professor Len." "You got it, sir," Elena replied, rushing off. Left alone, the old principal stared at his scarred hands, thinking, my instincts sharpened through so many near-death close encounters are yelling at me. They're telling me. Dark Grimoire. When the principal clocked that, he snapped shut the book and turned to his staff. Elena, go grab Professor Len. You got it, sir, Elena replied, dashing off. Left standing there, the old principal stared at his scarred hands, thinking, my instincts from all those close calls are going wild. They're trying to tell me something. Dude, danger's right in front of me. Time flew at school, and we're back with Leo's crew. Inside the hero dungeon, the night totally wiped out, and they were getting hit with monster attacks nonstop. Over here, Leo was chillin', swinging his sword, and took down a goblin like it was nothing. He then glanced over at his squad and thought, I've been all senses go for too long. Everyone's about to hit their limit, so he called out, let's take a quick breather to chill out. Meanwhile, Tyad and Balak were like, no way is he not tired. This guy's unreal. After that, they found a spot to kick back for a sec. While that was happening, the sorceress Chloe took the chance to peep into her grimoire, but then all of a sudden, Aaliyah popped up and said, yo, Chloe. Startled Chloe slammed her book shut, stashed it in her bag, and awkwardly replied, Aaliyah, what's good? Aaliyah grinned and shot back, I gotta ask, what's your deal with Leo? Are you two like a thing? Aaliyah's straight-up question threw Chloe off big time. The sorceress hurriedly said, nah, for real, it's not like that. Seeing how quick she denied it, Aaliyah nodded, okay, got it. From your vibe, definitely not. Chloe sighed, thinking, you come over just to ask that, ugh. Staring at Aaliyah, she thought, there's something familiar. Even if she's a senior from 30 years ago, she's still just a first year now. They might be like the kids from my class. That made Chloe blurt out, but why ask, you got a crush on Leo or what? Aaliyah glanced at Leo lounging by the tree, her face turning a bit pink as she said, well, my heart's racing. So yeah, it's kind of love at first sight. Chloe felt a little admiration for the main dude stirring in her. Aaliyah, the prodigy sorceress everyone still talks about after 30 years. In her mind, is Leo really that awesome? Unaware of Chloe's musings, Aaliyah brushed her hair back and shared, honestly, I'm not even sure if it's love. It's just that heart-pounding vibe you get like when my brother pulls some dumb stunt or after I ace something. Chloe's eyes went wide. She exclaimed, is that sorcerer with the evil eye really that much of a jerk in your eyes? In front of her, Chloe's comment made Aaliyah curious. What which eye? No, wait, I meant I would be. Chloe quickly corrected herself when she realized her goof. Then Aaliyah explained, it's just he's the one always pushing the limits. After hearing that, Chloe felt a bit sympathetic as she said, pushing limits, huh? Leo's like that too. At first we were just tight, but now I'm actually feeling kind of jealous of him. Across from her genius sorceress, Aaliyah smiled softly. Wow, looks like we're actually pretty similar, Chloe. I used to be super mad and jealous of my brother too. Sounds silly, but I thought no matter how hard I tried, he just had all the talent. Here's a secret, my magic roots actually come from my brother. I can totally use spells that are already out there, but making new ones, major fail. I flunked the Lumen Academy entrance exam twice. There was a time I really hated my brother. I thought I was so much better, but then that jealousy flipped to admiration. As Chloe listened to Aaliyah's story, her eyes widened even more, realizing they had both gone through the same struggle. But just then, Leo, who'd been chilling on the side, sensed something and jumped up to warn everybody. Yo, everyone get ready, change of plans. We can't back down now. Seeing Leo's serious face, the other students tightened their grips on their weapons, bracing for what was coming. Sensing the group's jitters, Leo yelled, don't freak out. Remember, you all have the potential to be heroes. The protagonist's pep talk helped chill the squad out a bit. They clenched their teeth and focused on the source of the roaring sound. It didn't take long for the massive bar to roll up. He stomped the ground so hard it cracked. Gotcha, the hater seedling of a legendary hero, he shouted, raising his weapon high and swinging it straight at Leo. The ground shook with a deafening boom as Leo nimbly leaped to dodge. But Chubar's words had Leo scratching his head. He wondered during that Chedmother massacre, Chubar's orders were to take out all hero seedlings at that time. So why's he beefing with me, calling me a seedling of a great hero? The more he pondered, the more he got lost in thought. Just as Leo was trying to wrap his head around it, a crazy killing vibe radiated from Chubar. Seeing this, sweat rolled down Leo's face. He shouted, hey everyone, it's charging! Without waiting for more reminders, Chloe threw some magic together to create a massive blue magic circle spreading across the ground. At the same time, the giant Chubar chucked his axe forward, but Chloe's giant ice pillar stopped it cold. On the flip side, our main dude wrapped his sword with a burning aura. He gathered power in his legs and launched himself up high into the air, diving for the demon below. To anyone watching, it looked like a forceful drop, but from down there, Leo swung his sword straight for its throat, sending a spray of hot blood flying. Seeing this, dodge. But Chubar's words had Leo feeling confused. He thought back to when Chubar's orders were to wipe out all hero seedlings back then. So why was he acting all hostile and calling Leo a hero seedling? The more he mulled it over, the more muddled it got. Before Leo could figure it out, a scary killing vibe blasted off Chubar. Seeing that sweat rolled down Leo's face, he yelled, yo everyone, it's charging up. No time for more reminders. Chloe was already using her magic to conjure this massive blue magic circle sprawling across the ground. At the same time, the giant Chubar tossed the axe he was holding, but it got stopped by the huge ice pillar Chloe created. Meanwhile, our hero cloaked his sword in a fiery aura. Then he powered up his legs and launched himself into the air, aiming straight for the demon. From above, it looked like a huge force hitting down. But from below, Leo swung his sword straight for its throat, spraying hot blood everywhere. And watching that, everyone started hyped up. He just went for it and sliced it off. But like a second later, everyone's faces hit the shocked mode because they saw Chum's neck almost totally sliced by Leo's blade. Was now slowly healing like it was no big deal. Finally, it stitched back up with no marks at all. One dude was brave enough to ask, can his neck seriously heal itself? Up front, Leo was yelling too. Yo, stay back from Chun. It's a revive spell that makes every attack totally pointless. Leo's words left Tayad and Ali all jaw-dropped. Their faces went ghost white because they had no clue how to counter that. So what's the move? Is there no way to take down that beast? Leo tried to calm them down. He said, nullification isn't unbeatable. Plus, that dude can't keep using it forever, so it's got its limits. Meanwhile, Chun picked up his axe, sneering. You really think you can take me leftover of a fallen hero? Leo shot back. You're just scared of the next big hero, huh? Out of nowhere, Leo, Dina, and Balok charged in from 3 different angles all at once. Meanwhile, the sorceress Aaliyah in the back was casting spells to help out. She dropped a spell called the Circle of Light, blasting beams of energy with a sketchy vibe straight at the demon's huge form, making anything that got hit burn like crazy. This light magic is the worst. Just like Lord Silatuna said, wipe them out right here. He mumbled to himself while swinging his axe at everyone. Then Chun suddenly roared loudly, lifting his arm up high to get ready for a massive hit. This freaked Leo out too, and he yelled dodge. No sooner had he said it than Chum's axe crashed down into the ground. The impact was so fierce that it sent rocks flying around like they were bullets. Sure enough, Leo was quick enough to swing his sword and swat away the rocks coming near him. But Dina and Balok were kinda slow on the uptake. A chunk of rock skimmed Dina's shoulder, while unlucky Balok took a nasty hit in the gut from a sharp stone. Spotting this, Leo rushed over, yanking his big buddy up and racing toward the ice pillar that Chloe made. Meanwhile, Aaliyah, worried for her pals, rushed over, asking, You good? Dina forced a response. I can manage a bit, but... just as she tried to finish. Leo assured them, Don't sweat it. No vital organs are hit. We just need to stop the bleeding. Then he turned to Chloe, saying, Chloe, we need a nasty, powerful strike. Hearing that, Chloe nodded. All right, just give me a sec. With that, the main guy left the others and whipped up 2 clones to hold Chum down. Over in Chloe's mind, she was racing to decide which spell to use while Leo kept him busy. I gotta hurry. I need to hit hard enough to break this nullification. She pulled her black grimoire out and flipped it open to check. Super quickly, she seemed to find a spell and muttered, If I toss this spell out then... Back to the brawl, the clash between Leo and Chun was getting more and more epic. And the ground was even shaking from their fight, leaving the spectators totally blown away. Leo was directing his clones to keep attacking Chun from all angles, but thanks to that nullification, Leo's hits didn't do squat to him. Chum just ignored the clones and barreled after Leo like he was on a rampage. But how did he get to the protagonist so fast? Suddenly, Leo's small frame flickered, reappearing beside Chun and swinging his sword down hard, leaving a deep cut in Chun's side, which made him scream in pain. Not too far away, Tayad was watching all this wide-eyed and turned to Dina saying, Dude, do you think one day we could pull off something like that? Dina could only shake her head. No idea, man. Unlike them, the sorceress Aaliyah just had to look at Leo's clones to piece together what was going on. She thought to herself, that's gotta be stellar magic. Who the heck is this guy? Just then, a chill shot out in all directions, giving Aaliyah a scare. She quickly spun around to see what was up and realized Chloe had finished her spell. A dark purple magic circle appeared up in the sky. It radiated a creepy vibe that made others super uneasy. I'm gonna wipe you filthy demons out, Chloe said with a weird grin. Then Chloe yelled to Leo in front, Yo, Leo, this is messed up. Get out of there. If you get caught and bite it, that's not on me. Peace. After saying that, the sorceress unleashed her magic, creating a fire pillar that shot toward Chun. The ground where her attack landed exploded. Watching Chloe's assault, Leo's brows furrowed hard. He couldn't wrap his head around why an ice mage like Chloe would drop a fire move. Clueless to Leo's thoughts, Chun, caught in the inferno, started howling like his whole house was burning down. Seeing this, Chloe laughed like she was on some kind of high. This is the eternal flame. You can't put it out. Suffer in the pain of unending fire. At this, everyone was staring as the flames enveloping the giant demon slowly turned black. Catching sight of this, a feeling of dread crept up on Leo. He shouted Chloe, gave off a captivating vibe that terrified everyone around. I'm gonna wipe out you filthy demons. Chloe snarled with a wicked grin. Then she yelled at Leo in front. Yo, Leo, this is risky. Get back. If you get caught and bite the dust, that ain't on me. Peace out. After she said that, the sorceress shot her magic forward, creating a massive fire column that blasted toward Chun. The ground hit by the attack blew up. Watching Chloe go off, Leo's brows tightened. He couldn't make heads or tails of it. This epic fire blast that zoomed straight at Chun. The ground where it hit totally blew up. Leo was watching Chloe go all out and his eyebrows were like furrowed, super confused. Like, why would Chloe, an ice mage, go for a fire attack? Chun was totally howling like his crib was on fire as he got caught in those flames, totally clueless about Leo's inner thoughts. Chloe was cracking up like she was on something, saying, "This is the eternal flame. It can't be put out. Suffer in the never-ending fire, dude." At that moment, everyone was watching as the flames engulfing the giant demon started to turn black. Leo felt a chill creep up his spine and he shouted, "Chloe, yo, stop that spell right now." But it looked like Chloe wasn't even listening to Leo anymore. The way she was gripping her staff, it was about to snap. "Someone like you needs to pay," she said, all pumped up and wild. She kept the spell going, no doubt. Just peeping at Chloe's face, Leo could see she was totally losing it. Without even thinking, he dashed over to her and swung his sword down hard. He knocked the dark book right out of her hands, and just like that, the crazy flame Chloe was holding died out. Then Leo was all gentle, grabbing her waist and landing softly beside her. Chloe looked kinda dazed, like she was in a haze or something. Leo turned to her and said, "Hey Chloe, for real, was that flame your special move?" Chloe, unable to hide the truth, sadly confessed, "Nah, it's just an incantation I found in this old magic book." Hearing that, Leo let out a deep sigh. "So it really is that flame of Aribos." He laid it out straight to Chloe. "Listen up, Chloe, that magic you were doing is dark magic." Chloe went completely blank at Leo's words. Her voice quivered as she asked, "What dark magic?" Leo nodded, explaining exactly. "That grimoire, it's like a demon treasure." From Chloe's perspective, she finally got how risky her moves had been. "What did I do, Leo? I can't. I'm not cut out to be a hero." The more she talked, the more freaked out she got. With no choice left, Leo slapped her shoulder firm and yelled to snap her back, "Yo, chill. Look, there's no record of Chubar having some anti-magic curse. That means he burnt out his magic fighting Aaliyah's crew. Get it? 30 years ago, even when they were scared, none of them threw in the towel. They went hard till the end in a fight that seemed like a total lost cause." Leo locked eyes with Chloe, asking, "What did the Lumen Academy teach?" Chloe answered hesitantly, "That we gotta break through all our limits." Leo nodded, feeling pretty stoked about her answer. In that moment, Chloe's mind cleared up. She thought, "Now I get it. I admired him from a distance. He's so cool that I don't even feel jealous anymore." Meanwhile, Aaliyah stepped up and handed Chloe her staff. "Here, take it, Chloe, please." After calming down the blonde sorceress, Leo shifted his focus to the massive Chubar in front of them. Thanks to Chloe, the anti-magic curse was off. Now it was time to wrap this up. Just as Leo was about to charge, he heard Chloe start chanting next to him. "I, Chloe Muller, will also break my limits and not bow down to those who believed in me," she vowed deep inside. Each word made a magic circle start glowing in the sky. A smile crept onto Leo's face without him realizing. Epic. That's some legit spellcraft from a real mage. Is it just me, or do I feel all kinds of fired up? Suddenly, visions of fighting alongside his buddy Luna flashed through Leo's mind. He'd felt that same rush of certainty. But Chub the big monster realized he couldn't block attacks anymore, so he charged at Leo with his axe, not giving the dude a chance to cast spells. As he closed in, he swung down hard, forcing Leo to lift his sword for a block. But Chub went totally berserk. He was zeroed in on Leo like a missile, promising, "You're dead." He yelled and charged for another hit. It was so beastly that even as Leo parried, the ground below split like crazy. This rocked Leo back, making him stumble back a few steps. When Chub saw this, he took his shot. Clenching his left fist, he threw a wild punch that sliced through the air. Leo quickly brought his sword up to defend, but the hit was so strong it sent him flying back like a cannonball. He started coughing up some blood from those hits. Shaban's mean voice echoed, "Is that all you got, kid, of the great hero?" His words chilled Leo to the bone. Struggling to get up, suddenly, a snowflake floated right in front of him. An icy chill swept the area, coating everything in a thin layer of frost. Leo realized Chloe had finished her spell. He said with confidence, "Past or present demons can never take us on. This is it for you, Chub." At that moment, a 5-pointed star lit up inside the massive magic circle in the sky. As for Chloe, she quietly thought, "Thanks to you, I nailed my unification magic. Low ice realm," she whispered. Right after, a bunch of razor-sharp ice pillars shot up from the ground. And just like that, the demon Tartius was frozen solid in an ice statue by Chloe's intense freezing magic. With that, Leo stepped up lightly, raised his finger, and touched the giant ice. Cracks shot out, and it shattered into pieces. Leo then noticed a dark energy coming from Chloe's grimoire buried beneath the ground. Without thinking twice, our hero wrapped his sword in a blazing red aura and stabbed it right into the book, icing up the whole scene with a slick layer of frost. Leo realized that Chloe's spell was totally on point. He confidently declared, "Past or present, you demons are like never gonna beat us. This is the end of the line for you, Chub." Just then, a 5-pointed star lit up inside the massive magic circle in the sky. Back to Chloe's thoughts. She quietly thought, "Thanks to you, I've nailed my unification magic. Yo, ice realm," she whispered. Instantly, a ton of sharp ice pillars shot up from the ground. And just like that, Chloe's epic freezing magic turned the demon Tartius into a solid ice statue. Seeing that, Leo took a light step forward and touched the gigantic ice with his finger, sending cracks racing out until it shattered into a million pieces. Then Leo felt this dark vibe coming from Chloe's grimoire buried underground. Without a second thought, he wrapped his sword in a fiery red glow and drove it straight into the book. Right after that, they got a notification. Achievement unlocked. Saved a first-year student who was in a super risky spot. Reward a bunch of achievements unlocked. Chubar is down. Ignoring the alerts, Leo turned to the totally confused Chloe and said, "Your magic skills are straight up amazing. If I could rock field magic like that, I'd totally come back to life every time I used it." Chloe didn't even look at him, just glanced away and said, "Leo, I'm planning to spill everything to the academy. I might get kicked out." Hearing that, her face got super tense, but Leo comforted her. "No way. A hero candidate like you getting expelled. I know you're destined to be a hero." Nearby, Aaliyah and her crew, seeing they'd won, sprinted over. "You two were fire. You look just like real heroes." Leo nodded back. "You all crushed it too. Come over here." Chloe started to hand the staff back to Aaliyah. "We really used it well. That's how we took them down." Smiling, Aaliyah shook her head. She pushed the staff back to Chloe and said, "Chloe, you should totally keep it." Their black-haired buddy nodded in agreement. "For real, we owe our lives to you guys. Leo, you should take this too." He handed his sword over to Leo like it was nothing. Plus, they even gave Leo and Chloe a necklace and a pair of gloves. Just then, a panicky voice called out from a distance. "Over here, there's someone still alive." It was Professor Albie, who had just dashed up. Just by looking at his soaked sweater, you could tell he had sprinted here like a madman. Seeing the dude look so young, Chloe was like, "That's Professor Albie. Why does he look around our age?" "Well, that was 30 years ago," Leo shared. Meanwhile, Allie grabbed his sister's shoulders, all worried, and asked, "Aaliyah, are you okay?" Aaliyah just smiled and said, "The rescue team is here, so I'm all good. Oh, by the way, I met someone who looked just like you." At the same time, Leo's group got another notification. Strategy complete. Albie's World. Prelude to the Cheat Mothers event. Seeing the siblings all happy together made Chloe feel all warm inside too. She whispered to herself, "Thanks everyone for being alive." With that said, the two of them were whisked away by a beam of light. Before Aaliyah could even shout bye, they were gone. Back in Chloe's view, cracks started spreading through the space, and she realized, looks like the hero's world is falling apart. Back with Leo, another notification popped up in front of him. Strategy reward gift. After they left, Professor Albie, who usually acted all cool, couldn't hold back his tears when he saw his sister safe and sound. Time zipped by. When Leo opened his eyes again, he found himself chilling in the infirmary. The second he woke up, the handsome professor's voice echoed in, "You're awake, Leo. Thanks for saving the girl, and we're super grateful to Muller." Then Albie turned cold and bounced out. Just then, Headmaster Callan walked into the room, and seeing him, Leo started to say what's up to him. But the old dude waved him off. "Don't even think about sitting up. Just chill for a sec." "How's your bod?" Leo shrugged it off. "Me, I'm all good." "No worries." Headmaster Callan plopped down and got straight to the juice. "So, what went down in there? Does this whole mess tie back to the grimoire Chloe brought?" "Yup." Leo was caught off guard and shot back, "How'd you know?" To that, Callan broke it down. "Before rolling in here, we figured out where Sunlu scored the summoning catalyst, which is also where Chloe got the grimoire. Looks like we were right. That grimoire is packed with magic." Hearing this, Leo was deep in thought. A magical item, a shard of Aribos. So basically a legit piece of Aribos. That could turn into a major weapon in the hands of demons. But if any regular folks get it, it'll mess with their heads. Then Leo started spilling everything that went down in that hero's dungeon. After hearing it all, Headmaster Callan said, "So that's how it went. If your story's accurate, Leo, then the magical item messed with the hero's world." "Right." Leo nodded like he meant it. "Once we chucked that item, the hero's dungeon flipped back to normal." "So that's probably the case." Meanwhile, the sorceress Chloe suddenly woke up. Spotting the old guy beside her, she shouted, "Huh, Headmaster Callan!" Seeing her freaked out, the old dude raised his hand to chill her out. "Hold up. Since you two just woke up, I need to ask something." As he said this, Secretary Elena rolled in, carrying a big cloth bundle. She gently peeled back the cloth to show the stuff they got from Aaliyah's squad before they bounce. Looking at the staff in her grip, Chloe's eyes went wide like no way. "That's Aaliyah's staff." Headmaster Callan said with a serious tone, "You two gotta explain yourselves. A reward like this shouldn't even be a thing. How did this land in your hands?" Turning to Leo, he frowned at Chloe's reaction and pieced together. By the looks of it, Chloe didn't get any reward at all. Just like the entrance exam and this Chemother's shindig, there are no clear rewards in the living hero's world. Plus, the reward rules are all tied to the hero's world owner. That whole rule got tossed aside. What's up with that? Even if the reward is the Fairy King's oath, why would it come to me? Thinking this, Leo's brain was all over the place. But he couldn't spill that out loud, so he said something weak like, "You can call it a strategic reward." Upon hearing that, both Callan and Chloe looked shocked and turned to Leo asking, "So there are rewards in Alb's hero's world?" Leo cautiously guessed. "Yeah, probably. I think something weird happened when the hero's world got restored. Then he thought, for now, I should use that as an excuse to cover things up. From Headmaster Callian's view, although he heard the protagonist's explanation, the old man was still stroking his beard, looking concerned, and asked, Chloe seems clueless. But why just you, Leo? Before he could finish, the sorceress jumped to Leo's defense. Maybe Leo was like the MVP of the strategy. I've heard that. Whether a reward happens changes a ton based on how much you pitched in. Callian decided not to dig deeper. He slowly stood and nodded. All right, I get it. We'll look into this phenomenon quietly. The relic is heading back to the family after inspection, and nobody should spill anything about the magical item. But right after that, Chloe was still stunned and turned to ask. Callian just smiled and said, the danger isn't just out there. You two really crushed it. Now chill and rest. With that, he and his assistant Elena bounced from the room. Once it was just them, Chloe glanced at Leo and hesitantly said, hey Leo, there's something I want to tell you. Well, at this her face got a bit red, but before she could say more, their crew Chelsea, Celia, and Carl crashed into the room. Chelsea the sorceress was on the verge of tears. For some unknown reason, Headmaster Callian suddenly popped back and said to them, oh right, hero candidates. There's a party going down tomorrow night. If you don't have formal fits, you should head to Lumen City early. Young peeps are too cute. His heads up made both Leo and Chloe raise an eyebrow. They acted like they just heard about the party for the first time. Time zipped by, and soon it was time for the welcome party for new students. At that moment, the announcer's voice boomed. Yo, welcome party for the freshmen who survived the first midterm at Lumen Academy. First up, let's welcome our battle-hardened heroes. Tonight, which dude or chick is going to steal the spotlight? In one corner of the party, Carl and Tide were fixing their hair, chatting it up boastfully. Dude, this is our reward for making it through that gnarly midterm at Lumen Academy. Maybe it was a tad too chill for us. With that, they plopped down at the banquet table. While munching away, they kept talking. Why does it feel like our class is missing something? Carl asked, and Tide next to him nodded like crazy. Lumen doesn't do latecomers, you know. At the same time, suddenly the announcer's voice blasted out again. Yo, why does it seem like our squad is missing the vibes? Carl said, and Tide next to him was totally vibing with a nod. Lumen won't deal with people who roll in late, you know. Just then, the announcer's voice echoed through the room again. And in that moment, a fresh crew of heroes strolled in from Class 5, Nella Carvin and Liliana Ledden. When the announcement dropped, everyone whipped their heads to the door, totally blown away by how gorgeous the two were. Whoa, they're so pretty, someone gasped. Carl and Tide were so caught off guard, they just stared, like Tide even spit his soda everywhere. They both look fire, Carl shouted. Nella, with her flaming red hair, saw their reactions and couldn't help but laugh. Haha, did you guys raid your dad's closets or what? Carl just let out a heavy sigh. Man, what was I even hyped about before? Tide, sitting next to him, nodded his head in agreement. Ignoring their little drama, the announcer kept going. Next up, representing the Rodrian Empire, the Llewellyn brothers. When the suave Cold Abad walked in, the girls lost it, screaming, oh my gosh, I want to be the young master's sidekick. I'm fan club number 94, 348. No regrets here. Carl couldn't help but shout, she looks like a legit princess. A princess, Nella chimed in, surrounded by Rodin's elite crowd. This dude's not a joke. Up at the mic, the announcer yelled out, finally a real couple graces the hall. It's Celia from the Zeringer family and Leo Plav. But Celia the swordswoman was not having it and playfully stuck out her tongue annoyed. Oh, why are you crowding in on my spotlight, Leo? Leo just shrugged and casually replied, so what? On the sidelines, when people spotted Leo coming over, a wave of excitement hit. That's the class rep. Check it out, class rep, the pride of Class 5, Leo. Wow, our rep is straight up the best. His friends cheered. Then the vibe shifted when the white-haired professor interrupted with a serious announcement. Now, a phantom image of a terrifying monster appeared above her head. So, is everyone vibing with the party? Even though all the students were clearly not feeling it, no one had the guts to say otherwise, replying, yeah, we're having a blast. Haha. Deep down, they thought, if we say we're not, she'll flip out again. From the female professor's POV, seeing the students pretended to have a good time, she was pleased too. I'm stoked everyone is still having fun, so keep having a blast while I announce the results of this midterm competition. Switching over to Leo's crew for some weird reason, the vibe suddenly dropped a bit. How are we supposed to enjoy this now? Carl complained. Ignoring their moans, the female professor kept rolling with her speech. I anticipated all of your reactions, so we're just going to drop the names of the top 3 students from each department. The rest of the scores your homeroom teachers will hand out tomorrow, so no stressing too hard. The head professor for each course will now announce your scores. Right after that, I'm the Knights department professor stepped up to give his 2 cents. When he showed up the fire mage, Nella couldn't help but fangirl out loud like she was seeing a celebrity. So cool, Frost Knight and Ellen Rock, she shouted with excitement. Meanwhile, the solemn professor started his speech. You all killed it on the midterms. Now, I'll announce the top performing students in the Knights department. Just then, the lights in the hall dimmed, and a list popped up on the screen with swordswoman Celia at the top, Duran in second, and finally Chinsa. The professor called out their names one by one, and Celia, looking at the list, felt a bit confused. She thought, wait, Leo didn't make the cut. Next up, the charming Professor Aylin took the stage. Now I'll reveal the rankings for the magic department. First up is Abad Llewellyn. Second place goes to Chelsea Llewellyn. And in third, we've got Emil Lucan. At this moment, Mage Chelsea looked worried and turned to the protagonist asking, why isn't your name up there? Leo handled it coolly. That can happen. Off to the side, Carl awkwardly chimed in, I get it. Leo, but Chloe's name's missing too. Hearing that, the swordswoman Celia threw a glance at Chloe, but all she got back was an awkward smile from the mage. Shifting to Thoughtland, Professor Allen's concerns arose because Chloe's practical magic exam score was sitting at 0. Still, what she pulled off showed her passion for being a mage is truly impressive. Just then, Professor Sedan stood up suddenly and shouted, the real top student of the magic department will always be Chloe. His loud shout made the chill Professor Herod chuckle and say, all right now, sit down. Celia patted Chloe's shoulder for some good vibes. While they were still joking around, Professor Yura came forward and announced, all right, summoning freshmen, get it together for next time. According to her list, the top of the summoning department among first years was Warren Den with Eliza in second and Jordan Rowson in third. Back to Leo's squad. They started to notice something weird, since several departments had already dropped their lists, but Leo's name still hadn't shown up anywhere. Seeing their puzzled faces, the petite professor turned back and said, everyone's still having a blast, right? Now we're finally going to announce the valedictorian and the student council representative. The midterm valedictorian and representative for this year is Leo Plav. Right after she said that, the group gasped in shock. Yo, the midterm valedictorian and this year's main rep is Leo Plav. Right after that, the squad just gasped in shock. But then, out of nowhere, a hand shot up. Nah, hold up. How's Leo Plav, who didn't even rank in the top 3, get to be the valedictorian and the rep? That was Emil Lucan, who snagged third place in the midterm. Honestly, even Leo was like, wait, why am I the rep? Emo's question set off a whisper fest among the crowd. The white-haired professor up front got all flustered, tripping over her words. But a second later, she switched gears and yelled, listen up, kiddos, I'm about to drop some serious knowledge, so perk up. First off, dual discipline students ain't ranked by individual departments, because it's not a fair fight under the standard system. Like a sword mage's magic usually can't touch a pure mage's, but together, they're unbeatable. Second, Leo Plav totally crushed it on the spiritology and combat exam, like the highest score among the freshmen. Below, Eno caught that and was pretty confused. But he still squeezed out, but wasn't there someone who also got a perfect score on that combat exam? Just as he asked that, another shout rang out. Leo even took down the target from the World Hero Quest. He wrecked Sherban. After that bomb dropped, everyone turned to Leo, eyes wide and minds blown, which seriously put some pressure on him too. You really took down Sherban? It was just you and Chloe. They were like amazed. And Leo just nodded, keeping it chill. The white-haired professor was still flustered and said, guys, the reason Leo scored big on the midterm is... But before she could finish, Professor Sejan smiled and jumped in. All right, Professor Orishan, that's enough. I think the other students got the memo. That's a wrap on the score announcements. Enjoy the party. And with that, everyone was vibing and partying together. Flipped to the professor's table. While munching on food, Professor Yura leaned into her buddy and asked, Yo, Len, if dual discipline students could rank within the depths, what would that even look like? Professor Allen glanced over and said, total shakeup in the magic department. Everyone's rankings would tank. Yura's eyes widened nervously. You're telling me the top of the magic department is... Before she could finish, Orishan quietly nodded. Yup, Leo's sitting at the top of magic. Yura was like, my summoning department's in the same boat. Nearby, someone from the Knights department casually said, Knights 2, Leo Plav is number 1. Yura was shook, not hiding her shock. Whoa, the kid's going for every department? Ain shrugged. This ain't just some pipe dream. Across the table, 2 professors slammed their hands down. But Leo's gonna be a beast of a mage. His magic is super... Yura interrupted coldly. Chill. You think talents like summoning just grow on trees? Ain sighed, staying calm. Look, Leo's just made for the sword, okay? So the 3 professors went back and forth arguing. Time flew. Cut to class 5. Before the teacher walked in, Carl was totally sprawled on his desk from last night's aftermath. Dude, I think I went a bit overboard on the drinks yesterday. Right next to him, the mage Chelsea scolded, You're the first person I've known to slam 2 liters of orange juice. Then the lazy teacher Herod ambled in saying, Quiet down, peeps. This announcement's about the school trip. As you know, we're headed to elf territory this time. As he talked, the professor slapped a map onto the board. Everyone perked up at the mention of a trip, especially Liliana and Tide. Yeah, we know. I heard each class gets to pick a spot. We're thinking Dwin Forest, the warm forest. It's famous for super tasty fruits. But sadly, for their dreams. Herod pointed to a spot on the map and said, Nah, we're going to Elsikia. That left the fire mage looking completely lost, like she had no idea where that was. Quickly, Carl flipped through his book and explained, Elbikia is a small, icy country up north in elf territory. Hearing this made the 2 eager adventurers want to cry inside. What are we even going to do in such a freezing spot? This is so not right. Hearing that, Professor Hareed shrugged and tossed the blame on Leo. If anyone's to blame, it's the class president. He picked it. Everyone turned to Leo with big question marks on their faces. But Leo didn't say much and just said, "We should grab what we need in Lumen before we go right." Leliana piped up, "My friend's going to start with gloves." Meanwhile, the ice mage Chelsea was like, "Time to bust out all my coats." From Leo's perspective, he was definitely not the kind of guy who chose a destination just for the heck of it. He was deep in thought, flipping through his book and said, Elbikia's this tiny country way up north like freezing cold in all elf territory. Hearing this, the two pumped-up adventurers were like, "What are we even going to do in a place that cold? This is so off." Professor Hareed just shrugged and tossed the blame on to the main character. If someone's got to take the heat, it's the class prez. He's the one who picked this. Everyone turned to Leo with those "what's up" looks, but Leo kept it chill and reminded them, "If you want to point fingers, point them at the class president. That dude picked it." As soon as they heard that, everyone shot curious looks at Leo, but Leo kept it chill, just threw out a reminder. "We should totally grab what we need in Lumen before we dip right." Leliana was like, "My buddy is kicking things off with gloves." Meanwhile, Chelsea the Ice Mage was all hyped, saying, "Time to rock all my jackets." From Leo's view, he wasn't the type to just pick a spot without a solid plan. He thought to himself, Elsbikia might seem like a total snooze to humans, but it's actually the elf hangout. It's where the fairy dirt is stashed. Silent, I hope he's doing all right. Time whizzed by. Scene changes to a fountain. Leo hit Nella with, "I got the food and stuff covered." Nella shot back, "But you packed the potions, right?" She nodded, totally on the same page. Leo dashed off to grab some snacks. But after he was done, he scoped something out and turned around. He was like, 13th Street CA Jaguist. This has got to be it. Next up, Leo strolled over to the shop crammed in a dark corner with a sign that said Lutech. This was where Sun Lu and Chloe had snagged that demonic artifact. Leo ditched his satchel outside the door. Walking in the vibe was totally wrecked and chaotic like nobody had been there in ages. The walls didn't even freak Leo out. He knew the Lumen investigation crew had already checked this place out, so there probably wasn't much left. The only thing still hanging around was a random stuffed bear. With that, Leo perked up. "Hold up, a doll. Everything should have been cleared out for evidence. It must have been locked when I walked in. Don't tell me it's a mind-bending curse." Then bam, just like he feared, the stuffed bear turned to face him. From its eyes, this black goo shot out looking straight up like ink. Luckily, Leo was on top of his game and dodged just in time. The black goo morphed into some freaky monster, crawling with a million eyes. Leo knew this wasn't your basic demon, so he leaped back toward the exit to keep a safe distance. He was thinking, this isn't just a mind-warping deal, it's throwing every curse it can at me. Then the monster shifted, taking on a snake vibe, and said, "Well, look at you, sharp kid. You spotted my curse." At that moment, Leo realized it was the demon queen Silituna, one of the demon lords his squad didn't manage to take down 500 years ago. This wasn't even her real form, just a fake conjured by a magical jinx. Clueless about what he was thinking, Silituna went on, "Light seals and Magica sword mage. Nice skills, I'll give you that. But it's your lame sense that's going to get you in trouble." With that, a ton of tentacles sprang from the monster, whipping fiercely at Leo, making him backpedal like crazy. Still, the mad speed of the attacks got Leo a nasty scratch on his arm. He thought, "I can't take this thing now. I gotta bail." Silituna had Leo pinned and smugly said, "Thanks for the feast, wannabe hero." Then she opened her mouth wide and lunged right at him, like she was going to swallow him whole. But at that moment, Leo smirked like he had everything under control. And guess what his backup had shown up? A cold sound rang out, and then a massive spear came crashing down, slamming the big monster hard into the floor. It was Professor Albie. Seeing him, the demon freaked out and yelled, "Mage, the evil eye mage. This is way better than just watching makes it super happy." Then it flung parts of its blown-apart body right at Leo, like trying to drag him down too. Too bad for you. There's no way Professor Albie would let that happen. Right then, he created a magic shield that made the flying bits explode on impact. "Filthy demon trash," Albie said with total disdain. Meanwhile, Silituna's clone howled, "Those gross goblins, one day I'm going to rip out their eyes and snack on them." As she said that, she shot her whole mass of tentacles at them, but this attack was totally useless. He coldly replied, "Not interested in cheap imitations. Die." With that, the professor shoved his hand forward and unleashed a wicked beam of destructive light, instantly blasting Silotuna's form into pieces. Watching that, Leo thought to himself, "I'll be Zarin, the evil-eyed mage." Another title he had was Tardis, the Destroyer. Rumor had it he became a prof at Lumen Academy just to have the freedom to cross borders while hunting down targets. He felt a bit of regret, like he owed a lot to this hero of the age. Meanwhile, Professor Albie turned and asked, "You Leo Plav, what's the deal here?" Leo bent down, grabbed the stuffed bear's head, and explained, "This popped up while I was snooping around. It's got a mind-bend curse." Albie stepped up, took the bear's head, and told the Lumen investigation crew they'd be accountable. "Sure, I'll let you slide for investigating this spot alone. From now on, if you need anything, just hit me up. I appreciate what you did last time. After this, the professor used his magic and whipped out of the room. Meanwhile, Leo stepped outside, grabbed his satchel, and walked off lost in thought. The Zarin fam is one of the 3 major houses running Lumen Academy. Maybe I can sneak into the Forbidden Library with his help. Not long after he bounced back to meet Nella. Yo, you made it, class rep. I wrapped up the shopping, Nella said with a cheer. But when she spotted the gash on Leo's arm, she rushed over worried and used some healing magic to patch him up. Hey, class rep, what's up? Leo shook his head. It's not a biggie. Thanks. Even so, that Silotuna encounter had left him feeling a little uneasy inside. So, for real, Silotuna is totally pulling the strings with that beast controller and that dark magic book. No clue what their endgame is. Time flew by, and a week later we're at the teleportation gate. Everyone's chilling here getting ready to bounce to El Subikia. Before we dip, Leo's like, y'all got enough snacks? Aleliana and Nella just nodded in unison. Yeah, we packed it all. Just then, the sword gal Celia turns around and goes, Yo, Leo, why you heading to Elsia? It's like freezing there. Leo just shrugged and shot back. It's actually warm now. Hitting up El Subikia feels like a summer getaway. The sword chick waved goodbye. Oh, snap, so it won't be chilly tonight. All right, safe travels, Leo, she said, then stepped through the teleportation gate. After telling Celia to watch herself, Leo faced his class and said, Class 5, gear up. We're heading out together to El Subikia, the elf land. With that, the crew hopped into the teleportation gate. Scene shifts to Siren Academy, the legendary military school of the elves. In front of a fountain, a young couple was throwing shade at someone. What a sad outfit. An elf like you studying at the fancy Siren Academy. That bloodline, can you chill with the bragging about your unknown lineage? Hearing this, a white-haired dude just stood there trembling and not saying a word. Then out of nowhere, another voice cut through. Don't pick on a classmate. Act like a true scion of Siren. The red-haired girl, Lunia El Lunda, is from the Lunda house, which is super noble, and she's also the first-year representative at Siren Academy. Instead of backing down, the couple shot back, aren't you bothered that a half-blood made it into Siren Academy? His existence is a joke. Look at how he dresses. So wild. Luna wasn't having it and bristled like a dog ready to bite. Awesome! Here we go again. If you hate how he dresses, just strip and give him your clothes. If you can't help, then zip it. The couple just stood there shocked at her attitude, stumbling over their words. Lunia, you're from a noble family. You shouldn't speak so harshly. Oh, snap. What's happening? Luna rolled up her sleeves like she was ready to throw down. Don't you feel ashamed ganging up on someone? If you don't like it, then fight me. Her sleeves like she was ready to throw down. Don't you feel ashamed ganging up on someone? If you don't like it, then fight me. Their freak out, Lunia turned to the guy behind her. Hey, why are you dressing so lightly? It makes me want to look after you all the time. Then she snatched her scarf and wrapped it around the male student's neck, and he flashed her a happy grin. Someone jacked my stuff. The dude, Luca Eners, ranked 3rd in the first-year exams at Siren Academy as a half-blood. Turning back to Luna. Seeing Luca was bummed about his stolen stuff, her anger flared up again. But then she sneezed, making Luca a bit worried. Luna, just take back the scarf. It's cold. Luna shook her head and waved it off. No worries, I'm good. Luca noticed Luna was way too cheerful today and asked Lunia, you seem super pumped today, huh? Luna cleared her throat and said, because my contract familiar finally hatched. Hearing that made Luca stoked for his friend. Congrats, Luna, that's awesome. All right then, I'm gonna head out. As soon as the red-haired girl got home, she rushed to her dad's office and asked Dad my contract familiar hatched right. Inside the room, a brown-haired dude smiled and said Luna remember to call them Professor while at school. This guy, Ellen Lunda, is head of the Lunda house, one of the most respected heroic families, keeper of Fina's oath. Responding to his daughter's question, Uncle Ellen nodded slightly, looking a bit embarrassed. Yeah, Fina's kid seems to have hatched. Hearing this, Luna was bouncing with excitement. I knew it, so when can I meet it? Her dad sighed. There's a small issue, Luna. Your contract familiar seems to have had its memories sealed with someone else already. We'll dig deeper into this. Before he could finish, Luna lost it, slamming her hands on the table and yelling, who jacked my contract familiar scene shifts to Velsia, the capital of El Subikia. At this point, Leo's crew had just rolled in through the teleportation gate. Slamming the table and yelling, who jacked my contract buddy scene shifts to Velsia, the capital of El Subikia. At this point, Leo and the crew had rolled in through the teleport gate. The whole gang shivered in the cold, especially Carl, who was shaking like a leaf. Dude, I'd rather face death, he whined. Meanwhile, Professor Herod, wrapped in a scarf, stood up and said, quit screaming and line up. This is the capital of El Subikia. Does anyone know the history of this spot? In response, the mage Chelsea was super eager and raised her hand, sharing her knowledge. Velia was founded and named after the elf knight Velkia Urser, one of Luna's disciples, the Star Priest. Her words sparked some memories in Leo, more like he's a disciple of both Luna and Aaron. Velia, that name is known as the Knight of the Fairy Clan now. Back to Professor Herod, he nodded in agreement with Chelsea and added, the Urser house are the descendants of the Fairy Knights and hold the top spots here. Then, at that moment, out of nowhere, footsteps started echoing up ahead, making the crew stop and peek. The snow-filled sky was totally blocking their view of the figures ahead, leaving Carl kinda anxious. Do thieves even hang in elf territory? Professor Hareed shrugged, saying, bad vibes are everywhere. Just then, a voice called out from the front. How's it going, Professor Hareed? A super hot elf stepped into view, flanked by his guards. Just his vibe was enough to make the girl squad melt their eyes, turning into heart emojis. The leading elf greeted, Yo, Professor Hareed. His name was Run Urser, the spokesperson for El Subikia and head of the Urser clan. In response, the laid-back professor gave a slight nod and said, You're still the same, huh? Meanwhile, the Majana was totally giddy. She wiped her mouth and shouted, I think I just found my future boo. Even Nella next to her cleared her throat all shy-like. But out of nowhere, Leo stepped up and crushed their dreams. Aren't you worried about age? To that, Eleliana scooted closer, elbowed the main dude, and teased, What's the deal, class rep? Don't tell me you're jelly. Leo shot back coldly. Stop it. You know elves live for ages and hardly change. Right, so tell me how old do you think he is? His words made Eleliana mad, and Run couldn't help but chuckle. You guys are super lively. Sadly, the squad that Professor Hareed drags around is always so well-behaved. Hearing that, Hareed shook his head, saying, They're just freshies still, figuring stuff out. Just kids. Looking for a way to back up her thoughts, Eleliana stepped forward and asked, Hey, can I get your name and age? Run turned, gave a slight bow, and said, Sorry for not introducing myself. I'm Run Urser, and I'm 97 this year. His words totally blew the fire mage's mind for a sec. Meanwhile, their buddy Carl rushed over, shoved Eliana aside, and asked, Yo, can you be our guide? Run responded warmly, I'm in charge of the Urser house, and I speak for El Subikia. After that, Carl started getting emotional inside. He reached out mechanically, shook Run's hand, and weakly said, Nice to meet ya. Beside him, Professor Hareed glanced over and said, Later. We gotta chat privately, Carl Thomas. Time flew by. The scene switched to their spot for the field trip. Honestly, since it had been empty for a hot minute, the inside looked kind of worn out. Cobwebs everywhere and mice darting around. This made the students' faces turn pale. Are we really staying here? I can't handle this, they cried. Hearing that, Leo crossed his arms confidently, saying, Oh, so you're not going to camp outside, huh? Eleliana lit up and chirped, I knew it, class rep. You've got it all sorted. Haven't you? I always trust you. But contrary to her dreams, Leo pointed at the tent set up outside and said, I figured you'd say that, so I set up sleeping spots out there. Want to crash under the stars? Looking at the blizzard outside, Carl freaked out and turned to the group. What are you all just standing around for? Hurry up and dump your stuff. This is our hangout. It's a masterpiece in here. Have you checked the weather? Step outside and you'll be a total snowman. Back to Carl. Now he's sneaking up the stairs to the second floor with the sly Eliza looking like a crafty fox on the hunt. Hey, do you know the best part of the field trip? Sneaking into the girls' rooms. That was the vibe they were feeling. But before they even finished climbing the stairs, Chelsea shot them a look full of disdain and cast a spell called Wind Circle on them, and screams filled the air. Hearing that, Leo nodded and watched. Looks like everyone's having a blast. Maybe I should check it out. Just then, when Leo opened the door, he spotted a blonde elf girl waiting for him. Class rep, the Lord wants to see you. Then, guided by the girl, Leo was led into Run's office. When Run saw the main dude, he looked a bit flustered and said, Welcome, Leo. Sorry for dragging you here. It's kind of urgent. Can you hang tight for a sec? Leo replied, No biggie. This place seems pretty interesting. Mind if I take a look around? Run replied cheerfully. Totally. With that, Leo scanned the equipment on the walls, thinking to himself, These things are super ancient. Then he spotted a dagger and couldn't help but shout, Urquit. Beside him, Housemaster Rune, surprised, asked, How do you know about Urquit that history is only shared with the head of the Urser house? Hearing that, Leo was a tad surprised and quickly made up an excuse to cover it up. I read about Urquit in some old texts at the Grand Library of Lumen Academy. Run had no doubts about that. Oh, really? No wonder Lumen Academy really does have everything. Leo reached out and touched the dagger, thinking, It's got mana inlay, but this isn't the original. In his mind, Leo started recalling a bit of the past when his teammate Luna bragged about her dagger to him. That dagger used to belong to Luna, but she later passed it to her disciple Belalia. Then, just before the epic final battle against Tartarus, Belalia lost it. At the same time, Rune seemed to have wrapped up his business and leaned in closer to the main character, whispering, The prize is this ancient treasure our ancestors snagged when they took over the hero Velkia's world. But like relics from the hero world can only be used by the one who snagged them. He added, All right, take a seat. I heard from Hareed that you never skip classes and are the first-year rep at Lumen Academy. I know this is kind of random since we just met, but could you meet my granddaughter for just a sec? She's a first year over at Siren Academy. She's super talented and got in with the top scores. But like the world's massive, and right after she started, she hit a wall and totally lost her spark. Someone from outside like you could totally inspire her. Following Run's lead, Leo strolled down the corridor, but while looking at the key in his hand, Leo felt kind of awkward and whispered, Is it really chill to give my granddaughter's room key to a random person? Before he knocked on the door. Suddenly, the door swung open by itself. Inside was a total disaster zone. Books and clothes were everywhere. The air was thick with dust, making Leo cough a bit. glancing around. He spotted pics of the hero squad from 5,000 years ago, which made Leo realize this girl is a major fan of the legendary hero. He thought, I know some folks collect this stuff, but this is next level. Is that the Siren Academy uniform? Just then, a sleepy voice came from behind Leo. Dude, barging into my granddaughter's room like this is a bit much. This girl was Iron Urzer, the vice class rep of Siren Academy's first-year gang. After she said that, she saw Leo's face and freaked out, hella panicking. She ducked deeper under her blanket. Leo, however, kept it cool and said, Hey, I'm Leo Plav. I'm here because your grandpa asked me to swing by. On the bed, Iron was still hiding stubbornly under her covers. With no other choice, Leo complimented her to lighten the vibe. Dude, your Kyle book collection is almost as massive as mine. Let's check how the elves write about him. The whole Northern Mountain Beast thing might even be Kyle's gig. Oh, and the layout's pretty dope too. Hearing that, Iron peeked out from the blanket and asked, You like Kyle too, huh? After that, shy Iron excitedly started chatting with Leo about the Darnos battle, giving a fresh spin on boastful Kyle. You're talking about the battle where Turka ran the Tartarus forces and got wrecked, right? The first battle when the legendary heroes teamed up. Do you know where Commander Zerga's army got owned? To respond, Leo replied softly, Edic, that's where Luna first tried out her star magic. The more Leo talked, the more Iron's eyes lit up. She chimed in, Yes, that's a hidden gem in hero history. Even in academic circles, it's just a small topic. From Iron's perspective, Leo was suddenly glowing. A few seconds later, she realized she was acting all extra and quickly bowed her head embarrassed. Sorry for jumping in too fast. I'm Iron Urzer. I talk a lot, don't I? Hearing that, Leo gave a small smile and reassured her, Not at all. Anyone who's heard of the heroes would love to know someone still digs those stories. Leo's genuine tone seemed to put Iron at ease. She started, This is just my 2 cents, but even though history only talks about 4 big heroes, I think there might have been a 5th. For that, Leo replied, Kyle, I really believe he was real, so when I get back, I'm going to join a club that researches Kyle's history. Seeing someone who agreed, Iron's face lit up. Wow, that's awesome. But then just like that, her mood flipped as she mumbled, School. This got Leo all confused and deep in thought, kinda reserved. But maybe that's cool. Then he got curious and asked Iron, Why aren't you going to school? At that, Aaron looked away and spoke with disappointment in herself. I don't think Siren's my vibe. Everyone there works way too hard. They're all dead serious about becoming heroes. While I'm someone who dreams of being a hero in a more chill way. But Leo, noticing the uniform she tucked away in the wardrobe, pieced together the whole situation quickly. The fact that she kept the uniform so neat, doesn't that mean she hasn't given up? So to give the shy girl a little boost, he stood up and said, Iron, I'm not the only one from Berkia here. My whole class is on this field trip. If my classmates heard your story, they'd be stoked to meet you. And you know, there are human hero training schools like Siren Academy, right? If you want to check out the Lumen Academy crew, just swing by. After saying that, Leo turned and left the room. Outside, Uncle Urzer had been eavesdropping for a minute. The second Leo stepped out, he looked at him with shining eyes, making Leo jump and say, Whoa, you scared me. Urzer shook off his shocked face and quietly asked, Protagonist, don't tell me you were just chatting with Iron, right? Leo nodded. First off, yeah, absolutely. Just hearing Leo confirm it made Urzer so overjoyed he started crying. I'm that kind of person who dreams of being a hero in a way that's kinda over the top. Unlike what Iron said, Leo peeped the uniform she had stashed in the wardrobe and instantly pictured the whole scene. But the fact that she's still keeping the uniform all neat, that's gotta mean she hasn't thrown in the towel, right? So to give the shy girl a little boost, he stood up and said, Iron, I'm not the only one from Berkia here. My whole squad is on this field trip. I'm pretty sure if my classmates got wind of your story, they'd be stoked to meet you. You know, there are hero training schools for humans just like Siren Academy, right? If you're curious about the students from Lumen Academy, just swing by and check them out. After saying that, Leo turned and bounced out of the room. Outside, Uncle Urzer had been eavesdropping like some sneaky ninja. As soon as the protagonist stepped out, Urzer looked at him with bright eyes, making Leo jump and say, Whoa, you gave me a heart attack. Urzer shook off his dazed look and quietly asked, Dude, please don't tell me you were just chatting with Iron, right? Leo nodded. Yeah, that's a big yes. Just hearing Leo say that made Urzer so hype, he almost shed tears. Whoa, it's been ages since she's had a real convo like this. Looks like she's starting to vibe with you. As her grandpa, I gotta hook you up somehow. What do you think? I want to give you something magical. It might come in handy. You know, Leo, if you offer him a gift, he's not dumb enough to say no. That'd be super rude, he whispered. Time flies right. Cut to the Urzer treasure vault. To give Leo some props for chatting with his granddaughter, Urzer brought him here. A massive stash of gold and weapons was right in front of them. Grab whatever catches your eye, Urzer said with a grin. As soon as Leo heard that, he dropped the manners and dove right into the treasure. Something on a wooden shelf grabbed his attention. I'll take this, Leo said as he snatched up an item. In his hand was this orange gem, a shard that had a tiny fuzzy figure trapped inside. Uncle Urzer was rubbing his chin and chimed in. That gem holds the power of a fairy snagged by our ancestor ages ago. The fairy's shape is super detailed and pretty, but besides that, Before he could finish, Leo jumped in. No worries, that's cool. Ursa just shrugged at that, as long as it makes you happy. Leo looked at the gem in his palm thinking, this ain't just any carving. It's the real deal of fairy. Time flew by. Back with the students, the laid-back teacher Herod had rounded everyone up. Listen up. I'm going to spill the tea on the upcoming schedule. Starting tomorrow, good luck sleeping in wake-up times 6 a.m. In the morning, you'll be training solo in the fairy forest near the city, then we hit mission practice in the afternoon. Hearing that, the art mage Eleliana shot her hand up and protested, wait up, haven't we done enough training at school? Do we really have to do this even on a field trip? To answer our chill teacher, he laid it out. On this field trip, we're going to tackle your weak spots. No one thinks we came here just to mess around, right? And just to clear the air, your class leader put together this schedule, he said, tossing all the blame onto Leo, while Carl gasped, ready to call him out. Even the mage Chelsea shot a side-eye at Leo, looking annoyed. Why'd you do that, Leo? To handle the heat, Leo threw on a friendly grin and said, the fairy forest has monsters. So it's totally perfect for some practical combat training. So work hard, train till you drop. With no way out when they heard him say that Eleliana could only groan and reminisce. Surely the class leader has righteous reasons for this. Becoming a true hero is what it's all about. Finally, Professor Herod said, that's the deal. Savor it. This is your last stretch of free time. Back to Leo, chilling on the bed. He pulled out the mana shard to take a closer look. Just one glance, and he recognized it instantly sealed by the Fairy King's magic. No wonder Luna Ursa thought it was just a statue. After the big disaster, the Fairy King's contract bearer vanished, and no one from the Elf clan had seen that magic since. But to me, all this feels way too familiar. This is Sealit's magic. Finally, it's time to use the oath to the Fairy King that he once got. So Leo started pumping his magic into the mana shard to break the seal. Suddenly, a bright golden light exploded out of the shard. Then, as the light faded, a sleepy voice chimed in. Oh snap, you finally broke the seal. The voice belonged to a young fairy. After a sec to get grounded, he realized he was in Leo's hands and his whole vibe flipped. Oh, why is a human in front of me? How rude! Leo barely said a word, pulled the little brat closer to his face and asked, who are you? The kid, feeling Leo's energy, puffed up. How dare you call me just you? I'm the son of the great Fairy King, the one destined to take over the Fairy King's throne. The name's Kieran, the Silver Fairy. The sassy little dude didn't even realize he was pushing Leo's buttons. Leo snapped his fingers hard against Kieran's forehead, flipping him backward. How dare you? What's this? In response, Leo put on a serious face way different from his usual chill. Listen up. Even your pops better show some respect to me. Who do you think you are, kid? Kieran still didn't get the memo and kept acting tough. You insolent punk, how dare you diss King Sil? Leo stayed quiet and gave Kieran another snap on the head, causing the kid's dome to puff up. Kieran was about to yell, you little brat, but got another snap in return. After a bit of that, the kid finally chilled out and got polite. No way. Are you actually the one who got the oath from my dad? Leo raised his hand like he might snap again. Just accept it. Your seal's broken, so what's the issue? Eventually cowed by Leo's fierce attitude, Kieran said meekly, thinking about it, making a deal with a human isn't so bad after all. From Leo's view, recalling his own memories, he quickly figured out Kieran's identity because of Sirid's gentle vibes, even. Reclaiming all 6 letters and sealing you. You gotta be a real handful, Prince Kieran. Leo's tone was playful, which made the little dude blush and cough a bit. Ahem, you know about that. Wow, you really are the chosen one. Leo wasn't looking to waste time, so he shot back, all right then, head to the fairy realm and call Silrit for me. To the protagonist's request, snatching all 6 letters and sealing you up. You must really be a handful, Prince Kieran. Leo's tone was full of playful sarcasm, making the little guy blush and cough a bit. Ahem, you know about that, huh? For real, you're the chosen one. Leo didn't want to waste any time, so he shot back, all right, then head over to the fairy world and grab Silret for me. To the protagonist's request, the little dude just had to turn me down. Can't do it. I gotta get all 6 wings back before I can bounce back to fairyland. So if you want to meet my pops, help me score those wings first. I'm pretty sure the first wing is chillin' in the fairy forest, which used to be our old stomping ground. The kid said this with such a cocky vibe, like he totally had the main character under control. Seeing this, Leo smirked a bit, thinking, looks like Sirid's kid was meant to run into me. Then to knock Kieran down a peg, Leo snapped his fingers on the kid's head again, making him cry out, bleh. The days zoomed by. By the next day, like clockwork, the laid-back Professor Harid took the crew of students to the nearby forest for some combat practice. The students were just standing there, mouths wide open in shock. At the same time, the mage Chelsea dropped to her knees in the snow, her voice shaking. No way. They only won using magic seals. In front of her, Leo grinned and reached out. Sounds like you've been putting in some work too. To clear things up, let's rewind a few minutes back. Back then, the red-haired sorceress was all riled up at the class president. My sword skills and magic aren't syncing up at all, are they? Guess that's why you had me train solo with you today. She huffed, clearly annoyed, but Leliana wasn't the only one with something to say. Leo glanced over and saw Carl and Tide looking all feisty like tiny dogs. You gotta learn to control those summoned creatures. Alchemy is the only thing I'm super confident about. Just then, Chelsea jumped in. I made it super clear during the entrance exam, right? Leo, it's that I'm not too familiar with magic. Then show me, she said, flashing a confident grin. Seeing these weak students ready for a beatdown, Leo was all in. Sure thing. From Chelsea's view, even though her face looked all cocky, she was taking this seriously. Everything Leo's done so far has blown her mind. Who knows what hidden tricks he's got, no time to waste. I gotta dive in now. Without flinching, she shot off a defensive wind spell, sending a fierce gust his way. Seeing that Leo matched her with a Storm General wind spell, but his spell had this red vibe from his mana. Eventually their spells canceled each other out. Watching from the sidelines, Leliana the sorceress was stunned, pursing her lips. Isn't speed Chelsea's jam? But he countered quicker than Chelsea could react. Totally unfazed, Chelsea kept her eye on the duel. She fired off Red Wind, creating blue chains aiming to bind Leo. But those chains were a total joke to the main character. Chelsea, didn't I mention the first time we met? Wind magic isn't used like that. With a quick snap of his fingers, Leo let loose his mana, breaking the chains into a million pieces. Then he pointed forward and unleashed this blazing golden arrow that zipped through the air so fast the red-haired sorceress didn't even see it coming and got knocked back. When she looked up again, Leo's blade was already at her throat. In that moment, Chelsea just stood there shocked, sighing inside. Is this what they call wind magic? Not just her, the other students were just as blown away. Carl said in disappointment, I never thought Chelsea would flop at wind magic. Leliana jumped in, unbelievable. What kind of beast is our class president? A is for the laid-back Professor Harid. He also threw in his 2 cents on the duel. As a pure sorcerer, Chelsea holds her own against Leo, but the real game changer was how they control and use wind magic. When you level up to the next grade, you'll learn new techniques, so mastering your current skills first is key. Train your basics under the class president's wing. And good luck with this afternoon's mission training. Yes, sir, the crew replied in unison, but just by looking at their downcast faces, you could tell they weren't hyped at all. Time flew by. Now Leo was wandering somewhere in the forest on a herb-gathering mission. He remembered Carl's tearful begging to train later and smirked. All right, time to get this show on the road. As soon as he finished speaking, Kieran floated over carrying an herb. Hey, Leo, check this out. I gathered this much. The little dude's face totally screamed, give me some praise. So Leo didn't hold back. Impressive dude, totally fairy vibes. Hearing that the kid beamed with pride, saying, I'm not just any fairy. Setting that aside, Leo tossed the herb pouch into his storage space. That should be all the herbs. Ready to start a full-on search of the fairy forest. Finally, my quest to snag my wings back is kicking off, Kieran said, all pumped up, and off they went diving deeper into the fairy forest. But just a little way in, Leo suddenly stopped, making Kieran ask, why'd you stop? Instead of answering, Leo shot back, Hey, Kieran, when were you kicked out of fairyland? Kieran thought for a sec, then said, let's see, it was like about 100 years ago, I think. Right then, a faint blue energy barrier popped up in front of them, blocking their path. Leo reached out to feel it and said, peep this. It's an illusion. Perched on Leo's shoulder, Kieran was slightly surprised. Is this some magic from the Fairy King? But it doesn't seem like my dad's spell. With his wide knowledge, Leo figured out that this was the sick magic from Silid the Fairy King back in the bleak times. The spells just kicked back into action over the last 100 years. So, with Kieran's wings in the mix, it looked like a barrier made from old-school magic and his son's wings. That signals something super important is locked inside. That's what Leo thought. But before he could dig deeper, he heard footsteps creeping up from behind. Along with that came a nasty demonic vibe that made Kieran scrunch up his nose. Leo felt his power shift a little, almost like he was annoyed. Through their eyes, they spotted a cloaked figure creeping closer, speaking in a spine-chilling tone. What's a human doing in elf turf? Leo shot back, dude, it's pretty strange to see an undead like you hanging around here. And sure enough, underneath that cloak was a skull with glowing red eyes. It yelled, this place has been under our sway for ages. Tartarus. Hearing that before Leo could even say another word, Kieran's eyes went wide. This is our sanctuary. What the heck are you on about? His words caught the undead's attention and almost made it sneer fairy. Something as wimpy as you is called a fairy. The way it laughed dripped with disdain. And with that kind of pride, how could Kieran take it? He started to unleash some magic. What did you just say? You punk? What did you say, you punk? With that, without even thinking twice, Kieran shot forward at a crazy speed. The small dude pierced straight through the undead's body, making it drop in an instant. Watching the skeleton flop over like that, Kieran chuckled so loud-mouthed for being so weak. Huh. Behind him, Leo awkwardly chimed in. You charge in like a brute calling yourself a fairy. At that, Kieran stretched out and showed zero shame at all. Who cares as long as it works? Fairies and undead are like total opposites. No sooner had he said that than the dark vibe returned, making Kieran's face drop. He quickly turned and saw the skeleton rising back up. Opposites. No sooner did he say that than that dark vibe came back, making Kieran's face go all kinds of serious. He quickly looked around and spotted the skeleton lurking there again. It said, I see. Even a low-tier fairy is still a fairy. Kieran pinched his nose, his face turning purple, as he grumbled gross, both smelly and stubborn. I'll grind you down to dust. With that, the little guy dashed in again. But this time, Leo sensed something and yelled, Kieran, watch out! No sooner had he finished speaking than the skeleton slammed its sword into the ground. Suddenly, whips of mana whipped out straight at the little dude. Luckily, he dodged in time, only to crash into Leo. Wait, what the heck is that? He groaned. Meanwhile, Leo's expression got dead serious. He said, this is a TARDIS monster that's been around for a long time. A Death Knight. This is a TARDIS monster that's been around for a long time. A Death Knight. Across from them. The skeleton introduced itself. I'm Kerr, a knight of the Great Lich, and I'm the one who's going to send you to your grave. As he spoke, the skeleton gripped his sword tighter and charged to attack. Seeing that Leo didn't hesitate for a second and swung his blade back. His sword went right through the creature's body. But what he actually cut through was just an afterimage. Kerr had already slipped behind him. To the side, Leo felt a dangerous presence right behind him and jumped quickly, turning around. What he saw was a powerful slash coming from Kerr. With a single swing of the sword, the enemy shot a blade of dark energy right at Leo. Thankfully, Leo reacted just in time to put up an energy barrier to shield himself. Still, he got pushed back. Meanwhile, Kerr, sensing Leo was reeling, slowly advanced, his voice filled with mock praise. You managed to pull off the heavenly light technique so quick. Not bad at all. With that not giving Leo a chance to breathe, the skull-headed guy charged in for round 2, forcing Leo to quickly raise his sword to block. As the two clashed, Gear kept barking like a mad dog. All resistance is useless, human. Meanwhile, seeing Leo struggling against the big guy, Kieran charged in to help. Leo, I got your back, Kieran meant well. But the moment he hit Kager's armor, he got tossed back face first into the snow. Oh no, am I out of magic? If only I had wings. Before he could finish his thought, Leo's voice rang out, in the name of the contract bearer, answer my call. As those words echoed, a blazing red flame burst forth from Leo. Seeing this, the skull-headed one looked scared and jumped back. Suddenly, a mysterious magic circle appeared beneath Leo's feet, and a pair of blazing wings spread from his back, radiating a serious vibe. Watching all this, Kieran's eyes lit up. What besides me? Someone else has a contract too. Ignoring Kieran's naive excitement, Leo launched his attack. He swung his sword forward, unleashing his aura to form the shape of a phoenix head that ripped through the air. Kier's body got blasted away by the power of the hit. Then the wings on Leo's back slowly faded, taking the form of a tiny phoenix Fina. Observing the bird looking like a broiler chicken, the little Kieran ran up and gave it a few pats on the shoulder, making the phoenix super annoyed. As for Kier, he no longer dared to underestimate Leo, a fairy, and a phoenix. I absolutely cannot let them win. Making the phoenix super ticked off. And Kager, he was definitely not going to sleep on Leo anymore. Not with a phoenix and a fairy in the mix. I absolutely can't let that happen. Yo, as he wrapped up his words, this mega dark vibe blasted off him like he was about to drop a sick finisher. He lifted his sword up high, then slammed it down hard into the ground. From where it hit, this red goo started spreading out like crazy. The skull-headed dude was muttering spells, Army of the Dead, eat everything alive. When he finished that chant out of that bloody sludge, a crazy squad of skeletons popped up. Each one was armed and their eyes were glowing red. Leo instantly figured it out, it's a curse. Summoning nonstop. His energy was getting drained, making his sword lose its glow, and Kerr freaked out. Huh, you've thrown in the towel. No more dark vibe. In response, Leo just shot him a cocky grin. No way, dude. Leaning forward a bit, Leo got ready to throw down, talking to himself. This is Kyle's mana. Long time no see my friend. With that thought, he flipped the switch on the tremor magic, and the ground under his feet instantly caved in like a bull's head. Shockwaves shot out everywhere, making the undead come to a stop. Seizing the moment, our guy launched himself forward to attack. He pulled off the Gale move, tearing those skeletons apart before they even saw it coming. More specifically, Leo went after the weaker ones. That sent Kerr into a rage. Stop right there. If you call yourself a knight, fight me fair, he yelled. But Leo was way too smart for that. You brought a whole crew of minions. What the heck are you saying? Now fully aware, Leo had zero interest in going toe-to-toe with the skeleton army. He dug in his feet and launched himself up into the sky while Kerr could only scream in frustration. Damn it, he's getting away! Time zipped by and the scene switched to a different part of the forest. Leo took a breather. This spot should be chill enough. A death knight popping up in the elf forest. Is Tartarus on a hunt here? Leo furrowed his brows deep in thought. Before he could get distracted by some random undead footsteps, Leo stayed on guard. He reached for the sword at his side, getting ready to strike. But before he could do anything, that undead body was suddenly sliced into 3 parts. Then the tip of a sword was pressing against his throat. Did you bring them here, human? Asked this dude with long hair. In response to his accusation, our hero calmly replied, Nah, I'm just a student from Lumen Academy. Got nothing to do with those skeletons. He scanned the new guy's outfit and guessed he was from Siren Academy. Across from him, the long-haired guy didn't believe Leo and shouted, What a lame excuse! Get lost, you necromancer! With that, he lunged his sword at Leo. But that basic move couldn't touch Leo. A quick sidestep let him dodge like a pro. Then, while the guy was still off balance, Leo clocked him with the hilt of his sword. The dude yelped in pain and dropped to his knees. But before Leo could teach him a lesson, a voice rang out from behind. "That's enough. I'm sorry for his rudeness. I'm Runel Randoa, a first year from Siren Academy. Don't think all Siren kids are like him." The red-haired girl seemed kinda genuine, so Leo nodded. Apology accepted. "So what's your deal for coming from Siren Run?" replied all cheerful. "I'm chilling in Berkia for a bit for field training." "How about you?" Leo said he was on a field trip. Then he turned like he was about to dip. "I gotta report back to my teacher." Seeing him run didn't try to stop him and gave a little bow. "Later. May the Berkia Forest look out for you." To Leo Run El Randoa. That name kinda rang a bell. Our guy thought about it, not realizing that while he was deep in thought, the long-haired student was getting lit up by Run, the worst student in Advanced Class 1, for messing things up while trying to flex. What you idiot. So embarrassing. Time zipped by as the scene switched to the big lecture hall. Once they returned, Leo and the lazy Prof Herod filled Uncle Urser in on everything, but he didn't seem too worried. A death knight in the sanctuary. Stuff has been going down since some time, but the infection level isn't too serious. Hearing this, Professor Harid warned, "This dude isn't one to lie." Before the professor could say more, another voice jumped in. "These misunderstandings, ignorance has always been a form of lying." A first-year hero wannabe just starting out says he ran into a death knight. The black-haired dude with glasses, Herdim Wynell, was the homeroom teacher for Siren's Advanced Class 1. When he showed up, Berzer turned to intro him and asked him to keep it going. Herdim shot a cold glare at Leo and said, "He probably saw a frost knight and mixed it up. I don't think he could have escaped a death knight on his own. He's just a first year." After saying that, Herdim turned to question Harid. "Professor Herod, do you buy this student's story?" Harid replied with conviction. "For sure, he might be just a first year, but he's repping the whole department." Herdim's expression shifted slightly at this info, thinking if this was true, it could widen the horizons for Siren students. But he's the front man for the whole department. Herdim's expression changed slightly at this info, realizing that if this dude's right, it could really open up the minds of Siren students. But honestly, that Death Knight stuff is probably just junk. After some deep thought, Herdim dropped a bold idea. If he's the rep for the department, he's got to be feeling pretty good about his magic, right? "I'm thinking we should do a collab lesson with Siren's top class and Lumen Academy." Cut to a chill welcome party. The room was buzzing. "Let's check it out. What do you think?" "Nah, can't make it. Got a boyfriend." In the corner, my merchant buddy Carl was totally hyped, saying, "Whoa, this exchange is next level. Siren's got mad cash." Even the mage Chelsea was nodding in respect. "This is just as fancy as a feast thrown by the Emperor." The red-haired mage was practically bouncing off the walls. "Heard we're going to check out Siren's teaching vibes tomorrow. Can't wait." Meanwhile, the two professors caught Harid vibing while chatting. Leo thought to himself, proposing a surprise class like this is a bold move. That dude's probably the kind who needs to see it to believe it. Just then, a voice broke his thoughts. "We've met before, right? Wanna dance?" The one making the move was Run. To the soothing tunes from the stage, Leo and she started dancing together. After seeing Leo's smooth moves, Run couldn't help but smile a bit and asked, Elsa's dance. Leo nodded back. "Yeah, I picked it up ages ago." Finding someone who flowed with her rhythm, Run perked up and was like, "By the way, I still don't know your name." "What do I call you, Leo?" replied Leo Plav. "Just call me Leo." The second she heard that name, her smile totally vanished and the fun vibe faded. Run grabbed Leo's shirt, fuming. "So you're the jerk who stole someone's contract. I'm coming for you." Back with Leo, he couldn't shake the Phoenix Fina's earlier words. "Reyna holds my memories and saved Ellen Lundar." My bad. She was supposed to be the original contract holder. Remembering that, Leo suddenly realized Run was the child, the true holder of Fina's contract. He forced a weak smile, not catching it made Run even more furious. "You little thief!" Before she could get more heated, Leo flashed a simple, honest smile. Fina's cool. After that, Leo was pretty much doomed. Run's teeth gritted as she lunged at him, causing total chaos among the other students. Eventually, they had to break up the fight. Run now bowed her head in apology. "Sorry, Leo Plav. Can you forgive my rudeness?" She looked all awkward, shaking as she held back. Luckily, Leo got it and brushed it off. "No worries. Misunderstanding sorted. We'll take off now." With that, Leo and Professor Harid slipped out of there. After they left, Professor Herdim looked super serious and said, "Rune, don't ever pull that again. As the first-year rep of Siren Academy in tomorrow's joint class, we got to show Siren's better than Lumen. No better than all the hero atomies out there." The fired-up teacher spoke with passion, while Run trembled uncontrollably. Seeing that, Herdim cleared his throat a few times to calm down. "Okay, moving on." Before he could finish fired up, Run shouted, "I'm never losing to that jerk again. I'll crush him. Don't sweat it, teacher, for Siren's honor." Watching her tide felt a bit creeped out. So the next day, the joint lesson with Lumen Academy and Siren Academy kicked off. From the front, Professor Herod's voice echoed, "Welcome to the first-year students from Siren Academy. I'm Professor Herod, and I teach at Lumen." Today you'll get to see a model class from Lumen Academy. After saying that, he glanced at his 3 students and called out Carl, Tide, and Leliana, step up. You 3 will lead the lesson. You're the best students who made it through at Lumen. Show us what you got. The pampered trio facing them was so moved they were about to cry. Even the mage Chelsea was blown away. So that's why they pick 1 student from each department. Unlike her naive take, Leo guessed Herod's real game plan right away. Seems like the teacher's just being lazy and offloading the work. Thus, the lesson kicked off with Carl's crew stepping up to flaunt their magic. Meanwhile, the Syrian students took the chance to whip out their pens and paper to jot down notes. Elsewhere, Professor Herdum was quietly taking everything and thinking from a different angle. We can explore new ways. But it was weird that the class rep still hadn't shown up. He glanced at Leo, chilling not far away. After Carl's squad wrapped up their presentation, Chelsea shouted, "Way to go, everyone!" Herdum then stepped forward saying that was a super interesting class from the Lumen students. I can clearly see you guys have really honed your skills in your own fields. He paused for a sec, picking up a piece of chalk, and started scribbling on the board. Syrian students roll with a totally different vibe than Lumer students. Everyone at Syrian is all about magic as their starting point, so we're all about that balanced training life, not just super hyped on magic. Back to Leo's POV, he heard the professor say this, and couldn't help but feel a bit snobby about it. Calling it balanced is just funny. Teach everything, but all the theory is just magic fam. It's just a show trick. Those elves and their old-school arrogance, thinking that Leo was so over it he couldn't stop yawning in class, making everyone else kind of cringe for him. Of course, Herdum caught on too. His opinion of Leo just tanked. This dude's study game is weak, and now he's spinning tales about confronting a Death Knight. Shoving those random thoughts to the side, the professor wrapped up with, "All right, that's enough theory. Let me show you what Syrian is all about. The elf race is all about magic." According to him, whatever spell Herdum pulled off formed this 6-pointed star in his hand, shining with a soft glow. The tiny star shot up into the air. Then it started splitting into a bunch of smaller stars, lighting up the whole auditorium. Chelsea screamed in pure excitement as she figured it out. That star magic, it's the OG magic of the elf race. Back to Herdum, seeing the students hyped up, he went on, "This is our true essence, the star magic. The formula I'm writing up here, it's the epic legacy from our ancestors, the goddess Luna, and it's the core of the entire star magic system. The spell I just showed you is just one of countless versions from that formula. Isn't it gorgeous?" he said, beaming with pride. Then out of nowhere, Leo shot his hand up like he had a question. Herdum turned to him and nodded. "Go ahead, class rep." But instead of asking a question, Leo dropped an observation that totally freaked everyone out. That explanation is off. Right after Run's face was all about the death stare. Herdum wiped off a bead of sweat and tried to keep his cool while asking, "What did you just say?" Hearing this made Leo chill and repeat, "I said that spell can't be activated." The whole room suddenly felt super tense. After a moment, Herdum, still looking grumpy, admitted, "Yep, it's an incomplete spell, so it's not going to work. Our ancestors decoded Luna's legacy and somehow brought it back like this." That's when Leo connected the dots. That spell is a lost one. No wonder he acted clueless. Makes sense, Luna created it, intending to pass it on to Kyle. Clueless about Leo's thoughts, Herdum started to throw some shade. "Looks like this kid knows his stuff about star magic. If our explanation is off, can you show us your way?" Hearing that, the chill professor looked like he might want to intervene. But Leo was already stepping down from the lectern. As he walked, he thought, "The magic the elves are using is just a copy. I've got the real deal from Luna, but I didn't live long enough to pass it to another elf. Maybe we were meant to meet. Star magic is the pride of elven heritage, but it's the founder's legacy. If this continues, it could cause drama throughout the academy." With that in mind, Leo started to raise his hand. He drew each formula on the board, but it looked like the students didn't get what he was trying to say. "What kind of explanation is this? It looks like real star magic, but I've never seen that formula before." Ignoring them, Leo wrapped up his formula. What he left on the board was this green symbol that looked kinda like a leaf. When Herdum saw it, his eyes suddenly got all teary and his voice turned emotional. "What is this magic? Have you ever used it?" In Leo's head, memories flooded back to when his teammate Luna said to him, "Hey Kyle, look, I finally did it. This one's just for you, Kyle. This spell makes flowers bloom." At that moment, the lead character held a flower in his hand that slowly opened. From his palm, 5-pointed stars started fluttering everywhere, leaving the students totally stunned. The red-haired girl jumped in. "Our class rep just pulled off something epic, didn't he?" Meanwhile, Run was having a tough time believing it. What the heck? Why is the professor freaking out? Does this dude really have the ancestors' legacy? At that moment, Herdum couldn't even stay standing and fell to his knees. Amazing. So many elemental magics come from it. Don't say this magic is just a charm to make flowers bloom. In reply, Leo opened up to them. It's not just that. During the disaster, flowers almost went extinct. To the founder of Nebula, weren't flowers something really special? Back then, seeing this magic had no battle purpose. Leo once complained, "What is this? What kind of useless magic is this?" He said that while reaching out to touch the flower. Meanwhile, Luna the mage kept shouting in excitement, "Do you know how stunning the flowers are? One day, I'm going to see a world filled with flowers. Fast forward to now, Professor Fafner looked at Leo with pure admiration. For real, the founder poured so much truth into it. But who is this student? How does he know all this? Of course, Leo couldn't spill the tea. Instead, he leaned towards the black-haired boy and whispered, "I'm Leo Plav." For real, so many elemental magics come from it. Don't say this magic is just a charm to make flowers bloom. In reply, Leo was like, "It's way more than that." During the disaster, flowers were nearly wiped out. To the founder of Nebula, weren't flowers something super special back then? Seeing that this magic had no fighting use, Leo once complained, "What is this? What kind of useless magic is this?" He said that while reaching out to touch the flower. Meanwhile, Luna the mage still shouted, "Do you know how breathtaking the flowers are? One day I'll see a world overflowing with flowers." Back to now, Professor Fafner looked at Leo with eyes filled with awe. For real, the founder truly poured so much truth into it. But who is this student? How does he know all of this? Of course, Leo couldn't spill the beans. Instead, he leaned toward the black-haired dude and whispered, "I'm Leo Plav. I totally schooled myself in star magic thanks to some old scripts. I dive into all sorts of stuff, plus I've got some serious mage skills." The more he chatted, the more Professor Hairdum's jaw dropped and he asked, Are you like related to the elf fam or what?" Leo just grinned and shook his head. "Nah, fam." And not wanting to drag this convo any longer, the lazy teacher jumped in. "My students were kind of rude. My bad. Let's just wrap this lesson up. For now, it's cool to keep things casual." After hearing him, Hairdum quickly snagged Herod's hand and tossed out, "Hey, Professor Herod, I might be pushing it here, but how about we set up a swap so the dude Leo Plav can come chill at our school?" That question had a question mark popping up over Herod's head, and everyone there looked totally shocked. Time flew by. At that moment, the mage Chelsea was all smiles, serving up her dangerously purple soup. Tata Llewellyn's special soup is ready to rock. Everyone in the room was totally shocked. Time flew. At that moment, the mage Chelsea was stoked to show off her super sketchy purple soup. Tata Llewellyn's special soup is ready to roll. Next to her, the red-haired mage held up a plate with a dish so gross it hurt to look at it. And this is the deadly risotto so tasty, only the brave survive. Seeing the madness on those plates, Carl and Tide felt like their souls just ghosted. The ultimate horror of joining Lumen. "Is there no escape?" they whispered, seeing them freak out. Eleliana instantly shoved a spoonful into Carl's mouth with a big old grin. "Go for it. Just try it." Carl clenched his teeth, mustered all his guts, and chowed down on that nasty bite. Then, a second later, he was hurling everywhere, which made the redhead lose it. "What the heck are you doing, you fool?" Standing back, Professor Harid could only shake his head and motion for Leo to jump in and chill things out. Meanwhile, Ursa was laughing hard. Love seeing students having a blast." As he said that, he turned to Leo. "Hold up, you gotta hear this. The Elsikia Council just dropped in its their take on the Death Knight situation. Long story short, we confirmed a bunch of Death Knights and Death Knight Knights popping up in the fairy forest. So we suggested that both Lumer and Sirenmes team up to figure out this crazy situation in the fairy forest. But just sending a squad of clueless first years would be super risky. We proposed that Siren, when the mission kicks off, should check out the weirdness with the older Siren students. With that said, Leo shot back. "Did the council leader roll all the way over here just for that?" In response, Ursa shook his head. "Nah, actually, I came here with you, Leo. My grandkid wanted to meet you." Apparently, the white-haired girl Iron popped her head in and shuffled over to Leo all shy-like. "Hey, Leo, how's it going lately? I said I'd swing by, so here I am." Leo gave her a nod. "Thanks for dropping by. Let me introduce you to my crew." Behind them, Chelsea's eyes lit up like fireworks. "So cute. What's your name? Why didn't you show up for the exchange shindig class rep? How do you know her? Like adorbs." A ton of questions bombarded Iron, making her face turn all shades of red. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore and bolted to the second floor, leaving Chelsea and Eleliana feeling lost. Did we mess up? Is she really that shy? As for Ursa, he was chill seeing this and seemed to have some hopes resting on Leo. "Leo, we're counting on you." Zoom back to Iron. After sprinting down the hallway, the white-haired girl curled up in some random corner when a cloak flew right at her. The person who had just rocked up was none other than Leo. Iron hesitantly muttered, "But won't you be cold like that?" Leo smiled and shook his head. "Nah, don't sweat it. But why'd you bail on Siren?" That question had the shy girl going quiet. She grabbed the cloak tight and said, "'Cause I'm just not hero material." When life at Siren got way too intense, I met someone like Runya. She's honestly amazing, can do everything, always super confident and nice to everyone. That's a real hero to me, so I started looking up to her. I wanted to chase after her vibes. I pushed myself into advanced class 1 solo, but during the big assessment match, I totally flubbed it, and I'm pretty sure she started hating me after that. At that point, her ears drooped like she was seriously bummed out. Watching her like that, Leo seemed to remember something faintly. She's not someone who will hate you, and Runa wouldn't hold a grudge over something so small. I should definitely ask her about it at some point. For some reason, I keep seeing Berkia's shadow in her. With that mindset, Leo opened up the topic. Do you dig the story of Berkia? For Iron, just talking about ancient heroes made her spirits get a major boost. Yeah, that's my ancestor's story. Leo looked up at the sky, peeped the twinkling stars, and continued. So you know that Berkia looked up to the great heroes who guided her and followed their lead. That's how she became a hero, right? Don't sweat what others think. Just chase the path you want to follow. Then everything will turn out amazing, and you'll have a blast too. As he was saying this, Leo reached out his hand toward the shy girl. Time flew until the next day. Now both classes were gathered in the fairy forest. The red-haired Rune still had her fiery vibe and said, "How in the world did you get Iron to chill?" Leo just shrugged and said coolly, "Told her she had nothing to stress about with you." This totally shocked Run. "Iron is scared of me." Why, Leo broke it down. She said you were super scary during the assessment match. This totally freaked Run out. "Iron is scared of me." Why, Leo broke it down. She said you were terrifying during the assessment match. So she thought you were totally vibed with hating on her. Hearing that, the redhead looked a bit awkward. "Nah, it's just that Iron's super strong and I had to be all focused on the match." "Look out for her. She might need that," Leo said. He was saying this while from a distance some quick footsteps were hustling in. Recognizing who was rolling up, Professor Hurdum smiled and said, "They're finally here." Going by their looks, the new squad was a crew of upper years led by Ra Algra, the third-year rep from Syrian Academy. The purple-haired dude waved to the professor, who replied all warm like, "Ra, your latest thesis was pretty dope." Watching from the side, Leo couldn't help but notice the ring on Ra's finger. Then he turned to the redhead and asked, "Yo, who's that guy?" Run replied, "That's Senior Ra Algra. He's the third-year rep." Dude was kinda average until his second year. Then he totally leveled up and became the talk of the whole semester. This info made Leo's eyes widen a bit. Once everyone gathered, the two professors started breaking down the mission. "All right, if everyone's here, let's kick off the group mission. Each crew will have 2 to 3 first years and 1 third year. I'm about to drop the list for Group 1. Leo Plav, Runel Lond, and Ra Algra." Leo and Runia carefully pushed deeper into the thick forest, where ancient trees blocked the light, creating a mysterious, moody vibe. Leo took the lead, stepping steady, his keen eyes scanning every rustle and tiny sound. Runia, totally the opposite of Leo's chill, lagged behind, biting her lip with irritation. "Oh man, I'm so annoyed." She recalled Professor Hurd's savage roast, secretly hoping the two would totally flop this time and get schooled. Anger sparked in Runia. She frowned, her eyes blazing with fury. Then she snapped, "Why do I have to team up with a thief?" Unfazed Leo looked over at her with a smirk playing on his lips. You still can't drop calling me a thief, huh?" He replied coolly, all teasing. Runia clenched her fists, her cheeks burning with rage. She almost yelled, "Of course not! I still can't see you as the one who made a pact with Fiora!" Leo just shrugged and kept walking, pretending like it didn't bother him. "Whatever floats your boat," he said, all chill. To clear things up, let's break down where the survey teams are chilling in the forest. Leo and Runia's group is deep in the woods. Chelsea's crew is dealing with the giant octopus. Over at the rare herb spot, Eleliana's squad is busy gathering specimens. Nella's team has got the area with the ancient yew. After glancing around, Runia noticed someone was MIA. She frowned, sounding suspicious. "Yo, where did Senior Ra sneak off to? Aren't we meant to roll in groups?" Leo suddenly crouched down, his hand skimming over the snow-covered ground. He squinted like he was searching for something crucial, remembering Ra's earlier line. "I'll head ahead a bit. Catch you in the middle of the forest," he thought. He probably has some sneaky business to handle. Leo's hands brushed the thick snow where a weird purple mana glimmered, sending shivers of an ancient creepy vibe down his spine. Runia hung back, keeping her eyes peeled with a suspicious tone. "But in this deep forest, where the heck are all the immortals? Last time, there were tons." Leo was deep in thought, murmuring, "It looks the same as last time, but if you look closer..." He remembered when his hand touched an invisible barrier. Back then, Kieran, standing next to him, called it an illusion from a fairy king's magic, but it wasn't like his dad's magic. Leo realized something weird was going down. There was a curse on this land, something that wasn't around before, a curse of death. Only peeps who survive a crazy disaster can spot it, recalling Tartarus Arios' trusty commander who lived through the calamity in the Kaiser Kingdom. Leo figured the Death King wouldn't act in person. He thought about Kier, the Death Knight, being his actual minion. Suddenly, Leo shot up, his gaze sharpened as he sensed something lurking. "Something's on the other side," he whispered in the fairy realm protected by Sealot. Runia noticed Leo acting all weird and tilted her head with curiosity. "What's up? Do you feel something?" Before he could spill, a bunch of rapid footsteps echoed from deep in the forest, freaking Leo out. His eyes went wide with alertness. Something's rolling in," he yelled. He whipped out his shiny sword, gearing up for a fight, but a deep voice cut through the tension. "Hey, how's the investigation going?" It was Ra, stepping out from the shadows with a friendly grin. Both Leo and Runia echoed Senior Ra. He came closer, still smiling, and asked, "Did you see any immortals?" Runia sighed in relief and shook her head. "You totally startled me." "Nah, we didn't find anything." He reached for Ra's hand, but as soon as he touched it, he felt a weird energy coming off the black ring on the senior's finger. "What's up with that ring?" Leo thought, but Ra quickly interrupted his train of thoughts. "Sorry, I think you're off," Ra said, his smile hiding a hint of mystery. There's not a single immortal here, let alone a Death Knight. But it's cool. First years tend to be hyped. Ra kept going. Do you know high-level immortals like Death Knights vanish if you... That ring, Leo wondered, but Ra didn't let him finish that thought. I think you're off base, Ra said with a smile that had a bit of mystery to it. There's not a single immortal in sight, let alone a Death Knight. But it's all good. Freshmen just tend to freak out a bit. Ra kept going. Do you know high-level immortals like Death Knights just up and vanish if... So you're telling me the summoning mage is totally low on mana, then wherever there's a Death Knight, there's gotta be a summoned demon too. Rooney's brows furrowed like, wait, are there actual demons in this forest? But dude, this is Berkia, the capital of Elsabekia. Ruta stepped in closer, grinning like she's got a secret, and raised a finger. Siren students definitely know about the 6 stellar magic wrapped around Berkia, right? She nodded super fast. It's magic made by Ancestress Luna. Demons can't just waltz in. But out of nowhere, Leo cut in all serious saying, no rule says a summoner has to call demons. Other races can totally use dark powers too. Like the Fae. His words blew the other two's minds. Router smirked, grinning like a mischievous cat. That's a dope idea. You probably have no clue how hyped the Fae are about their status. Then he turned to bounce, but not before dropping, wrap up your investigation and meet at the forest entrance. Leo went silent, watching Router head off. The dude was definitely on a mission. Runia, standing next to him, had to sense something was off too. She muttered that this bro definitely knew something shady. That night in a student dorm. In a cramped room lit by a dim yellow lamp, you could cut the tension with a knife. One of the group members spoke up. Your squad didn't see any Death Knights either. Carl across the room sighed softly, like he'd just lost the game. Forget about Death Knights. We didn't even catch a glimpse of a single immortal. Chelsea, always the one to jump the gun, slammed her hands on the table and stood up, excitement mixed with doubt lighting up her eyes. It's even sketchier than she yelled. The head honcho clearly said the immortals were showing up, but as soon as we started snooping around, they all pulled a magic vanish. Something's totally off. Carl just smiled weakly and shook his head. I'm hitting the hay. I'm wiped. But Chelsea wasn't having it and lunged to grab his tie, yanking him back like not so fast. Just then, Leo ghosted out of the dorm through a window, landing like a ninja. He made his way to the Sirenme where the pale moonlight slipped through a window. Leo, skillfully, opened the door and peeked in his sharp eyes, scanning the room. He locked onto a table where Router's notebook lay. Yep, that guy snuck out of the dorm, he thought to himself as his gaze landed on a map with a red dot marking the entrance to the fairyland. Suddenly, a shout echoed behind him, making Leo jump. What are you doing here? Runa had appeared without a sound, standing there with a mix of anger and curiosity. Leo whirled around and quick as a whip covered her mouth with his hand, whispering softly. Once they chilled out, Rooney frowned and snapped, You were acting all shady earlier. What's the deal? Leo lowered his voice and replied, I came to track down Ra, but he ditched out earlier. He's clearly headed towards the fairy forest. Suddenly, footsteps and voices came from outside. You said he was knocked out earlier. Another voice replied, I heard something. Leo and Runa exchanged glances, instantly getting the vibe that they were in danger. Without thinking, Leo threw an arm around Rooney's shoulders, scooped her up, and jumped through the window, leaving the room in a blink and leaving her totally stunned. Meanwhile, in Iron's room, she was quietly diving into a book under the dim light. A sudden noise outside made her jump. Iron got out of bed, shuffled to the window, looked down, and froze when she spotted Leo with Runia cradled in his arms. Leo and Runia, she whispered, her hands shaking a bit as the book slipped from her fingers. A romantic daydream hit her. Leo, more gorgeous than a sunset, turned to Runia with a sweet look, inviting her to join his honorary rescue team. Runia melted into his gaze. The two shared a moment straight out of a romance novel. Iron blushed, clutching her flushed face, thinking to herself, is this a secret date or what? In the fairy forest, Leo and Runia trekked deeper into the woods. The air felt super chilly. Runia lagged behind, occasionally shooting Leo annoyed glares. So you planning to shadow me forever? Just head back to the dorm, okay? Leo shot back slightly irritated. Runia frowned and retorted, You still think Senior Ra is mixed up in this? He got here this morning while the Death Knight's been roaming for days. Before she could say more, a voice interrupted her. Iron popped up in front of them, panting, hands on her knees. Rooney was shocked. Iron, when did you show up? Iron's cheeks turned bright red. She clenched her fists, exclaiming, OMG, students can't have romantic shenanigans. Boys and girls should be kept apart since age 5 or 7. Rooney was totally caught off guard. What? Leo was just as flustered, rubbing his face like, what are you even saying? But Iron persisted. I saw everything. You two sneaking into the dorm together. That's super weird. Even though Runia was crazy pretty and Leo was hella good looking, her words left Runia frozen, her face turning as red as a stop sign. Leo, trying to keep it cool, turned to Runia. Roya, say something. She stammered, eyes all over the place. No, it's not like that. Suddenly, the vibe shifted hard. Leo frowned, feeling a chill in the air. From beneath the ground, icy hands shot up, dragging a bunch of corpses back to life, their eyes glowing red in the darkness. The immortals yelled like crazy swords drawn totally hyped for battle. Out of nowhere, some icy voice echoed from the forest. "Welcome to the fairy forest." They all freaked when the undead started crawling up from the ground, their eyes glowing like fading coals in the night, putting everyone on high alert. Leo gripped his sword tight, the metal glinting under the moonlight as he scanned the area with a serious stare. All of those skeletons were like top-tier infantry. Leo shouted in a determined, deep voice. Runia stood next to him, her hands balled so tight her knuckles turned white. Her lips pressed thin with worry. She glanced at Leo, her voice shaky but laced with uncertainty. "Where did these freaks pop up from?" Leo shot her a quick look, his eyes flashing with challenge. "You ready for this?" he asked, still clutching the hilt. Runia didn't hesitate getting into position, her feet planted on the icy ground. She traced her fingers on the ground like she was sketching ancient symbols. Suddenly, a wild magic circle lit up around her, casting a red glow that made her look epic. Flames exploded around her, ready to scorch the darkness away. Rooney lifted her chin and cracked a confident smile, her eyes shining with pride. "Totally," she shot back, her voice fierce. Then she raised her hand to summon a fiery storm. A massive flame shot outwards, charging toward the skeletons like a fiery dragon on a rampage. In a blink, the fire consumed the undead, leaving only ash and dust. Rooney kept the fire flaring with one hand, turning to Leo with a smug smirk. "How's that?" she asked teasingly. Leo was about to say something when suddenly Iron yelled, "Runia, look out!" The shout caught Leo off guard. He whipped around just in time to see a skeleton soldier with a rusted sword rushing straight at Runia. Thankfully, Iron got there fast, raising her shield to block the blow. The crown on her head shimmered, reflecting a magical glow. Leo gasped, his eyes widening. That was from Berkia, the Animus armor. Without wasting a second, Iron leaped forward, slicing her sword cleanly, sending the skeleton's head flying. Its body vanished into thin air, leaving a brief quiet. Runia was still a bit shocked, then turned to Iron with a bright smile. "You're seriously amazing," she praised, full of gratitude. Iron scratched her head cheeks, turning pink with a hint of embarrassment. "Ha, it's no biggie," she replied, trying to downplay it. Then she looked at the two with curiosity and suspicion. "But what are you two doing out here in the middle of the night?" Leo let out a sigh and shook his head. "Runa and I aren't dating like you think, Iron." Run next to him sighed in annoyance. "Yeah, we just swung by Senior's dorm to check stuff out." Iron frowned, still not convinced. "Seriously?" Rooney pointed at Leo, speaking firmly. "Absolutely. Do you really think I'd let some mushy romance get in the way of my studies? If that was the case, wouldn't that mean fewer competitors for you? Why are you trying to ruin this?" Iron froze and quickly shook her head. "No, that's not it. Rooney's the top of the class, and I want you to keep smashing it. You're going to be a legend." Iron's sincere words made Rooney stop in her tracks. Her eyes widened, and her heart did a flip. She really thinks that of me? She thought, her emotions swirling between surprise and being super touched. Siren Advanced Combat Evaluation, Year 1. In the arena, the air was thick with tension. Iron clutched her shield, sweat trickling down her brow, sword locked tight eyes, determined but showing signs of fatigue. Runia's opponent stood tall, fists clenched, eyes cold. No surprise here, she thought. Out of all the first-year students, only Iron could handle me. The corner of Runia's mouth lifted in a sly grin. She raised her hand to conjure a brilliant fireball, its glow lighting up the whole arena. "All right, I'll give it my all," she thought inside, and launched the fireball toward Iron. Runia caught the look on Iron's face and felt hit hard. "Now, I get that expression," she thought seriously. But why did she drop out of class after... Fast forward to now, Runia stepped forward and grabbed Iron's hand, speaking from the heart. "I want you to keep coming to class because you're my friend." Iron froze and stuttered. "Wait, Miss Runia, are you saying we're friends? Don't you hate me?" Runa laughed, her rare smile shining bright. "We're friends, you know. As a friend and rival, I really want you to keep facing off with me." Hearing this, Iron's eyes lit up and her face warmed. "A friend and a rival," she whispered, heart skipping with excitement. Then she suddenly shot a suspicious look at the two. "So you two seriously aren't an item." Runia shook with frustration and yelled, "We told you we're not." Leo next to them just sighed and rubbed his face. Kids really figure things out through arguments. Deep in the fairy forest, a heavy vibe hung thick in the air. Black crows cawed sorrowfully. A lone figure of an undead stood, their eyes glowing red as they stood in the clearing, like they were chatting with someone. "You must have had those mages surround you." A figure stepped up, pushing back their hood to show Router's face. He grinned, his eyes cold and sharp. "The warrior Kerr." Kerr scowled fiercely, cursing the dude. "The one who's bossing around the Death King's soldiers. Do you really think you can treat me like some lackey?" Router showed no fear and raised the hand with a black ring. Light blazed from it with a threatening intensity. "They're the ones who call the Death King's soldiers. You really think you can treat me like a lackey?" Router showed no fear and lifted the hand with the black ring. Light shot from it, glowing menacingly. "Yo, you totally forgot that the Death King picked me," he said, real chill, but with some serious authority. Then he just bounced, dropping this last line. When the summoning circle's done, I won't be needing TARDIS's help no more. Until then, it's all on you, Kerr. Dude was lurking in the shadows with a wicked grin all sly and sneaky. For sure, he mumbled, voice dripping with schemes, back with Leo's crew. The trio pushed further into the woods as it got way chillier. Iron was shivering from the cold, rubbing her hands together to warm up. You think Senior Ra's tied to all this crazy stuff happening in the fairy forest? She asked, looking skeptical. Rooney nudged Leo and said, That's just some wild speculation. Don't take it too seriously, Iron. But Iron couldn't shake the thought. Isn't it like colder than before? Berkia's always been freezing, but now it's got this weird vibe. Rooney nodded, sounding deep in thought. Looking back, he wasn't too sure, but Leo's serious look interrupted. I sense some bad juju, Leo said, raising his hand to conjure 2 magic circles that lit up the dark. Get ready, fam. It's about to get real intense. From the circles, Kieran popped up with a cheeky grin, and right next to him was this tiny chicken Fiora, her feathers sparkling like flames. Spotting Fiora Rooney's face fell a flash of envy sparking in her eyes. She sprinted forward, yelling, How can a chicken be this gorgeous? Fiora, do you remember Sister Runa Iron? Wondering about the little pals asked, So what are these summoned beings? Lo proudly pointed to the bird chilling on his shoulder. This is a baby named Fiora. Then he pointed beside him. And this dude is the fairy prince Kieran. Iron's jaw dropped, her eyes lighting up with awe. A contractor for both a phoenix and a fairy prince. So dope. But Leo quickly cut in serious vibes. No more chatter. We're diving into the heart of the forest. It's about to get real savage. The 3 kept moving, facing attack after attack from those skeletal soldiers. Leo swung his sword every slice, shredding them like it was just a game. Runia torched enemies in seconds with her fireballs. But the undead were like clingy leeches, keep popping back up from the ground. Iron was panting amid the chaos, yelling, There's so many of them. There's got to be a powerful necromancer lurking close by. The sword blazed bright, slicing down 3 skeletal soldiers like it was nothing. Seriously, there's no necromancer pulling the strings here. Rooney furrowed her brow, totally confused. Leo, come on, you just saw it. An orc morphed into a skeleton. That's not some zombie trick by a death mage, Leo shot back. So what are they then? Runia chimed in. Leo's face grew serious as he replied. This is a death curse, he stated. The girls went stone cold. Rooney tightened her fist and yelled, A death curse? I've never even heard of that. Iron added with a grave tone. It continuously brings the undead to life all around, turning this place into total doom. And the one who hit us with this curse is... Leo's eyes went icy as he finished Commander Kerr from the Infernal Kaiser realm. Runa's eyes got huge, her voice shaking from shock. So Tartarus is gearing up to attack El Sabekia. We need to tell the professors now. But before they could move, a brutal wind whipped in, blasting them with white snow that blotted out their view. Out of the blizzard, a shadow crept forward and a chilling voice boomed. Hey there, wannabe heroes. Welcome to the land of the dead. It was Kerr. The sword in his grip glinted with deadly intent. He lunged at them, yelling, You ain't getting away today. Leo held his ground, swinging his sword to catch Kigger's hit. His eyes shone with fierce determination. Right on that edge between life and death, Leo stared down, Kigger gripping his sword tight as the metal sparkled under the ethereal moonlight. Kigger let out a furious roar, his eyes glowing blood red. Fear, tremble! You're gonna regret stepping foot in my forest! Meanwhile, the remaining skeleton soldiers began to rise up from the ground. Wails and creepy moans echoed toward Runia and Iron. Even with their hearts racing, they stayed strong eyes, fierce, and ready to throw down. Leo kept a cool head and shouted, I'll take care of this Death Knight. Iron, you handle the skeletons. Runia, get ready to unleash your top move. The 2 girls nodded together. Got it! I'll take care of this Death Knight. Iron, you handle the skeletons. Runia, get ready to unleash your top move. The 2 girls nodded together. Got it. Gur caught their battle plan and sneered evilly. Oh, you're feeling brave enough to throw down, huh? Leo shot back with sharp eyes. Let me lead this time. Kerr's rage made him bulge with fury as he roared, You foolish kids, do you really think I'll let you do as you please? He swung his black sword with insane force, shaking the very air around them. Leo scowled, feeling the weight of the blow. Without wasting a beat, he activated Zeringer's secret tech. A massive fireball formed at the tip of his blade, sparks flying like a wild storm. He thrust his hand and sent a beam of fire racing toward Kerr. The guy dodged, but still lost one of his horns. Kerr stumbled back, eyes wide in shock, muttering, A freaking phoenix of fire. Not giving Kerr a second to breathe, Leo dug in and charged forward, flaming sword in hand. He grinned with confidence. It's more than just a fire phoenix. It's powered by the fire spirit of Zerdinger. Kerr froze, panic flashing in his eyes as he saw his sword melting away in the heat. How is this first year overpowering me in combat? He thought to himself. Leo's gaze was icy and determined, cutting through all tricks. He swung again, creating a fiery vortex in the sky that made the air shudder. Meanwhile, Runia stood back, raising her hand to call forth the fire pillar technique. A giant fireball formed over the skeletal horde. Bright light drove back the gloom. She smirked, her eyes lit with rage. Burn, you freaking undead! Runa tossed her hair back with a sly grin. This is what you get for messing with me. Kieran, watching the forest being wrecked by Runa's flames, muttered, Is she even an elf? Why is she going so hard? Even the fairy prince Kieran beside him was left shocked. That's way too strong. Leo's eyes darted deeper into the woods as he quietly said, This isn't over yet. Let's hunt them down. But suddenly, all around them, countless weird purple eyes lit up in the dark, causing a gasp to escape. What the heck is that? Iron gritted her teeth and replied, This is a death curse, Rooney whispered, her voice trembling. It's super powerful. Just then, a stern voice cut through the trees. First years who gave you the right to snoop around the forest at night. And look, we got a first year from Leon too. How disgraceful. Ra stepped out from the shadows, his gaze icy. Rooney narrowed her eyes, suspicious. Senior Ra, what are you doing here? He replied flatly. Corpses have been popping up in this forest. I'm figuring out why. Runia tightened her fists, backing her claim that it was a curse, an ancient and super strong curse. Ra turned away, frowning in confusion. A curse? You're saying there's a curse here? His casual vibe caught Runia off guard. She thought, how can he not sense how serious this is? Leo, standing with them, spoke coolly. Some first years from Lairn stumbled upon stuff dropped by Tartarus. The comment threw him for a moment, but he quickly shook it off. Leo shot his hand up and unleashed a super bright beam that lit up the whole forest. They didn't even realize they were tapping into dark magic. All of a sudden, the ground shook. Weird magic circles with crazy runes popped up around Ra, buzzing like a live wire. Leo yelled, And you looks like you're totally chilling with Tartarus. Only dark magic and some twisted stuff use blood and monster entries as fuel. In the spooky vibe, Ra balled his fist and flashed a wicked grin. Teaming up with you is both dumb and totally insane. He growled in that spot. The legends of the hero Luna are just gathering dust, but the lame councils of Elsebeckia don't know squat about them. What's so bad about using Tartarus to keep my legacy safe? When he said that, Iron tightened her fists and shouted, That's the legacy of a legendary hero, and you think you can snag it for yourself. Runia scowled, her knuckles cracking as she readied for a throwdown. She turned to Leo, her voice sharp. Leo, knock him out. Smash that face and drag him back to the instructor. Leo nodded, his voice serious. Iron Runia from now on, fight like you actually want to wipe him out. The words made both girls shout, What? Ra was surrounded by arcs of crackling magic lightning. He threw his hand up and summoned a purple orb of magic that shot straight at Leo. The insane pressure pushed him back a few steps, but Leo quickly called up his defensive magic. The two attacks slammed together, shaking the ground and sending dust all over the place. Leo kept his eyes locked on Ra. Warning. Wake up! This is what happens when you play with Tartarus. Rout stroked his chin, wearing a sly smile. A dude with primordial star magic. What in the world are you? He thought to himself. He chants and dispels so quickly with some serious battle instincts. If those two girls jump in, it'll be a hassle for sure. Router raised his hand high. Dark mana spilled from the ring, whipping up a gnarly storm of energy. Leo shouted and ducked. A huge explosion rocked the place, sending Runia and Iron crashing to the ground. Runia struggled to get up, frowning, shocked that a basic spell could be so wicked strong. She rolled her eyes, but then a skeletal soldier just popped up, blocking the girl's way. He gripped his sword tight and roared, This is where your hero dreams die. Rooney clenched her fists and shouted, Keep dreaming! She turned to Iron. Give me some time. Iron nodded, her eyes fierce, ready to take on the skeletal soldier. Across from them, Rao shot a cold stare at Leo. Got any last words before you kick the bucket? Leo still had that calm smile. Dude, you're way too full of yourself. Suddenly, a small figure zipped by. Kieran, the fairy prince. As fast as lightning, he blew up the 3 magic orbs in Router's hand. Ross stumbled back, freaked out, yelling. Leo's eyes turned red hot. He tightened his grip on the sword and moved forward. Ra, looking all beaten down, cursed under his breath. Damn it. He glanced up, panic hitting him. Don't tell me it's really him. With one swift slice, Leo took Ra's head clean off. Kieran was right next to him, fist pumping and cheering. Sweet, the crazy elf is down. Now wreck that skeleton. But out of nowhere, a blinding purple light surged from behind. A magic strike slammed into Kieran, making him shout in pain. Ra picked up the head and plopped it back on, murking. Even though you're half Fey, you can summon. Dope talent. Leo cracked up. He laughed hard, his voice dripping with intent to kill. I'm stoked because you're the one I plan to take down myself. He went on, the power of the Death King ain't too shabby either. If we add the strength of Miss Luna's ancestor in the mix, his eyes shimmered with arrogance, then I can make overconfident fools like him kneel at my feet. Looking at him, Leo thought those eyes looked corroded by darkness. At that instant, a bizarre black aura started to flare up right in front of him. He shot his hand toward Leo and screamed, Die instantly! A magic orb sprung up right in front of him and zoomed straight at Leo. Leo gripped his sword tighter, bracing to block the hit. His eyes widened. He thought, he still hasn't fully embraced that dark aura. Without thinking, he charged forward and delivered a killer slash that took off the enemy's right arm, which plummeted to the ground. The hand hit the ground with a nasty cracking sound. Ra gritted his teeth, let out a grunt of pain, and clutched his bleeding wound. Leo stepped closer coldly, saying, "Those who take shortcuts to get strong usually lack combat chops. Keep coming back if you want. I'll slice you up until you run out of mana." At Leo's statement, Ra looked up, fists clenched with rage. Deep inside him, a voice whispered, "Looks like you're struggling mage. The one in front of you isn't your real target, is it? Hurry and finish setting up the summoning array. Awaken the dormant power of this land." Hearing that, Router nodded and muttered, "Yeah, as long as I can get that power." Leo shrugged off the vibe and moved to the side, glancing at Iron's crew and saying, "Those two are holding it down pretty well." Over there, Iron was shaking in front of a tough opponent, while Runya stayed focused, always on guard against the enemy. Leo turned back to Ra, convinced he had to take him out first. Ra hunched over, tears streaming, as he stared at his right arm, thinking, "Why hasn't it grown back yet?" Leo was super cautious of the enemy. He glanced at Ra, knowing he had to take care of him first. Ra was hunched over, tears flowing, as he stared at his right arm, thinking, "Why hasn't it bounced back yet?" Kieran perched on his shoulder and quickly pointed ahead, shouting, "Leo, look!" At that moment, from Ra's severed arm, a creepy magic circle popped up below. Leo totally froze for a few seconds. Ra was spitting blood man. A massive wave of mana blasted out of his mouth as he yelled, "It's too late!" Along with this insane power erupting from his body, Iron and Runya both were like, "What the heck?" The magic circle kept growing, catching the attention of Kier, who was fighting on the other side. Facing this huge power coming from Ra, Leo jumped back real quick to keep some space between them. Suddenly, the ground shook like crazy, and a giant hand shot up from the earth, leaving everyone like, "Whoa." Kieran gasped, "Oh my god, what on earth is that?" Leo looked at the giant skeleton in front of him and shouted, "Bone King! A massive skeleton just popped up and it's gripping a sword that's like dozens of times bigger than it." He looked up and judged it to be one of the strongest undead. "My arm's regenerating now," he laughed. "Haha, I can feel that overflowing strength. Is this what my ancestors had?" Without a second thought, Leo charged toward the skeleton, ready to attack. He thought that once the summoning circle was all set, the enemy had fully embraced dark magic. He planted his feet into the ground, launched himself upward, pointing his sword straight at it, and yelled, "No way such filth could hold Luna's power." At that, Ra just smirked and said, "Oh, is that so?" Right after the Bone King swung its arm, launching a direct hit at Leo. Leo flinched and instantly jumped back to dodge it, his face totally tense. Ra looked down and grinned like he knew something. "I don't care if it's the Death King's power or whatever, it's mine now." Kieran beside him whispered, "Leo, should we bounce for now? That skeleton is way too strong." "Does he even respond? Look closely, the Bone King didn't get summoned the usual way." Leo's remark made Kieran go, "What?" At this time, the Bone King raised its massive sword towards Leo. Leo used his quickness to dodge the slash, thinking he kinda rushed the Bone King into being by making a pact with Hell Kaiser. He barely met those summoning conditions. There's no way he could keep it up for long. The basic requirement for a summon is having spirit power to keep the summoned body intact. We just gotta hang on until the mana keeping that skeleton runs out. Kieran nodded like he got it. "All right, let's do this." He turned and shouted, "Kieran, back me up!" Kieran was momentarily surprised, but then beamed with confidence and replied, "Hey, you got it." With Kieran backing him up, Leo thrust his hand forward and unleashed a shining technique aimed straight at the skeleton's head, making a massive explosion. But that hit didn't even scratch the Bone King. Its eyes glowed red. Its hand tightened around the sword and swung down towards Leo. With the opponent's slow moves, he easily jumped up to miss the blow and thought out loud, "Just as I figured, the power gap is huge, but we just need to stall." Ra above was looking down at Leo with a smug grin, shouting, "Resurnia!" Instantly, a bunch of magic projectiles flew straight at him, making his eyes widen. "Damn it, you jerk." But then, from the side, a clear voice rang out. Phoenix Runia stepped in front of him and launched a move to block the attack. She turned to Leo and said, "Focus on the Bone King." "I'll deal with that crazy senior." He shot back, "So the Death Knight only has Iron left." She smiled and replied, "Don't tell me you don't trust Iron. Iron was the one who volunteered to take on the Death Knight solo." Meanwhile, Kair tightened his sword and swung a powerful strike toward her head. Iron quickly raised her shield and blocked the blow, but the force pushed her back several meters. Kair looked at her and smirked. "Ha! So full of yourself, thinking you can take me on alone." Despite his confidence, Iron thought, "Can I really do this?" But then she got her determination back. If she failed, everyone could be toast. Finishing that thought, she swung her sword forward to attack, but her strike passed right through Kair. To her shock, he smirked and punched her directly in the chest. The sudden hit made her eyes go wide, and her whole body flew backwards, skidding along the ground. Thoughts raced through her mind. "I never wanted to be a hero, but I can't be a burden." Kair moved closer, smashing her shield and sneering, "Compared to those two, you're just a rookie." Iron struggled to her feet and locked eyes with him, saying, "Yeah, one day those two will be great heroes. I'm sure of it." Kair grinned. "I'll take your head and then go help that summoner. You don't stand a chance." but she quickly interrupted. You know, great heroes always have their sidekicks, right? My ancestor. Lord Burka once walked the path of great heroes and promised he would never doubt them. No matter what happens, I'll trust them. As she spoke, her hand on the sword suddenly glowed with a pure, dazzling light. Looking at the brilliant light, Cougar wondered, is this FA power? Not letting himself get distracted? Cougar tightened his grip and charged forward, yelling, "You're really an arrogant brat!" At that moment, Iron Eyes, burning with determination, yelled, "Inheritance!" through the ages of the FA Knights. The forever vibe of life totally blasting away death. She whipped her sword back from the blade, which was oozing mad power, making the air around her thicken up. Out of nowhere, Iron's sharp blade shot up, glinting under the pale moonlight, slicing right through Kerr like it was butter. The blade left a shiny streak in the air, kind of like it was ripping the night apart. His body shook from the hit. Black smoke started pouring out like crazy, mixing with the dust, until he turned into a nasty cloud of gunk. His mouth stuttered, his voice shaky from the shock. Whoa, did I just get wrecked by a kid again? Iron, after that killer blow was wiped out? That heavy sword in her hands trembled, the blade stuck in the rocky ground to keep her steady. She was shaking all over, sweat streaming down like a river, soaking her silver armor all bloodied up. She was panting hard, each breath ripping at her chest lips all dry as she whispered, "Gotta hurry and help them. Gotta save them." But her eyes rolled back, dude. She could barely stay awake anymore. The whole scene got blurry, like it was covered by a spooky fog, only vague shapes left behind. On the other side of the battlefield, Grunya was still holding her ground against Router's non-stop attacks. Rout was sneering with a wicked grin, taunting like he was still in the game. First-year representative. He swung his arm forward. A wave of black mana flared up, forming a sneaky, invisible blade. He coolly said, "It's a wrap." But then Rania yelled, "Fire shield." A thick, crazy red gold shield popped up in front of her, radiating heat like a furnace. Her mana slammed into the shield with a loud boom, but totally bounced off. Router's eyes went wide like saucers. He blurted, "Was it reflected back?" Before he could even process it, his attack bounced off the shield, turning into a sharp, magical blade that jabbed straight into his chest. A blood-curdling scream sliced through the air as fresh blood gushed out, painting the ground red. Rooney smirked and lightly patted the huge fire turtle chilling beside her. Its body flamed up like a mini volcano, and she said with confidence, "You really think I'm just going to sit here? This is the fire summon shield, a fire-type summon all about defense." She kept going sharp. "Now try and take this." Right at her feet, a glowing golden magic circle appeared, shining like the sun. A small spark flared up right in front of Ra, and he flinched. Out of nowhere, the spark exploded into a massive blast, the red flame swallowing everything around. Ra's body right in the blast zone was burned to a crisp, collapsing hard, with smoke rolling off his charred remains. Runa stepped up with confidence, staring down at the fallen enemy with icy disdain. Nothing special at all, but then her eyes went wide in shock. Ra, who looked totally done for, suddenly lifted his hand. His eyes glowed a creepy red. He grinned like a maniac and shot out tons of razor-sharp magical blades at her. The blades sliced through the air, leaving deadly marks as they cut into Runa. Fresh blood sprayed, staining her armor red. Leo saw this, his fist clenching as he shouted Runia, but at that moment his body suddenly froze up. A crazy weight slammed down from behind. And the Bone King's gigantic cold hands, dripped with death vibes, appeared right next to him. Instinct kicked in, and he took the brunt of the savage blow. His body flew like a rocket sliding across the ground and digging a deep trench. He smashed into an ancient tree trunk, shattering it completely. Finally coming to rest in the wreckage, holding his body covered in wounds. Blood soaking his armor, Leo stared at nothing, breathing heavily. Kieran zipped over anxious and asked, "You good?" Kieran zipped over anxious and asked, "You good?" Leo was clutching his left arm now, bleeding and throbbing after the hit against the tree. He panted weakly, "My arm." Kieran seized the chance to throw shade. "Not dead yet. Don't go overboard." But then the Bone King let out a mournful roar, like the cries of 1,000 trapped souls. The terrifying sound made the air shake, and a nasty pressure smothered everyone. Leo clutched his head, reeling from the pain, and mumbled, "This is the worst curse ever in this situation." Without even hesitating, he summoned his little chick and shouted, "For a charge!" The little chick chirped determinedly. Its body flared up, flashing crimson energy like flames roaring in the dark. Energy spread out, covering everyone. Iron and Runia felt their bodies slowly bounce back, their wounds closing up, power returning. Both girls gasped in surprise. Are our bodies being healed? Leo's eyes blazed with determination as he commanded again, "Now Fiora manifest." In that moment, he and Fiora of Flame became one. His whole body shone with a bright aura, like an unquenchable flame. The sword in his hand blasted out fierce flames, the red fire lighting up the battlefield. The Bone King, without a second thought, swung his massive sword at Leo's head, but quick as lightning, Leo jumped high and dodged the attack perfectly. Under the brilliant light of the flames, Leo's silhouette looked like the sun, shining and unstoppable. Runia watched the scene stunned, thinking to herself how Leo feared no death. He was straight up a real hero. She turned and softly chatted with the little turtle fire turtle. "Nice job. Take a breather. The turtle totally blinked out in this golden glow, but when she looked up, she saw the one who looked all beat up was slowly getting back up, eyes filled with pure rage. As he got ready to hit back, Rooney didn't let him breathe. She conjured up this wicked flame in her hand and slammed it right into Router's right arm. But he just glanced and laughed. Buff, that flame you once bragged about is weak now. Roya, what are you going to do with that sad little spark? Runa quickly hit back with a fierce voice. You think this is weak? This is the fire of the Runa clan, the ones who stay true to the Phoenix. My first ancestor promised he would go all out if needed to turn Tartarus to ash. Hearing that, he smirked like a total jerk. What nonsense are you spewing? Have you given up? He stared at the flame on his arm, thinking, why isn't this flame dying yet? Runia stepped up, gripped his flaming arm hard, and shouted. Rooney jumped in tightly, holding onto his blazing arm, and yelled, as long as our ancestors are still burning, we are the heirs of the Phoenix's vow. This flame won't ever go out until every last demon is turned to dust. And, oh, bet that's a demonic eye you got on the left, huh? She said, getting all up in Router's space, making him shiver with fear. She tightened her fist and yelled, this move is called Sacred Blaze. The air exploded with flames as the fire twisted into the shape of a legit phoenix. Its fiery wings covered the whole battlefield. She kept going strong. This is the forbidden skill of the Runa clan. It'll burn the user too. Shocked by her reckless move, Ra stammered, you're nuts. Runa's face grew serious. She thought, I won't let you get away. But suddenly that eternal flame whooshed away into thin air, leaving both of them stunned. Ra looked at her with a wicked grin. It's not done. It's getting sucked into that ring, huh? From the ring on his finger, a magic circle lit up, catching even his attention. Runia stepped back in shock and shouted, what the heck is going on? The magic circle that popped up started draining Rada's life. He yelled in a panic, stop, stop, I said stop! In just a few ticks, his whole body got sucked into the ring, leaving nothing but ashes falling to the ground. Rooney watched the ring roll on the ground, her face dropping as she said, it sucked in the ring too. What's up with that? The summoner's dead. The energy should have cut out. So why's the Bone King still standing strong? Suddenly a surge of energy shot out from the ring and zoomed straight for the Bone King. Feeling that massive power, its eyes lit up bright red. Leo was watching and muttered, so that's it. That's the Hell Kaiser's power. Deep down in hell on a cold throne, this towering figure sat, its eyes shot open, flashing a scary red. A low voice echoed like it was rising from the depths. Get on with the task you were given. Acting on command, the Bone King roared, and the giant's body exploded with new strength. Leo tightened his grip on the sword, thinking to himself that just like he thought this was the Hell Kaiser's power. He channels energy through dark mana, always sneaky. He turned to Kieran and yelled, Kieran, back me up. Kieran nodded and instantly pumped power into Leo. He charged straight at the Bone King, the sword lighting up in his grip. The Bone King didn't hold back, either swinging his massive sword. Their attacks collided. The screech of metal echoed like it was tearing through the air. Facing that terrifying strike, Leo's body shook a bit. He thought the barrier he created was about to give. No sooner had he thought that than the barrier he made shattered under the Bone King's blow, and his body soared like an arrow. He crashed into a far-off ruin. Dust and smoke filled the air. When the dust settled, Leo's figure still hadn't shown up. No one knew what had gone down. Only a tense silence blanketed the battlefield. That silence wrapped around the FA realm, where ancient branches intertwined, creating a desolate scene under the cold silver moon. All of a sudden, a gentle but steady voice rang at Leo's ear, calling his name, like the wind whispering through a deep forest. It was Kieran and Fiora's warm energy weaving into him, pulling him from his daze. Leo jumped up, drenched in sweat. He looked at his trembling arm, scarred from the battle. Dang, what a mess. I'm totally drained of spirit energy and aura. He lifted his gaze to the huge stone gate in the distance, its surface covered in moss and cracks from time. He murmured in a low, regretful voice, the Fey realm. He didn't think this place would have crumbled so badly. He stepped slowly inside, each step kicking up dust, mixing with the damp air. Suddenly his eyes caught a sword resting quietly on an old stone table nearby. The blade glimmered faint silver in the dim light, as if telling a tale from 1,000 years. Leo's eyes went wide as he exclaimed, whoa, memories from the past just hit me. Flashing back to years ago, Berkia asked with curious eyes, are you really going to throw it away? Kai replied calmly, yeah, Berkia, you can keep it. Standing next to the boy ogling the sword, someone asked, why doesn't it fit you? The boy pouted, sounding all grumpy. Nah. Kai calmly said, yeah, Berkia, you can have it. While the boy checked out the sword next to him, someone asked, why doesn't it really fit you, huh? The boy pouted, looking pretty unsatisfied. Nah, that's not cool at all, and honestly, it seems totally useless. Hearing that Leo was hit with some serious embarrassment and shot back, what do you even know how many crazy life or death fights this weapon has pulled me through? From the gate, everyone was shouting. He flinched and looked at his friends. Then he turned to Berkia, messed up the kid's hair, and said his goodbyes. I'm out of here, kid. With that, he bounced off with the crew, leaving Berkia standing there all deep in thought. The little dude looked like he was swallowed up by the endless vibes of the FA realm. Leo stepped closer and with a shaky hand touched the sword. He mumbled with a hint of nostalgia about that cocky kid. Picking up the sword, he sighed and carried on. Back then, he was all like he didn't need it. But out of nowhere, the sword shivered. A blast of mana shot out, wrapping around the blade like glowing ribbons. Then boom! A blinding light exploded from the blade, leaving Leo in shock, eyes wide like saucers. The intense stream of mana shot right into him, making him shudder like crazy. He threw his head back and screamed, his voice bouncing around the empty space. Feeling this fresh power bubbling inside him, Leo thought that the magic trapped in this dagger for ages had finally recognized its true master, which was him. He grinned, eyes lit with determination. With this level of magic, which spell should I drop first? Across from him, the Bone King with blood-red eyes lifted his massive sword, getting ready to strike. But then, out of nowhere, a major explosion went off behind him. Runa's fiery red hair streamed as she charged straight for the Bone King's head, causing a huge cloud of smoke. Leo smirked slightly, thinking, those kiddos looks like they're on it. Over there, Runia and Iron, even though they were totally wiped out, pushed themselves up and started throwing down some attacks. Runia yelled, hold up right there, you lousy dry bones! Iron quickly jumped in. Hey, Miss Roya, it's over there. She suddenly felt this insane surge of magical power and whispered, whoa, that's a massive amount of mana. The quiet vibe of the ruined castle was completely shattered as a giant column of mana blasted up, shooting into the sky, radiating bright light and crazy pressure that rattled the ground. Rooney frowned just a bit and said, if she's the one who made a deal with the Phoenix, she should at least hit that level. Though not quite perfect, Leo was looking godly. His body was surrounded by a wave of mana shining like an eternal flame. All around him, the scene looked mystical, draped in this light veil. Countless stars twinkled in the sky, lighting up the barren land. Runia and Iron looked up, their eyes filled with awe. They both gasped in sync. I once read in this ancient book about a stellar spell that turns the world into the dawn of the stars. Iron's eyes bulged as she shouted, the ultimate spell! At that moment, a ton of stars came crashing down like arrows of light, fiercely hitting the Bone King. Each hit felt like a mini explosion, shaking the whole place. After the relentless attack, the massive form of the Bone King turned into smoke, leaving the two girls in total shock. Leo calmly stepped out of the Fey realm, raised his hand, and called out, Kieran! Kieran popped up, fists clenched, and yelled, I'm gonna take you down, Bone King! But Leo cut him off right away. It's done. Kieran was taken aback and asked, when did that happen? Leo didn't even answer. He just said, go find your wings first. Hearing that, Kieran's eyes lit up. The kid took off, shouting with excitement, oh, snap my wings! He turned to the two girls and asked, are you guys okay? Rooney was surprised and replied, you're worried about us. You look like you're the one who got wrecked. Iron smiled encouragingly. I believe you both will make it through this. Runa wondered, but for real, what was that magic just now? It was like something out of a legend. Holding the sword, Leo said, I figured it came from the sealing spell in this dagger. It's got to be connected to some epic hero. Iron asked, curious, a treasure from a great hero. Rooney frowned. Could Tardis be targeting this place just to grab that thing? After searching for a bit, Kieran showed up with something in his hands. All pumped up, he bragged, Leo, check it out. I found the wings my dad stashed for me. The kid plopped down on Leo's lap, struggling to unwrap the cloth, yelling in frustration. Help me get this off. Leo smiled and replied, all right, let's do it. Watching her little buddy Runia said, hang on a sec. A dazzling golden light flared up. A system notification blasted in. World Hero record unlocked. Suddenly, the three of them were zapped to a brand new place. Everywhere was filled with bright flowers, sending out this sweet aroma, creating a dreamy fairy tale vibe. Runia looked around stunned and exclaimed, what is this? From deep in the forest, a clear voice rang out. You planning on taking down Aribos? The vibe was all about that sweet scent, making it feel like a fairy tale. Runia looked around, her eyes wide with shock. What's going on here? Out from the depths of the forest, a clear voice called out, are you seriously trying to take down Aribos? The familiar voice shocked Leo. His heart felt like it paused for 5 seconds. The voice continued, are you out of your mind? Whatever. I totally dig that. A pair of tiny feet stepped out from the forest, hair shining like moonlight. She kept on hunting Aribos. What a cool target. I told you, didn't I? I told you so. Didn't I? Now I'm getting what Tartarus is all about. I'm Luna, and I'm going to shine like stars in the night sky. So consider yourself lucky to have me on the squad right here. Seeing his buddy in front of him, Leo froze, feelings all messed up. His current self mixed with Kyle's old memories like a blender. After a bit, Harid and Herdem sprinted deeper into the woods, out of breath. Herdem called out to Student Runia and Student Iron. Chasing them, Run Urser's crew also rushed ahead. On the flip side, the three who had climbed up were all good now. Spotting the rush crew arrive, Runia shouted, Professor Herdem. She stepped up, whipped out a piece of paper, and said, check this out. This is the epic story of the founder. Herdem peeped at the paper in the girl's grip and stuttered, this is over there. Hared came forward, gave his shoulder a pat, and cheered him on. Nice job. Then he asked, so is everyone who bounced from the dorm here now? He answered that one dude was still missing. Iron sprinted toward Rune and called out, "Sir," way louder. Before she could finish, he smoothly calmed her down. "Let's go chat." Then everyone headed back to the academy together. Leo shot a glance back at the spot that was slowly falling apart and whispered Luna's name. On the final day of the trip, everyone stood in front of the teleportation gate. Herdum said, "Thanks to today, the students learned a ton." Harid smiled and replied, "I'm super thankful." Runa turned to him all hyped up and said, "Next time we meet, I'm going to be stronger than you." "We'll see, Leo." He grinned back, "I'll be waiting." While they were chatting from a distance, Iron dashed up, shouted his name loud, and declared, "I'm heading back to Siren Academy." Her excitement made Leo's heart all warm. A happy grin spread on his face. He stepped forward, placed his hand on her head, and said, "All right, catch you later." After saying their goodbyes, the crew turned and walked through the teleportation gate, heading back to the academy in the dorms. Suddenly, a loud laugh exploded. "Haha, finally got my wings back." Kieran was stoked to fly again. He cheered, "Take my punch, you red monster." He was messing around with a little Fiora. The chick was mad but could only chirp and dodge like crazy. Spotting the chick dodging his last move, Kieran's determination spiked. "Oh, you dodged that, huh?" He shot a look at Fiora with a mocking grin. "What a weakling." Kieran switched it up and attacked the chick again, yelling, "So you can't fly, let me show you fairy magic." As they played, a hand shot out and grabbed his wings, leaving him totally shocked. Leo was the one who snagged him after he finished his training. Watching the boy squirm in his hold, he warned, "Do you do this every time I step out? Should I take away your wings?" The boy shook his head like a madman. "No way, I only have one pair. Chill, you're being mean." Just then, a voice called his name, grabbing his attention. He looked over and saw Fiora had changed into a girl about 5 or 6 years old. She bowed and said, "It's cool to meet you officially. I'm Phoenix Fiora." Seeing the familiar act, he turned to Kieran and asked, "Kieran, you do this?" Kieran shot back confidently, "Well, you think my powers are top-notch." He looked at the girl and said, "No need for big intros, Fiora." But she kept it formal, explaining, "My mom said be polite to those who are contracted." Kieran lunged forward, grabbed the girl's hair, and yelled, "Haha, how will you dodge this time?" The boy got silenced as Fiora reached out, clamped down, and covered his mouth. Ignoring his struggles, the girl turned to Leo and said, "Please open a path to my mom. I want her to see this form." He nodded to her request. "All right, and bring that one along too." As he spoke, he raised his hand and created a spatial gate in the air. The gate slowly opened wide enough to step through. Without hesitation, the girl strolled toward it. Meanwhile, Kieran at her feet was thrashing around and shouting, "Hey, hold up, hold up!" No sooner had he said that than the two of them were teleported away, and the gate vanished. After watching the two brats bounce out of the room, Leo sighed quietly with relief. Finally, some chill time. He plopped down on his bed, thinking about everything that went down. He had given the Epic Chronicle and the weird dagger he found in Berkia over to Siren for safekeeping. In Lern, the monster queen Silatuna was lurking, and behind everything in Siren was the true Prince Hela. Knowing all this, it was clear Tartarus wiped all traces of the great heroes and snuck enemies right into their ranks. So sneaky. It's always been that way. There are still Tartarus agents in Lern chilling around. And in Siren, there are direct traitors like Louder. For sure, Lemur's got someone like that too. I gotta find him ASAP. A traitor is blending in here. Fast forward to the next day at Lee University. In the main lecture hall, students stood lined up in neat rows below. Up top, Professor Ann announced that, as he said before, first-year students were to line up by department. The headmaster would be rolling in soon. Below, the students were wondering why they were being grouped by department instead of by class. From inside, the headmaster stepped out and asked. The headmaster was about to show up any minute. Down below, the students were buzzing, wondering why they had to gather by department instead of just by class. Then the headmaster came out and asked, "Did everyone have a blast on the trip? I gathered all you first-year peeps today to get ready for a rad interdepartment showdown coming up. It's the interdepartment tourney." When the headmaster dropped that news, Chloe was like, "An interdepartment tourney?" Chelsea chimed in, That's why we got called in by the department." Chelsea's info tip at Learn Academy? Every year, they pick the top department from each grade. The interdepartment tourney is where they stake a department's rep. It's a big deal. The headmaster kept hyping up the tourney. "The professors are going to coach you. Plus, we've got some special instructors coming in for extra training." Chelsea was bouncing off the walls with excitement. Special instructors. But while she was hyped, Carl next to her just yawned like he didn't care. "Am I the only one worn out?" Then out of nowhere, someone strolled up and said, "I checked out your report on qualitative magic metallurgy." It was Carl Thomas. A girl stepped up and scoffed. "That report was trash." "I totally know." Carl was shook and stammered, "Senior Toru Yin." She introduced herself. "Yo, first years, I'm going to keep it real. I think all of you here are kind of lame as mages." This girl is Toru Yen, a 5th year from the magic department at Learn Academy. I've read all your magic essays. Most of the midterm stuff is just copy-paste. Zero creativity. The whole crew was catching her shade when a student raised his hand and asked, "You said you peeped every paper we turned in?" That was Emil Lutchen from the magic department. He shot back. Remember that study on turning fire attribute mana into light attribute mana? Yeah, that one was mine. Responding to his boldness, Toru Yen turned and said, "Oh, that 17-page snooze fest. The content was mediocre about using thermal energy to boost output. Magic needs creative brains and individuality. You can't pull that off with the same old methods." She kept talking nonstop, leaving the first years looking totally stunned and bummed. Just as the boredom kicked in, a handsome dude rolled up from the back and introduced himself. "Hey there, I'm Lee Jamua from the Night Department, a 5th year at Learn Academy." He held up his Knight's badge and threw some motivation their way. A Knight powers through tough times and challenges by using pure strength. Training is key for Knights. I'm pumped to train with you until the inter-department tourney. Before this dope intro was even over, the students were all raising their hands and cheering. "Yeah, senior." Then another blonde dude walked up and asked the freshies, "What do you think is the main skill for a summoner?" This was Untitition, a 5th year from the summoning department at Learn Academy. Celia said the skill to control spirit beasts. Untitition shook his head. Warren beside him added, "What about crazy strength?" Untitition was like, "Not that either." Then he broke it down. "The most important skill for a summoner is love." This totally out of the blue statement left the two of them frozen for a sec. The headmaster announced, "All right, the top 50-year students of Learn Academy will be your mentors." Then he looked at Leo, who was still standing there all deep in thought. The headmaster asked, "Leo, why are you chilling there? That spot doesn't belong to anyone." He was standing in a spot where no students were chilling. Everyone started to take notice. Leo calmly replied, "This is the whole department area." At his bold statement, Toru Yen lost it. "What, the whole department area?" She scolded. "Leo, are you out of your mind? Can't you see how many people are here? This is an inter-department competition." All eyes locked onto him. Celia shouted, "Get back to the Night Department already." Chelsea reminded him, "Yo, Leo, you're in the Magic Department. Don't forget." The headmaster stroked his chin, chuckled, and said, "Haha, the whole department area." "Ha, you're spot on, Leo. But being guided by a 5th-year student from Learn is a rare chance. You ain't gonna waste this golden opportunity, right?" He replied straight up, "I didn't mean to say I don't need seniors' help. I just plan to attend all the classes like I usually do." That made the headmaster way happier. "Haha, cool. Now, let me ask you one more thing." His tone got serious. "If you don't switch it up, I get that you'll be going solo against them." "Right." He showed no fear in response to that threat and said, "Chill, for sure." The students below started to chat about which department they should roll with for training. Looking at the first years, Toru Yen said to Gio next to her, "We really should stick to magic research. Didn't he break down some magic that the founder of the constellation left behind during the trip?" G smiled softly, remembering what Leo had said. "I like Teacher G's class the best." Then he nodded like, "Totally, definitely the magic department." G's eyes sparkled as he looked at him with great excitement. He thought to himself, standing tall, "You definitely have the traits of a real knight." Professor Yura had grabbed him by the collar and warned him, "As a 5th year, you got to step up and train your juniors more." Her move made the other student standing behind him even more jittery with fear. But then the headmaster's voice rose. Toru Yen, checking out the first years, turned to Gio beside her and said, "We got to focus on magic research. Didn't he study some magic left by the founding legend during that field trip?" G smiled softly, remembering Leo's words. "Teacher G's class is my fave." Then he nodded like he totally agreed. "For sure. Clearly the magic department." G's eyes lit up with joy as he glanced at him. He thought to himself, standing tall, "Dude, you've really got the vibe of a true knight." Professor Yura had grabbed him by the collar and was giving him a lecture. "As a 5th-year student, you got to step up and train your juniors more." Her words made the other student behind her tremble even more with fear. But then the headmaster's voice boomed, leaving everyone totally shook. He said, "I've made up my mind. This year's first-year showdown is going to be a survival match." News hit the headmaster's office, and a professor was like, Headmaster, I'm kind of confused here. I thought this contest was all about building connections between departments and leveling up through duels. But a survival match is all solo vibes. This has never gone down before." The headmaster answered, "As you all know, this year, we got a pretty special student." "Right," Ain jumped in. "You mean Leo Plav?" The headmaster nodded. "Yep, Leo Plav." At first, everyone was shook, because he's all over the department. We thought he'd hit his peak soon, right? But nah, he's still crushing it in pretty much every category. So now the Academy Council is keeping a close eye on him. This left the three of them totally mind-blown. Ain said they want Leo Plav as a department star to be in the heroic history books. The headmaster gave a confirming nod. "Exactly. The founding crew of Leon Academy are Jiren, Regard, and Tertia. They're the ones backing Leo." Those words from the headmaster made Gil ball his fists hyped up that if that happens, future generations could totally inherit Leo's skills and churn out a different breed of student. Before the three professors lost their chill, the headmaster cut in. Of course, at the end of the day, he'll still have to pick one department. Fast forward to the next day at the Academy Stadium. 8 students were standing in front of a massive ice block, shivering and saying, "Why is it so freezing? It's like we walked into a freezer." "What's that thing up ahead?" While students were still buzzing, Ain clapped his hands to get everyone's attention and said, "Yo, everyone listen up. I crafted this ice wall to teach you some key moves that'll help in both the inter-department tourney and the hero world takeover." Then he turned to Celia and asked, "Celia, draw your sword." He explained, "Think your fire can shatter that wall." She gripped her sword tight, and a fiery aura started to glow, wrapping her blade and herself. Her tone was super confident, like it was a piece of cake. Then she unleashed a cross-shaped slash right at the ice pillar. The impact blew up big time, sending dust and debris everywhere. Leo was watching her move closely from behind. But to everyone's surprise, the ice block stayed strong, not a scratch on it. This ticked her off. She thought to herself, "It's as hard as rock." Her teacher stayed in deep thought. The professor said, "The technique I'm teaching today is the hero's breath. It's based off the beastman's rare breathing style tweaked to fit human energy." He stepped forward. Walking past Celia, drew his sword and got a solid grip. The blade lit up like a firework. The professor was deep in thought. "Today I'm teaching you the hero's breath technique. It's based on the beastman's unique breathing style but tweaked for humans." He took a step forward, cruising past Celia, whipped out his sword and tightened his grip. The blade set off a blazing glow like whoa. Once he was ready, he swung a super powerful slash at the giant ice pillar and it blew up. Watching that explosion, Duran squinted, thinking how mind-blowing the destruction was. So it's that breathing style that channels energy so intensely. The other students were just as floored, wondering how that fire could even be made. But Professor Ain is about that ice element, Duran reminded. The dude used to conquer dungeons. It's no shock that one of the hero abilities he picked up is fire. I nodded, thinking Duran was on point. It should remix with my innate ki. Way different from Celius. But thanks to the hero's breath, it got a major boost. Then he shouted to everyone, "Get to training." Right after finishing, he looked over at Leo, who stood there all deep in thought, looking totally stunned. He whispered to himself, "Is that Arion's technique?" After that, students jumped into training like crazy. He pumped up the energy. Then he said to everyone, "All right, let's kick off the training." At that moment, he glanced over at Leo, who was standing there totally stunned. He mumbled to himself, "Isn't that Arion's move?" After that, the students threw themselves into training like it was no tomorrow. Some flopped after a few tries, while others saw some wins after grinding for a bit. And the one showing the most progress was Celia. Watching her, Ain thought to himself, "Nice job." Eleliana stuck out her tongue, panting heavily from the grind. She flopped down and whined, "I'm so wiped out." But it's done. Then someone rolled up and handed her a handkerchief to wipe her sweat, making her smile big as she said, "Thanks. Even the head of the Eastern Division sees my talent now." "Ha ha." She and Chaina then glanced at Leo, who was still standing like a statue, not budging. This had Eleliana super curious. Why is the class rep just chilling there? He was sweating like a fountain, hands gripped tight, his body trembling for some reason. Watching from the sidelines, I was totally amazed. This was wild. Leo was the only one who hadn't jumped into the game. Maybe this was his chance to focus more on sword skills. But then he seemed to notice something and whispered, "Hold up the way he's breathing." Catching on to the weirdness, he looked at him and asked, "Hey, who taught you that key technique?" The surprising question snapped him out of it. He looked back and replied, "What?" He moved in closer, saying, "The hero's breath originally came from the beast peeps at Asnea Academy. I tweaked it so humans could use it, but you gotta breathe like a beast, you know." He thought about Arion and replied, "For sure, not very human-like." Then he got a bit closer and asked, "Can you change where your ki starts from?" "Start mana from your breath, dude. Use the technique I showed you, but picture yourself as a beast man for real." He gave Ain's advice a shot and outburst this massive flame ki from him. This left Duran totally mind-blown. Once the smoke cleared, the students were buzzing. What the heck just happened? How did he pull that off? The surprise left him feeling super pumped inside. He grinned and said, "Haha, Leo Plav, you're seriously one of a kind." He looked at his glowing hands and happily added, "Thanks, senior. I totally nailed it." Chloe was juggling a stack of books, strolling alone in the academy hallway when Leo's voice came from behind. "Is that heavy?" She jumped a bit at the voice and turned around. Leo walked up and asked, "On your way to the magic practicum, come hang with me." She nodded, saying, "Yeah, thanks." Her eyes went shy. She thought, why is this happening? Why can't I look him in the eye? While she was stressing, Toru Yen rolled up from a distance, lightening the mood. "What a cozy vibe, you two. Hey, Chloe." When Chloe realized Toru Yen knew her, she was like, "You know me." Toru Yen nodded. "Totally, I loved your talk on Northern Magic." The compliment made Chloe super happy and honored. Then she turned to Leo, asking, "When are you shifting to the magic department?" He replied, "Senior, making someone switch departments ain't allowed by school rules." They walked a bit when they spotted Professor Albee chillin' in front of the first-year students. Toru Yen was totally stunned. She marched over pissed and yelled, "Professor Albee, what are you doing in the first-year lecture hall?" He turned and said at Professor Renz's request, "From today on, I'm teaching a special session for first-year magic students." This made Toru Yen feel hella unfair. She shouted, "What, Professor Albee? That's totally unfair. We've asked for special classes a million times, and you never said yes, even when we were seniors." He smirked and said, "Haha, I was tied up." Carl and Chelsea were also shocked to find themselves in Professor Alby's class. Professor Alby's a rare mage who can channel sick advanced magic through the human body. Any mage would be down to attend his class. Jill stepped out from the back and said, "Senior, there you are." Then he turned to everyone. "Listen up, everyone. This is Professor Alby, my personal invite to teach you first years. This is a major honor." He then looked down and saw Toru Yen still back in line, clapping her hands like crazy, which made him pretty curious. Is there a wannabe in here? He stepped up, grabbed Toru by the collar, and pulled her out of the line, scolding, "Come on, we still gotta prep for the inter-department tournament." She was super annoyed and shouted, "Hey, I'm a first year. I want in on Professor Alby's special class." Once the chaos died down, Ali chimed in, "All right, let's kick off the special session. As you all know, my nickname is the Demon Eye Mage. But lots of folks also call me the Eradicator of Tartarus. That should give you a hint about the battles I've been through. So, what do you think is the most important thing in a magic duel?" Emo raised his hand, saying, "It's all about the mana right." He shook his head. "Nah, wrong answer." Next, Chelsea shot her hand up and said, "It's gotta be the casting speed." He glanced at the others. Next, Carl chimed in, raising his hand and asking, "Is it the range of spells we can use?" After that, he turned to Leo and asked, "Leo, what do you think is the most vital thing in a magic duel?" Leo raised his hand and confidently replied, "Mobility for sure." Finally, someone got it right. Ali praised him for being spot on. Meanwhile, Toru, Yen, and Gil were busy prepping materials for the lesson. She muttered, "Chai, already knew that." Noticing her sulkiness, Gil switched up the convo. Ali was hyping him up for being super precise. Over at the side, Toru, Yen, and Gil were getting teaching stuff ready for the lesson. She grumbled, "I already knew that." Noticing her annoyance, Gil quickly switched topics. Yeah, so how about you just cast your spells quicker?" Emo down below asked, "Professor, can you explain mobility is important, of course, but ain't it kinda overrated in today's magic battles?" Didn't magic solve mobility already?" He followed up, "You mean like flight spells, right?" The student nodded. "Exactly. Yep, you got it." Carl turned to Chelsea and said, "So flight spells are already a thing. Isn't that a win?" Chelsea nodded back. "That's true, right?" The truth is, Carl's flight spell, a levitation magic, created 10 years ago, is way easier to pick up than the OG astral travel spells and lets you move faster. It's a dope version that lets stuff fly. To show this off, I'll need Leo and Emo up here. Come forward. The two stepped up at the same time. Emo glared at Leo, feeling annoyed that a non-magic department student was in the way. Sensing Emo's bad vibes, Leo thought, "Have I been doing this school thing all wrong?" Albie turned around and asked, "Leo, do you vibe with Emo's opinion?" He just shot back, "Nope." This totally surprised Emio next to him, who yelled, "Wait, what?" Albie went on, "All right, you two should see how fast you can move. Let's settle this once and for all." Hey, do you guys have a magic flight gadget?" Emo nodded. "Yeah, I do." Leo shook his head. "Nah, not me." This got Albie's attention even more. He said, "Then use whatever you've got." "For sure, boss." He laid down the rules. "Head over to B City. Whoever gets there first wins." Hearing this, Emio was totally pumped. "Okay, then get ready to be my sidekick." As he said, that magic started flowing out of him, wrapping around his skateboard and making it float like no big deal. Without wasting any time, he zipped off and shouted, "Let's roll." He shot a look at Leo and sneered, "How can someone without a magic device even keep up?" Before he could finish, a lightning bolt struck Emio's spot, making him yell, "What the heck?" Carl was just as shocked. "Yo, Leo, what in the world are you doing?" Leo turned to explain, "This is a lesson on why mobility matters for mages. Messing with someone's movement is totally fair game, right?" His response made Albie grin and say, "Absolutely." Leo conjured up some magic and created a ring of fire under his feet. He slammed down hard, lifting himself higher with each step. Carl below was just wide-eyed. "Is that aura? Can you even use that in magic class?" Albie explained. Carl was thinking about the powerhouses he might face in the inter-department tournament. Those names were no joke from other departments. Carl just froze for a few seconds, totally zoned out. Emo kept speeding ahead on his skateboard, but it started smoking after Leo's move. He looked down and cursed out loud. "What the heck, man? That thing ain't cheap. A sneak attack, not cool." Crazy ripples showed up in the air behind them. He turned around to see Leo had caught up, and he yelled in shock, "You really caught up?" Leo's eyes were straight up fierce as he charged ahead, without thinking twice. After a second of surprise, Emio snapped back and screamed, "Ice arrows!" He unleashed a barrage of ice arrows at Leo, but Leo just swatted them away like flies and closed in, hitting Emio with a sick blow that split the skateboard in half and sent him hurtling towards the lake. Without missing a beat, Leo summoned some phoenix wings and dove down to grab Emio's arm before he splashed in. The crazy speed left all the other students in total shock. Albie said, "See the one relying on a flight device lost. Once that thing didn't work, he was done for." Meanwhile, Leo soared over the lake using his astral travel magic. The flight device magic came from astral travel, but since it was all about convenience, it didn't have that fine control. So moving forward, you guys need to work on astral travel. Got it. The students below were super hyped and shouted in unison. Yeah, for sure. Everyone was making some progress, but Carl was the only one still stuck hanging upside down in midair. He just laughed and said, haha, guess I'm the upside down dude. Albie looked down at the students and said, a first year nailing astral travel like that? Honestly, what do I even teach them any questions? Leo stepped up and asked, yeah, Professor, can I get into the Academy's restricted library? The request totally threw Albie off. What access to Learn's restricted library is way beyond a teacher's call. Not wanting to put Albie on the spot, Leo clarified, I'm not asking as a teacher. I'm asking as a member of the Giron fam. He asked again, why do you want to hit up the library? Leo replied, I need to dig up a doc something about a hero from history that's never been published. Hearing that, Albie pulled out a letter and said, all right, I'll write you a rec letter. But to get into the library, you need the go-ahead from the Giron clan chief, my brother Altek Giron. Leo repeated the name softly. Altek Giron. They call him the Infinite Mage, because he can cast magic without limits. Albie added, but the chief is currently busy on the southern front of Tartarus, so you'll have to meet his rep. Leo asked who his representative was. Albie replied, you can meet that person here at the Academy. They're one of your seniors. Leo was curious and asked, who's that professor? Albie sighed, pushed his glasses up and said, it's Elena Giron, a third-year my niece. Cut to Alucari Beast Island. By now, the Academy peeps had gathered on the beach, chatting away. Someone piped up, I heard the Night Squad and the Magic Crew are kicking off some special training. Another added, I heard Professor Albie is rolling in to teach the Magic Squad. Leo stood off to the side, lost in thought for a bit. His mind drifted back to that convo with Carl and Chelsea. Carl asked, you don't know Senior Elena. Chelsea right next to him added, not knowing her would be wild. He put on a confused look. Is she really that famous? Everyone was buzzing with excitement. Someone chimed in. I heard the Night Squad and the Magic Crew kicked off special training. Another added, yo, I heard Professor Albie is dropping by to teach the Magic Department. Leo stood off to the side, lost in his thoughts for a sec. His mind drifted back to the convo with Carl and Chelsea. Carl asked, you don't know Senior Elena. Chelsea jumped in, not knowing her. That's wild. He made a confused face. Is she really that famous? Those two chillin' over there were totally enjoying their grub. Chelsea, with this super stoked look, said, famous, nah, that's an understatement. It's Elena Giron, the student council pres, and she's just 18. Right now, she's got skills that put her in second place in the whole magic department. Even though she's just a junior, she's only behind the senior Zen Taroa. Carl, sitting next to him, jumped in, all hyped. Plus, she's drop-dead gorgeous. They call her the queen because she's got a ton of admirers. Even as a junior, she's a serious contender for the next student council president. Back to the present. He thought, admirers, haha, how am I gonna even talk to her? While he was daydreaming, Professor Yura behind him grumbled, where's that dude anyway? A lecturer behind piped up, he should be rolling in any minute. A student asked, who are we waiting for? The professor replied, Ulta. As soon as they heard that name, the whole class got hyped. So, it's finally our chance for some special training before the interdepartmental tournament led by Senior Ulta, the dude who promised the Pegasus Oath. Then someone else spoke up, and right then the senior popped out of the trees, feet first, saying, sorry I'm late. Professor Yura, caught off guard by the voice, turned to check it out. At that moment, Ulta came out holding a bunch of insect nets. He grinned and said, hey there, first-year peeps. The newbies stared in confusion, muttering, what a weirdo. As soon as he stepped up, Ulta grabbed one of the nets and started waving it like crazy, which made Yura snap and yell. What is that ridiculous get-up, a butterfly net? Ulta explained, you must have heard that fairies are chillin' on Alucari Beast Island. The other students were left confused, asking, fairies. Imagining tiny angels like Kieran Leo squinted a bit, totally amazed. Ulta's words made Yura even angrier. She moved closer, her voice sharp. So, you're planning to take the first years out to catch fairies? He replied, all cheerful. That's exactly what we're doing. Yura's last bit of reason snapped. She remembered how infuriating training Ulta was. Just the thought of working with this crazy dude made her stomach twist. She shouted, fuming, I'm talking about you, you lunatic? How long are you going to keep acting clueless? We've got crazy prep for the interdepartmental tourney, and you pull this stunt. Seeing her rage, the lecturer beside her stepped in trying to calm her down. Please chill. But she wasn't having it, yelling, trusting you with training like this was definitely a mistake. Meanwhile, Ulta pretended not to hear Yura and turned to the first years saying, as summoners, you all dream of meeting the 3 awesome blood spirits, right? Want to see them? They all replied together, yes, we want to see them. Faced with the students' hype, Yura shouted, don't hype them up with some wild rumors. Then she took a breath and reminded Ulta, the tournament is super close. You don't seriously plan to go fairy hunting, do you? He put on this confident smirk and replied, no way. Fast forward to a few days earlier, Ulta stood in front of the students and asked, who remembers what I said about the core mindset of a summoner? Eliza shouted back, it's all about tolerance. Ulta shook his head, saying, nah, it's actually love. Not just loving the spirit beasts you've teamed up with, but loving all summoned entities. Becoming one with the spirits as zero harmonizing humans and spirits with nature. That's the real love of a summoner. His lecture had some peeps intrigued while others looked bored out of their minds. Leo watched him sighed, thinking he seemed a bit off, but he definitely grasped the essence of summoning. Yura summed up Ulta's point. What he means is we gotta train our vibes to get on the level to communicate with uncontracted spirit beasts. Ulta nodded. Even though it's a bit early for first years, we'll aim for that. Professor Yura went on, you'll chill on Illusory Beast Island for 3 days to join a special class. Ulta looked super pleased and added, I filed dorm leave for you all, so no worries. The sudden news shocked the students who yelled, what, no way? We were planning to go to Lamria this weekend. How are we supposed to survive 3 days here? Eliza sighed with interest and remarked, 3 days vibing with the Illusory Beasts doesn't sound too bad, does it? Then Ulta stepped up and handed each of them a net, making everyone jump in surprise and wonder. He explained, during those 3 days, summoning aura and magic are completely banned. You've got to survive in that forest using your own powers. This wild rule stunned the students as they shouted, what the hell? Ulta totally ignored their reactions, turned and walked into the woods waving, catch it in 3 days, try catching fairies with those nets. The students on Green Pearl Island were buzzing about how the forest was packed with wild beasts and spirits. Duran asked, Professor Yura, you didn't let him finish his sentence. Yura cut in. I said from the get-go that we're not like peeps from other departments. We summoners are those who vibe with entities that hold the power of nature. In that sense, we've got to adapt to nature and also learn to command it. That's why Senior Ulta talked about tolerance. How many of you have actually laid eyes on the true nature of a summoned spirit beast? So, like, has anyone legit made their own contract? Most of y'all probably got yours handed down from fam or snagged a spirit beast in class, right? Then she flashed a smile at the crew and said, catch you in 3 days. What came next was a wild ride of experiences in the forest for the students. Everyone had their own unique vibe. No two were the same. They all wanted to find a connection with their spirit beasts. Clutching some red fruits, muttering, these are wild fruits you can munch on. The summoning department's class was surprisingly intense like this. Out of nowhere, he heard a big shout, fairy! The cry snagged his attention, making him turn over to see who was hollering. He followed the voice. The sight that hit him was a student halfway swallowed by a huge flower. The student was thrashing about but couldn't break free. Some dude below laughed. Lame. You just dove in without realizing it's a freaky plant monster. Eliza facepalmed. Ugh, I feel so dumb for rushing in so recklessly. Right then, Leo spotted something on the monster. It was Kieran, now chilling outside and totally the mastermind behind these dumb pranks. He was fuming inside. Looks like the guy needed a wake-up call. Kieran was buzzing with excitement, flitting around the forest. He shouted, who's our next target for a prank? While he was all hyped, he got caught in a net, the culprit Leo. Surprised to be caught, Kieran freaked out. What? No way, I got caught by a butterfly net. Leo walked up and said, I see. I told you to chill out. He grabbed the kid, raising a hand like he was about to interrogate him. You think I came here to stir up trouble? Kieran put on a scared face and stammered. You got it all twisted. I was just checking out the weird stuff happening on the island. Leo asked, weird stuff? He replied, yes, something's super off here. After listening to his explanation, Leo figured it out and said, so you're saying the beasts here are getting all riled up, and you're trying to figure out what's causing all this, right? Spotting the skewer in Leo's hand, Kieran's eyes lit up. Excitedly, he said, exactly. So I thought the students could use some fun. But it kind of blew up into this mess. Leo shot back. You think I'm going to buy that? This is Purina's territory. She'd totally catch something like this. Kieran ground his teeth and said that Phoenix Fiora hasn't even been on the island. Honestly, this left Leo seriously puzzled as he asked what. Kieran explained. When we rolled in, everything was already like this. In the letter sent to the girl, it said, if you're reading this, you must have come back to Illusory Island. Fiora, I'm off to see the Oathbearer for a hot second, Kieran added, copying the message. She just left a note saying she was meeting the Oathbearer, he teased. I thought I'd get to see the Phoenix level up, but she's gone, huh? Fiora didn't even flinch, scanning the forest around, and then mentioned that the beasts in the woods were acting super strange. Then she caught sight of a pair of glowing red eyes watching her. Feeling some serious vibes, she let Kieran go and said, something's definitely off here. We gotta check it out. Feeling like he was about to be ditched, Kieran rushed after her, yelling, hey, wait for me! After hearing Kieran's story, Leo thought to himself that Fiora, Purina's daughter and ranked second among the spirit beasts, would totally catch anything weird going on here. This was happening while Purina was MIA. Could it really just be a coincidence? He sent a mental shout to Fiora. If you can hear me, hit me back. Not getting any answer, he muttered to himself that maybe she was too busy to sense his call. After sensing something, Leo tightened his grip, tossed Kieran onto his shoulder, and said, we're going to find Fiora. I sense some aura coming from the west part of the island. I was just here to chill, and now I'm roped into this. Kieran whined. Why's this gotta be my problem? Meanwhile, over at a lake on the west side of the island beneath the crystal clear water were dozens of sparkling stones. Their glow lit up the lake's surface, creating a scene so magical it could give anyone goosebumps. Holding one stone up to check it out, little Fiora exclaimed, "So pretty it's sparkling," under the night sky with stars twinkling. The girl couldn't stop praising, so gorgeous, oh my." Then she popped the mana gem into her mouth and chomped down eagerly, pressing her tiny hands to her cheeks in pure delight. Suddenly a voice broke through. "What are you doing here?" Spotting someone coming up, the girl glanced over at the source of the sound. She said, Leo, this is a fishing village." He stepped closer and asked, "You've been munching on mana stones this whole time." Looking down at the lake, he thought to himself that where spirits and spirit beasts hang out, these formations tend to show up when their energies collide. The young spirit beasts and spirits soak these up to grow. So to stop overdoing it, this area's got restrictions. The girl looked all flustered and said, "When I was little, I learned that eating more helps you grow faster." Kieran next to her sneered, "With our epic spirit nature, we can totally level up without mana stones." He explained, "Even if they taste like fancy treats, they're just desserts." "But Fiora, don't tell me you scared off other spirits and spirit beasts just to hog this stash for yourself." Caught by the comment, the girl replied shyly, "Not that dramatic. I was just going to share with them." When Leo's comment hit the mark, Kieran chimed in, "For real? Are you a phoenix or a hog? You chased everyone away and are munching on it all by yourself." Hearing that, the girl shot back, "You called me a hog," seeing the two kiddos starting to bicker again. He jumped in. "All right, chill out, both of you." Then he turned to the girl and asked, "Fiora, you mentioned something weird going down in the forest, right?" The girl nodded like, "Yep." "Yes, I felt some serious bad vibes coming from the island." He suddenly looked up at the sky, and a gust of wind sent chills down his spine. He thought to himself that this energy might be that beast eater he sensed before. He quickly drew his sword ready for action and said, "Kieran, Fiora, gear up." He fixed his eyes on the lake locked in focus and shouted, "It's coming!" As soon as he finished, a monster with a massive mouth shot up from the lake and lunged at him. But ready for it, he leapt back to keep his distance from the beast. The dark mage glanced at him and wondered, "I've been curious why the number of beasts dropped so fast. Turns out it was that Phoenix's fault last time. Guess we really are destined enemies." Leo Plav, spotting an old foe, got into a combat stance and grinned. "The grudge from our past lives is still alive." It wasn't exactly a chill vibe. The dark mage summoned a tentacle that struck straight at him, while the caster yelled, seeming to signal the end of things. With his quick reflexes, he dodged to the side, avoiding the hit. The blow looked simple, but had insane power. It could easily smash through a giant tree behind him. The dark mage sneered, "I'm going to crush you right here." Just then, he sensed something unexpected. From beneath the ground, two tentacles suddenly shot up and wrapped tightly around his legs, catching him off guard. A spirit beast. He hid a spirit beast underground. How did I not see that coming? Acting on pure instinct, he created a magical shield to protect himself. Not wanting to act reckless, the dark mage swung back, yelling, "Die!" He squinted his eyes like he was gearing up for something big. Sparks started flying around him, and then a massive eruption of fire energy burst out, generating a huge wave of power. This power easily sliced through the tentacles gripping his legs. Watching the severed tentacle instantly regrow, he couldn't help but admire its regeneration. Its recovery was pretty impressive. After dodging his attack, he said, "Let me ask you something. Those tentacles wrapped around people feel just like the snakes from a gorgon, a species that can hide itself. Don't tell me this is another chimera hybrid beast." Hearing that, the dark mage smirked, "You're just a first year, yet you act like you know everything. Who do you think you are?" "Leo Plav." No hesitation here. He instantly took a fighting stance. Next to him, Fiora unleashed her bloodline power, transforming into a full-grown phoenix. Leo looked straight at him and said, "You heard me, didn't you? A first-year hero candidate." No sooner had he finished than Fiora's wings spread wide and beat fiercely once. Right after he shouted, "Go for it!" and Fiora shot like an arrow straight at the opponent. The hit created a massive explosion. Before the attack, Kieran crossed his arms and said, "Haha, not bad for a little chick." After nailing the move, Fiora returned to her chick form and chilled on Leo's shoulder. He glared into the middle of the explosion and coldly said, "This isn't done yet." As the dust settled, the dark mage emerged from the smoke. Countless tentacles coiled around his body for protection. He gritted his teeth and said, "My spirit beasts have all been wiped out. You're going to pay for that." Saying so, he conjured a magic orb with his hands and slammed it into the ground. Shouting, "Show yourself, Death Slim!" From where he struck, a greenish slime instantly appeared and started swelling. On this side, Kieran and Fiora pinched their noses because the slime stank to high heaven. Kieran yelled, "What is that smell? What the heck is that?" He quickly raised his hand to create a gust of wind to block the odor. Looking at the creature in front of him, he marveled inside, totally not believing it. An advanced slime. The dark mage grinned smugly. "You won't dodge this attack." As soon as he finished, a voice suddenly rang out. "What do you think you're pulling on my awesome senior?" Dark clouds gathered above, and a massive lightning bolt struck the slime, instantly turning it into mist. This left Leo totally stunned. The newcomer was Ulta, riding a flying Chillin. The Chillin cried out, "Sorcerer of beasts, what the heck do you think you're doing?" Seeing his summoned beast defeated in an instant, the dark mage clutched the blasted body, grinding his teeth, and said, "My wild beast got wrecked so fast." So you're seriously the top dog from Lemur's summoning department, Ultra Region. Watching the winged horse hovering above Kieran asked, "What the heck is that winged horse doing? Get down here. Look at that horse Pegasus. That spirit beast is on the same level as you." Yo Ulta was chilling at the top of the mountain looking down at those freaky monsters and just felt like something was off. He was like, "We gotta get rid of that nasty thing for messing up our world." The dark mage was grinding his teeth, thinking he needed to buy some time for his tentacles to bounce back. Then he called up that death slime again, ready to send the gooey monster at Ulta. Another bolt of lightning zapped down from the sky and turned that creature into mist, just like before. Down below, Kieran looked at him and said, "Dude, that thing is on our level." He broke it down, saying it wasn't that the Pegasus was super strong, but the summoner's vibes made it way stronger. With one chill hit, everything was sorted out. Down below, the dark mage shouted, "I've wanted to ask you this for ages. Perfect timing. This is about to get wild." He smirked and said, "How about I hit you with this move?" As he said that, a huge red magic circle popped up at his feet, and another surprise showed up in front of Leo. Right at that moment, Professor Yura appeared, glaring at the dark mage and yelling, "You think this is interesting when you're about to get wrecked?" She shouted, "Who the heck uses spirit beasts to make a chimera?" He didn't even care about what she was saying and kept on with his summoning. From that magic circle, a massive monster started to come out, and he was living for it. "Yo, come on, Cyclops." Once he finished summoning, he looked at Leo and laughed out loud. "What spirit beast do you even have? No way my Cyclops is going to lose that easily." Professor Yura was peeping at the spirit beast she summoned. Like, "That's just a rat." Kieran, hiding in stealth, was super confused. "Just a rat, are you kidding me?" He explained. "It's an omnivorous rat. It looks cute, right?" But then tons of other magic circles popped up, and hundreds, no thousands of rats got summoned. Yura pointed ahead and said, "They'll eat everything, not even leaving a bone." He was secretly impressed. That rat was tiny, but hella brutal. Now the rat army, thick like ants, rushed at the dark mage to attack. The swarm tore into the Cyclops, making it scream in pain. Next to them, the dark mage was freaking out. He quickly pulled out a scroll for teleportation magic from his hidden pocket, thinking, "If this keeps up, my beasts are totally gonna bite the dust." More lightning bolts showed up in the sky and slammed down right onto the dark mage's head. The pain was like intense fire through his body. He fumbled to open the teleportation scroll, gripping it tight, and without a second thought, he ripped it apart. Boom! His body teleported to safety. Watching from above, Ulta's side, clearly disappointed, saying, "Missed." After the intense brawl, everything went silent in the forest. The two turned to Leo and started giving him a hard time. Yura leaned in and shouted, "Hey you, why did you go into the restricted area?" He pointed to Fiora and said, "That's Fiora." She was munching on the mana stones from the lake. The professor flipped her mood completely and smiled like she just won the lottery. "For our Fiora, so cute." Ulta was feeling all warm and fuzzy inside because of what Leo did. He stepped up and said it was his love for summoned beasts that got him into the restricted area. Watching them make such a fuss, he thought it was too much pressure. Once everything chilled out, Professor Yura hopped back on her mount and said, "Seems like the beast mage wanted to mess with the mana stones. I'm off to tell Headmaster Callan right now." With that, she zipped up into the sky, leaving a message. "Ulta, be safe and keep up with your special training." He nodded and said, "For sure." Then he turned to Leo and asked, "Leo, are you the one teamed up with the Phoenix?" Glancing at Kieran next to him, he added, "You too." Kieran nodded. "Yep, that's me." He noticed the horse behind Ulta and asked, "Is that your Pegasus dude?" He was grinning at his little horse and said, "Iria, say hi to Leo." Iria walked over and gently said, "I'm Iria. Nice to meet you." The dude bound to the Phoenix replied with a smile, stepped up and patted Leo's head. "Nice to meet you. I'm Leo Plav." Seeing Iria so happy, Ulta was shocked. Usually a Pegasus doesn't let strangers pet it. "Did you let it chill, Leo?" "You thought you could ride a Pegasus?" He shot back, "No way." He remembered back when he was Kyle and how his first mount was also a Pegasus. Just thinking about it brought back memories. Ulta observed and said, "You look like you're not badly hurt. Keep up with the special training. And about the crazy stuff you pulled in that fight, I'll cover for you." He cheerfully replied, "Got it." He was thinking about how strong that beast mage was. His opponent in REBORN Academy wasn't just any student, but probably some serious expert. A few days later at the training grounds, a student said, "First time all the students are gathered since the entrance ceremony, right? Not a single chill day." In one corner, Carl looked at his friend laying there like a zombie and asked how he was doing. "So how'd the summoning squad special training go?" He started crying and replied, "I'm totally drained." Ulta was digging up old memories. Looking at him, she said, "You look all right. Keep going with that special training. And about the anomaly you pulled in that fight, I've got your back." He laughed and said, "Yeah, I got it." About that beast mage earlier, the opponent at REBORN Academy wasn't just any student, probably an expert for real. A few days later, at the training grounds, a student said, "This is the first time the whole crew's gathered since the entrance ceremony, right? There's never a chill day around here." In one corner, checking on his friend who looked out cold, Carl asked, "How was the summoning department's special training?" The dude cried buckets and replied, "I'm wiped out. I haven't even had time to clean up." Eleliana rolled her eyes like she was searching for someone, then asked, "Hey, where's the class rep?" Carl said, "Aren't you the rep for those separate summoning groups?" Tough break. Seeing him trying to act all tough, Eleliana spun around and playfully smacked Carl, making him yelp like crazy. Scene shifts to a tent somewhere. Just then, Leo strolled in from outside. The moment they saw him, someone said, "You made it, Leo." They added, "Now all the class reps are here." The girl with pale blue hair looked at him like he was awesome, thinking the rumored genius freshman was even cooler IRL. She suddenly felt like doing something more than just healing. This girl was Lil Lu Cheer, the sophomore summoning rep at Liern Academy, and the dude laid up in the infirmary. That was Hark Ligard, the fourth-year night rep at Liern Academy. He wasn't even paying attention to those two. He was scanning the room for someone thinking, "Where are they?" Then a girl came up from behind, lightly touched his cheek, and smiled. Oh, how adorable. This girl was exactly who he'd been searching for. Elena Garan, the one who could get him into Learn's secret library. She said, "You're the famous freshman rep, right?" She jumped right in with an offer. "Want to be my boyfriend?" Stunned by the surprise move, he froze for a few seconds, then gently replied, I gotta pass." She leaned in closer, stroked his hair, and said, "Why not I'll spoil you rotten?" He splashed her with a bit of cold reality. "'Cause you're too old." That comment hit hard, and she widened her eyes in shock. Then she burst out laughing to ease the awkward vibes. "You're one interesting dude." Outside, watching their chat, Lil Lucier thought, "Whoa! Leo isn't backing down, even against the senior Elena. For real, he's got that freshman rep vibe going on. Totally not basic. I need to end this right now." Outside, a super cute dude strolled in all chill and said, "Hey Elena, long time no see. How'd the mission go?" She let out a tired sigh and replied like it was no big deal. He burst out laughing. "Ha, I knew you'd be wiped." Then he strolled over to the guy laid out on the floor and called, "Yo Hark, time to rise and shine." Hark jolted awake at the sound of his name, sat up all groggy, and immediately threw out, "Senior, let's throw down right now." He grinned and said, "Chill, we'll battle another time. Okay, I'll spar with you later." From the back, Elena jumped in, shocked. "You just woke up and you're already trying to scrap that savage." He sighed all sarcastic as if to say people like her could never get the struggles of real fighters Elena Giron. She squinted, asking, "So you think I'm not legit?" He shot back confidently. "Is there another Elena Giron around here?" Feeling the tension, Lil Lucier started shaking with nerves and stuttered, Professors, if the seniors throw down here, it'll be a huge mess. They could seriously get hurt." Over in another corner, the senior turned to Leo and asked, "So how do you feel after meeting the department heads?" He gave an awkward smile and replied, "Haha, everyone seems like they're way too tight." A little later, the squad found themselves in front of the headmaster. He said, "Great to see you all here. Let's cut to the chase about why I called you guys. Starting today, all students and faculty at Learn Academy are on lockdown until the first year inter-department brawl wraps up." Once he finished, Leo totally got what was going down. They're trying to catch a traitor. In his head, all the shady names started popping up. Cut to the classroom. Eleliana was all exasperated, saying, "Whatever this tournament is, just hurry up and end this lockdown. How are we supposed to hit up Lyamria City for sweets like this?" Chelsea chimed in, "Exactly, studying without snacks ain't studying." Hearing those girls all munching, Carl rolled his eyes and said, "You total devils." Just then, a guy barged in out of breath, shouting, "Big news, everyone. We got the combat venue locked down." Chelsea turned around curious and asked, "Where's it gonna be?" He replied, "Nigang." This made Chelsea super intrigued. Nigang, isn't that like a no-go zone? Carl started to mull things over. Nigang's a city down in the southeast known for getting wrecked in a single morning thanks to an explosion from the hero dungeon. After that, the dungeon got conquered, but because of the hero scar, it turned into this cursed land where no one can chill anymore. The pink-haired girl was thinking if heading to a spot like that was even safe. Chelsea confidently said that even though it's a no-go zone, it ain't too dicey. It's just that you'll run into some low-tier monsters, and the curse is everywhere. The blonde dude, all sweaty now, said even with her chill vibe, it sounded sketchy. Hearing that name brought back some memories, and he started looking up info about it. That place is where, back in my life as Elisenes, I took down the squad leader for the first time. He was in the library searching for details. The city of Nang is home to 5 major pits. Among them, where's Lake Erdiana? Somewhere in those waters is where the one who forgot Lena's vow is. He started looking up info about it. This place is where Elisenes, totally took down the squad leader for the first time. Right now, he's chilling in the library digging for details. The city of Nang has like 5 major pits. So where's Lake Erdiana? It's got to be somewhere in these waters where the one who forgot Lena's promise is hanging out. The awesome luminal spirit Luminous might be chillin'. Time totally flew. Finally, the day of the epic interdepartmental tourney had come. Parents were there since like super early, buzzing about catching the heroic peeps' first moves. Plus, this academy had a whole lot of dope hero candidates. A pretty worried lady peered down with concern. Is the contest ever going to start? Her hubby sitting next to her tried to calm her down. She's got this. No need to stress. Up at the hero tower, the headmaster and Professor Yura were peeking down at the crowd. She yelled out nervously, "If we're letting this many folks in at once, I'm scared an intruder could sneak through." Then she tossed out the idea to keep the lockdown going during this time. But the headmaster, all confident, shot back, "A strong deterrent is back. So what happened last time won't happen again." The person he was talking about was none other than the Phoenix of Flame Fiora's mom. Yura thought to herself that the Phoenix was right there with her. She felt like chatting with her. The moment everyone was waiting for had arrived. In the middle of the square, a voice was booming, "We're super stoked to welcome all the legends here today. I'm Sedman, the one running today's interdepartmental tournament. As I told all the students earlier, this interdepartmental showdown is a fight to the end. Show off your strength, strategy, and skills to survive. If you're the last one standing, then this interdepartmental battle is over, and whichever squad has members still kicking at the end will score the win. The bracelet you got, it's for monitoring your health. If it senses you're in danger, you'll get teleported right back here. Plus, I gotta add one more thing. This interdepartmental showdown is also your last practical exam." As soon as the professor finished saying that, all the students looked like they couldn't believe it. They yelled, "What?" The professor kept going. "Sure, it's about survival, but the final exam's a whole different game. If you just bail out to survive, your practical score is gonna tank. Everything you do will be closely tracked by the bracelet you're wearing. A student who gets knocked out early could end up with a better score than someone who lasts longer. So think twice about every move you make." Hearing the prof, Leo smiled down below and thought, "Clever move. If you throw yourself on the line for your squad, your final score is gonna bomb." And just like that, the interdepartmental contest officially kicked off. Once he wrapped up his speech, a magic circle lit up under all the students' feet. It glimmered bright, and in seconds, everyone was whisked away to another spot. All the students found themselves stuck in midair, freaked out. They yelled, move it," and started using their magic. Leo stayed chill. He thought to himself, the whole city's loaded with curses. No wonder this place became a ghost town. Then the cycle of curses coming on and off started repeating in a funky pattern. The only spot free of curses was the old city ruins. Everyone was definitely gonna flock there. With that in mind, he peered at the ruins below. Then I should look for Lake Erdiana first. Meanwhile, the girl Eliza was riding her summoned beast. Right next to her, Moira was using her divine speed, rocketing forward. When the two crossed paths, she thought the third-ranked knight, Prince Moira. Over here, he mumbled to himself, second-ranked summoning department. The duo was all set to throw down, their faces locked in fierce determination. But just when they were about to clash, Leo, chilling behind, sighed in relief. Right after he zipped in front of them like a flash. Eliza was startled and yelled, "Huh, what's that?" She clenched her teeth and shouted, "It's you again." Moira reacted the same way, grinding her teeth in frustration. That annoying Leo Plav. Leo suddenly scratched his ear and said, "My ear's itching." After zooming around for just a few minutes, he landed in a spot. He thought, from here, it's a 10-minute stroll west. Linus sealed herself off before getting wrecked. Is she still around? He checked the map in his hand and started sizing up the situation. Then he gave the ruined castle ahead a quick glance. A bit surprised, thinking, a chaotic sensory curse. I'm cool with it, but tons of folks are gonna struggle. While he stood there zoned out, the girl, Chania, popped up out of nowhere and called out loudly, "Young Master Leo." He was totally shocked by her showing up. He quickly shoved the map away and turned to ask, "The ruins are in the opposite direction. Are you tailing me?" She said, "I've got something I gotta do." He asked, "What's that?" She put her hand out, took a fighting stance, and challenged, "Let's throw down." He was surprised by her challenge, but began focusing his energy to get ready. He asked again, "Why the sudden challenge?" She replied, "From the first time we met, I've been dying to see how we match up Class President Leo." No sooner had she finished speaking than she vanished from her spot and dove down from above. Linus locked herself away before getting wrecked. Is she still kicking it? He stared at the map in his hand, trying to piece it all together. Then he glanced at the ruined castle ahead, slightly freaked out, thinking, a sensory chaos curse. I've dealt with this before, but a lot of others are gonna have a rough time. While he was lost in thought, this girl Chania popped up out of nowhere and shouted, "Young Master Leo." He was kind of shocked by her sudden appearance. He quickly stuffed the map away and turned to ask, "The ruins are behind you. Are you following me?" She explained, "I got my own stuff to handle." He asked, "What is it?" She stepped forward, got into a fighting stance, and said, "Let's fight." He was caught off guard by her challenge, but then he started focusing his energy for a battle. He asked again, "Why so suddenly?" She replied, "Since the first time we met, I've been dying to know how far apart we really are, Class President Leo." No sooner had she finished saying that than she disappeared from sight and dove down from above. "I've been dying to see how far apart you and I really are, Class President Leo." No sooner did she drop those words than she disappeared from her spot and dove down from above. She was throwing a fist straight at him. She was super quick, but Leo was totally on his game. He instantly conjured a magical shield that blocked her hit. Leo let out a scoff after shutting down the magic. Shania kept summoning a magic circle below her feet, totally hyping him up, just like young Master Leo would have done. In a split second, he dropped some fiery armor vibes to cancel out her water energy. At that, she took a step back and got ready to strike. Leo was caught off guard and blurted out that she was a high-level water spirit. She quickly called on a spirit, then shot her hand forward, commanding it to attack Leo. Leo, being a pro, started channeling magic into his palm. Before long, he conjured a wall of fire to block the incoming strike. He totally got what she was up to. These hits were just bait. The real move was exactly what Leo had thought. Right after he wrapped up his protective magic, Chaina charged in with a fifth prime to deliver a knockout punch. Boom, boom, two massive powers crashed into each other, and it felt like the world was about to break. Dust was everywhere. Rocks and dirt collapsed. The pressure from the chaos sent Chensa sliding across the ground, nursing her arm, eyes locked on him. She thought to herself that he even had a counter from that tiny gap. Another surprise attack probably wouldn't cut it. She heard the hype. Different from her usual water spirit vibe, Chaina the water was always a force that flows. But you're being way too stiff right now, Leo said in this super icy tone, then grabbed his sword and charged at her to attack. Realizing Leo's strike was dangerous, she gritted her teeth, knowing taking that hit straight on would be risky business. But at that moment, Chaina had no other choice. She quickly threw up some protective magic to block Leo's swing. But just seconds later, her protective layer started cracking. Chaina was totally stunned and blurted out, "This can't be it," while she was still trying to process it. Leo snuck up from behind and said, "I told you, you're too stiff." A fireball was chilling in Leo's hand. Then boom, a massive explosion lit up the scene. As the dust settled, Leo stepped forward, pointed his sword at her, and said, "You're out." She sighed and asked, "Young Master Leo, are you really only 16? You seem like a battle-hardened uncle." Leo cut her off. "Quit saying weird stuff and head back to the ancient city ruins." His unexpected move made her gasp in shock. "Wait, you're not going to finish me off. Is this some kind of mercy?" He turned to walk away, responding, "This is a fight to the death. How I handle the loser is up to me. And help me handle those goons over there." While Chaina was still trying to grasp what Leo meant, two huge energy beams came firing toward them from behind her. She gasped, "Huh, who's that?" Those two energies belonged to Moira and Eliza. Spotting them, Chaina could only muster a resigned smile. "Huh, who's that?" Those two powers were none other than Moira and Eliza. Seeing them, Chaina could only force a resigned smile.